What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
2WI, Chapter 26 Thunder Fruit. The Supreme Sharp Knife. Sky Island exists in the White Sea, 10,000 meters above the White Sea, 7,000 meters. There are two different races living here, Sandians and Angel Islanders. The Sandia people are the descendants of the Aborigines on the half of Gaia Island washed up from Qinghai 400 years ago. The residents of Angel Island are aliens who migrated from the moon. Due to lack of energy, it is impossible to reach Qinghai, so it can only float on the White Sea 10,000 meters above the ground. The difference between Angel Island residents and ordinary people is that they have a pair of obvious bird wings on their backs. Devil Fruit. Standing on the Sky Island, Zhang Yang burst out with knowledge, covering the entire Sky Island. Sky Island exists 10,000 meters above the sky, where there is nothing but the sea of clouds. So, dirt on Sky Island is a very rare resource. Because it is too scarce, the value of land here even exceeds that of gold. In the knowledge-colored perception, an incomplete land popped into my mind. The land of gold. Zhang Yang's eyes flashed, the buildings and utensils condensed from gold were far more exaggerated than he imagined. As soon as he thought about it, his body instantly appeared where the gold was. The teleportation ability is quite easy to use, but it consumes a bit of physical strength. Zhang Yang muttered softly, and then his eyes widened in shock at the exaggerated scene in front of him. The city, an ancient and vicissitudes, is a golden capital completely solidified by gold. What I saw with my own eyes was far more shocking than I imagined. The bright gold refracts the dazzling light under the sunlight. At first glance, it seems that the whole world is in a golden paradise. The gold, a city. Zhang Yang smacked his lips. He originally thought that the city's gold would cost tens of billions of baileys, but look at the current situation. 10 billion, estimated to add another zero kexing. The gold here, together, is worth at least 100 billion or more. In fact, only more. Even a person like Zhang Yang who has no interest in treasure feels parched for a while. Gold worth 100 billion berries, this statistic sounds nothing, just like saving 100 billion in your bank card. It sounds shocking, actually it is really shocking, but compared to putting 100 billion in cash in front of your eyes, it is completely two different degrees of shock. Move, must move. There is only one idea in Zhang Yang's mind, and he doesn't just move the golden land, he wants to move the entire Sky Island. All migrated to the top of Gaxi Island. Whether it's gold, land, people, or special products, he has to pack it all up and take it away. Find the thunder fruit first. Taking all of Sky Island away is not an easy task. After all, there are tens of thousands of residents here. If he wants to take all these residents away, he must first gather all these people, which is a huge amount of work and very troublesome. Therefore, this matter can be postponed a little appropriately. The observation Hawkeye that spread wildly enveloped the entire Sky Island. Zhang Yang's observation Hawkeye, boosted by thunder fruit, searched the island inch by inch. No, how could it not be found? Zhang Yang frowned slightly. Isn't thunder fruit on Sky Island? No, it shouldn't. If not, how did Enel get this fruit? Could it be that he was born with fruit ability? What a joke. Observation Hawkeye covers too much area, it is impossible to search every corner carefully, and it is very possible that something is lost. Zhang Yang stroked his chin. Observation Hawkeye originally existed for combat, and can clearly perceive what is happening around it in a short distance. However, if the distance is extended, the perception of observation Hawkeye will also decrease, and the farther the distance, the more blurred the perception will be. This is not a defect. After all, it is impossible to extend the observation Hawkeye by a few kilometers to perceive the enemy during the battle. Could it be possible to blow the opponent's dog's head off with a single shot from a few kilometers away? Therefore, even if there is an increase in thunder fruit ability, it is impossible to perceive the entire Sky Island perfectly. It's normal to miss something. Since knowledge is not enough, then try this. Zhang Yang closed his eyes slowly, his senses gathered, and a rough and heroic face was outlined in his mind. Call. D. Luo Jia. The brain was blank and silent, and the disturbances around him seemed to have different meanings at this moment. Become alive, become real. The flowing breeze exudes a cheerful atmosphere of joy and freedom, and the restless gust, like a violent child, freely vents his anger. The flowing sea of clouds is gentle and kind, tolerant of everything. The ancient city lingering with a vast atmosphere, vaguely retains the glory and freedom from ancient times. Freedom, longing, glory, and loneliness after dusk. It started from a humble beginning, was once brilliant, but then went into decline. In this city, the faith and will that have been passed down for thousands of years are left behind, guiding the successors to inherit their will. The will of the loser should die in the past. Zhang Yang snorted coldly, his domineering will shattered the ancient last wish that tried to influence him. Dusk is lonely, and the will left by a group of dead people also wants to affect him. A group of self-pitying waste, brilliant. Even if there is something that was lost, dare to show it off and inherit your will. Looking for the disappearing history. A joke. His will can only come from himself. His history can only be created by himself. Even if it is death, it is dying standing up. If you fail, you have to give this world eternal pain and trauma, and let everyone in this world remember it. There was once a man, witness. King's Landing. Conquer the world. Instead of dying on such meaningless things in pursuit of truth and history. Hear the voice of all things. Ignoring the influence of the residual will of the Golden Land, Zhang Yang's perception merged with the surrounding nature. The sound of wind, rain, dew, thunder and sea of clouds, including the land under his feet, everything has turned into a part of his spirit. Moisturizers invade the world silently and meticulously, every corner and every area. Suddenly, Zhang Yang opened his eyes, and a flash of light flickered. Found it. Zhang Yang's figure flashed, and instantly appeared on an ancient altar buried deep underground. This altar was buried more than 10 meters underground, connected to a remote entrance. Because of the long history, the altar has been covered with moss and dust, full of the atmosphere of the times and years. The sacrificial statue had been corroded and incomplete over time. Zhang Yang's gaze was placed on the dim golden treasure chest on the altar. Click. Opening the treasure chest, fist-sized jewels came into view. Zhang Yang opened the jewelry, and at the bottom of the gold box, a devil fruit with a strange spiral pattern came into view. Logia is the strongest. Thunder fruit. In addition, there is a long knife with purple patterns on the bottom of the box. The scabbard is forged from gold and inlaid with exquisite gemstones. Hear the voice of all things. Supreme fast knife 12 skills, Lei Ling. The blade was densely covered with purple patterns, and the sound of slashing was like thunder, that's why this blade was called Lei Ling. Hiss. The hazy light in the cave suddenly dimmed, and there was a low, strange sound behind him. From the corner of his eye, Zhang Yang saw a huge strange snake staring at him with big eyes. Nolan. That big snake on Sky Island. Zhang Yang narrowed his eyes, and didn't feel any malice, and the power to listen to the voice of all things just felt a very ignorant curiosity. Is this your home? Zhang Yang stretched out his hand and touched the scales on the big snake's body. They were very hard and probably could withstand the bombardment of the shells. But that's about it. This big guy who has lived for hundreds of years is quite intimidating in size, but his strength is only average. The only advantage is that he can live long enough. If he really fights, the vice admiral level can suppress him. Big Snake looked at Zhang Yang ignorantly, as if wondering if this little thing could be eaten. Want to eat me? Zhang Yang raised his brows and grinned slightly. Zilla. The lightning flashes from the fingers jumped onto the big snake, and the big snake with its mouth open instantly froze in place. The body was a little burnt black, and there was a smell of meat. I'm in a good mood today. For the sake of devil fruit and the big knife, I will save your life. Zhang Yang patted the big snake's body and disappeared in place in an instant. Chapter 27 This is God. The devil fruit has been found. The next thing to do is to remove the entire Sky Island. Zhang Yang floats above Sky Island. You have to get these people together first. According to observation Hawkeye, the residents of Sky Island are scattered in several villages of different sizes. If you want to gather people together and take them away, this is the most suitable move. Zhang Yang opened his hands, embracing the whole world, and the endless transparent lines shot in all directions like shooting stars. String fruit. Birdcage. What is this? A meteor shower. How could it be a meteor shower? There is no such exaggerated meteor shower. Looks like a thread. The residents of Angel Island and the Sandia people of Cloud Shinobi Village, all the people who are busy on Sky Island can't help but look up at the sky at this moment. The overwhelming white silk threads fell from the sky, covering the entire sky. Like an upside-down pot lid, it wraps the entire Sky Island. The entire Sky Island instantly turned into a caged bird. Boom. Fiery flames erupted, engulfing the surrounding silk threads. Flame shells, shock shells, slash shells. No, my lord, there is no effect, these silk threads are too strong. Isn't there even a shock shell? Gamfer's heart sank when he saw the silk threads that went straight to the sky and connected together in front of him. Could it be that the entire Sky Island is going to be trapped in this corner? God, look at these threads, they seem to be moving. Rumble. Assemble. Looking down at Sky Island, Zhang Yang clenched his fists and slowly closed his fingers. Transparent silk threads danced at the fingertips. The silver-white thread standing between the sky and the earth stretched tightly, making a rumbling sound, and under Zhang Yang's control, began to shrink towards the island. Under the threat of ever-shrinking birdcage, the residents on Sky Island had to move towards the center of birdcage. God Ganfort, Chief Sandia, Gamfer, who led a group of Sky Island people, and the chieftain, who led a group of Sandians, met each other on the way to transfer. Enemies are jealous when they meet each other. The racial feud that has been fought with each other for 400 years is in sight, and the eyes of the people of Sky Island and Shandia are red. You bloody savages. The robbers who robbed our ancestral land. The two parties greeted each other's 18 generations of ancestors as if they had smeared honey on their small mouths. If they were in another place, they would have started fighting long ago. But under the threat of birdcage, no one is in the mood to fight. The pushing crowd gradually approached the land of gold, and the figure floating in the sky caught everyone's eyes. Silk threads. Are these silk threads released by this person? Tens of thousands of people are crowded together, and the noisy sound is a headache. Ganfer looked at the sky solemnly. This person gave him the impression that he was very strong. It's all here. Zhang Yang stopped narrowing down the scope of the birdcage, looked at the people pushing and shouting all over the golden town below, and nodded in satisfaction. Your Excellency, what did you want to gather us here for? Ganfort asked in a deep voice, riding a pink Pegasus horse. It's nothing, I just need some people to work for me, so I came to you. Zhang Yang didn't mean to hide it either, and stated his purpose openly. The main purpose of his visit this time, besides the gold and devil fruit of Sky Island, is to subdue the people of the entire Sky Island for his use. Of course, in addition to these, he is still very interested in Bay, a specialty of Sky Island. This joke is not funny. Ganfer's voice was full of anger, and he actually wanted to take them as his subordinates. He is a god, doesn't he want to lose face? A joke. Do you look like I'm joking? The smile on Zhang Yang's face disappeared slowly, and he looked at Ganfer expressionlessly, with a deep indifference in his casual eyes. He didn't think that he would let others treat him like a cow or a horse with a single word. No matter how much you say about this kind of thing, it's best to prove it with strength. Dissatisfied. Easy. If it fails once, it will be twice, if it fails twice, it will be 3 times, and if it fails 3 times, it will be killed directly. He really didn't believe that the people on this island were the kind of ruthless people who would rather die than be free. He is not Drago. If it were Drago instead, he might be able to persuade others to join the revolutionary army with emotion and reason. But he is different, he only wants the result. If you disagree, you die. Very simple multiple choice question. This is also the essential difference between him and Drago. Drago's purpose is to overthrow the world government and build a world where there is no oppression and everyone is equal. And his purpose is simply to overthrow the world government. Then, establish a new dynasty with him as the main one. What Dorag needs is like-minded comrades, and what he needs is a group of obedient and awe-inspiring subjects. This point, so far Drago does not know. Zhang Yang also didn't want to let Drago know his ambitions, because there was no need. Anyway, the two of them now have a common idea, to overthrow the world government. As for whose idea is better after the overthrow of the world government, each will have to rely on his means. Zhang Yang is not optimistic about Drago. The current Dorag is still too young. He grew up under the shelter of his father, like a strong-looking fledgling. He has never seen the real darkness of this world, and he is still too naive. And things like dreams are often defeated by reality in the end. Sooner or later, he will know how ridiculous his idea of equality is. The existence of class is the inferiority of human beings, which will never disappear. Ganfer, join hands, Chief Sandia said in a deep voice. No one wants to be someone else's servant, and neither does he. This man's strength is unusual, and he is not sure that he can defeat the Sandian warriors alone, so. The best way right now is to join forces with these people from Angel Island. Although the blood feud accumulated for hundreds of years is difficult to resolve, sometimes it is only an opportunity for an enemy to become a friend. There is no permanent enemy in the world. It is good. Ganfer drank in a deep voice. Priests of Sky Island, follow me to defeat this guy who wants to enslave us. Ganfort pinched Pierre's belly lightly, and the pink Pegasus flew up from the ground and rushed to the sky, flapping its wings. The icy knight's spear was shining brightly, roaring, piercing the sky, stabbing straight at Zhang Yang. Is it only to this extent? Looking at Ganfer, who was in his prime and at the peak of his strength, Zhang Yang looked a little disappointed. This level of strength is not bad compared to the aging Ganfer in the future. However, in front of his eyes, it seemed a bit unsightly. Clang. What? Ganfer's pupils shrank and he let out a horrified sound, looking in disbelief at the man who blocked his full blow with only one finger. This, what a power. The one you're wearing is iron armor, right? Zhang Yang, whose hand was covered with a layer of black and red armament hockey, put his index finger against Ganfer's spear, and looked at the armor on Ganfer meaningfully. Wearing armor to fight me, really? I don't know how to live or die. What's the meaning? A doubt emerged in Ganfer's heart, and before he had time to think about it, the armor on his body suddenly seemed to turn into a ball of water. Crash. There was a sound of icy friction, and the thick armor and the spear in his hand instantly turned into a thick chain to bind him tightly. With a wave of Zhang Yang's palm, Ganfer flew upside down and was nailed to a golden house made of gold. Master God. UB***********D. What did you do to Lord God? Unforgivable. Sandians will not yield. A group of priests and Sandia warriors who stepped on the blast shells flew up angrily, and greeted Zhang Yang with various shells in their hands. You seem to respect this guy very much, but it's better not to use the word God casually. The power of God, can you imagine it? There are circles of purple lines reflected in the eyes, the pupils dilate, and a strong repulsive force pushes out. Shenluo Tianzheng. Freeze the space. All the attacks and a group of priests were blown away. If Zhang Yang hadn't withdrawn most of his power, this blow would have been enough to make all these priests die. Looking at the restless group of Sky Island residents, Zhang Yang lost his patience. You seem to be somewhat ignorant of the current situation. Turn your palms down and press down slowly. The surrounding birdcage slowly disappeared, and instead, a heavy pressure fell from the sky. Gravity field covered. The ground cracked and sank downward, and all the residents of Sky Island felt that their breathing became a little heavy. From now on, every minute, I will increase the gravity, those who want to survive. The cold voice echoed in the sky. Kneel down then. Chapter 28 Luo Jia. The heavy pressure made the air oppressive. Panic and despair spread among the crowd. 5 minutes passed in a blink of an eye, and the pressure falling from the sky had grown to an unbearable level. The air was pulled away, and it was as if a weight of several hundred caddies was pressed against his chest. Every breath became extremely heavy, and his mind went blank. As time went on, this feeling became more and more serious, the taste of blood rose in the throat, and the internal organs groaned under the heavy pressure. If you go on like this, you will die. A Sky Island man with wings growing from his back, his legs were trembling, and the heavy air made him unable to breathe. That feeling of an invisible hand at the throat turned into desperation over time. He wanted to run, but his body had already lost strength due to the heavy load. Phantoms gradually began to appear in front of my eyes. Plop. In this desperate and deadly atmosphere, the first Sky Islander fell to his knees. Plop, plop, plop. With the first person taking the lead, there is a second person following. All they need is a reason to appease their inner dignity. It's not that I want to kneel, but everyone else has already kneeled, why can't I kneel? In the blink of an eye, almost all of the tens of thousands of Sky Island residents knelt on the ground, panting on the ground with expressions like they had escaped death. What hangs on his face is the joy of the rest of his life after a catastrophe. Everyone is an ideal warrior. When danger comes, everyone will feel that he is the one who will never give in. But in fact, too many people are often defeated by their own fears. Fear of death. No one is not afraid of death, even if he is not afraid in his heart, the instinct to survive will drive his desire to live. In fact, death is not terrible. If you can choose a painless way to die, many people will not feel afraid. What is terrible is the heavy psychological pressure before waiting for death to come. The sense of despair that he was powerless to resist when death came little by little, every second that passed, the persistence in his heart would be less. This feeling is enough to drag down the inner strength of most people. The person who jumped from the building will feel fear and regret from the bottom of his heart at the moment of jumping. If he is given another chance, he will definitely choose a completely different ending. Just like, after a person has experienced life and death, as long as he can live, he can do anything. In the land of gold, tens of thousands of Sky Island residents and Shandia people knelt down, and only a few people were barely holding on. The will is quite tenacious. There was a ripple in the air. The heavy pressure surrounding the sky disappeared. Zhang Yang stretched out his hand, and a strong attraction erupted from the palm of his hand. Universal pull directly pulled the Sandian chief over. Memory fruit. Revise. Pointing the finger between Chief Sandia's eyebrows, the fruit ability was activated, the memory was deleted and edited, and the memory was programmed. Tell me who you are. I am Sean. A flash of struggle flashed in Chief Sandia's eyes, and then he calmed down. Looking at Zhang Yang devoutly and respectfully, his eyes are wild. I am your most loyal servant. The corners of Zhang Yang's mouth raised slightly, confrontation. Unyielding. Sorry. In front of him, all resistance and stubbornness are as fragile as paper. Sincere surrender. Unnecessary. Why force others to change things that he can change himself? I instilled my own will in the memory of these people, and then erased their tenacity, and the rest is absolute loyalty. It took half a month, with the ability of Lion Fruit, to evacuate the entire Sky Island to Joshi Island. Zhang Yang also collected a large number of various empty shells, some of which were reserved for the armed forces of the Galaxy Island Guard Patrol. Part of it was sent to Punk Hazard's underground laboratory to Vegapunk to develop the principle of empty shells. After a long period of fermentation, the reputation of Joshi Island has finally ushered in a period of explosive development. Every day, an endless stream of illegal businessmen settle in, bringing him high income. How is the construction of the underground laboratory? Joshi Island, inside the Black Palace. Half kneeling under the steps, the N*******R in black military uniform touched his chest and said respectfully. My lord, the underground laboratory has been completed, and various instruments are ready, and the research can only start when the experimental personnel arrive. As that's so, Zhang Yang crossed his legs, propped his chin on his hand, and tapped on the armrest. Where are those children? Kasho. Secret training is going on in the secret training camp, everything is normal. How much money is left that can be mobilized now? Galaxy Island's monthly income has reached 700 million Baileys and is still growing. Including the batch of gold brought by the adults, the Baileys that can be mobilized are at least 250 billion Baileys. 250 billion. Zhang Yang tapped the armrest, which was a subconscious movement when he was thinking. There was silence in the palace, and the atmosphere seemed to become a little depressing. Take out some of the slaves to buy, as long as the price does not exceed 30% of the market price, buy them all and send them to the training camp for training. Yes, my lord. Kasho and the N****** both breathed a sigh of relief. The atmosphere just now was too depressing, even with their strength, they couldn't help but feel palpitations. The aura of the adults became more and more terrifying. How did you do what I asked you to do before? A reward has been issued for the purchase of Devil Fruit and Liang Kuaigong level weapons, and people have been sent to the auction house of Sabayati Archipelago to guard the auction house. The matter of buying the surrounding marine base generals is in progress and has already achieved results. The Marine Rear Admiral in the 4 marine bases of G1, A3, and B4 has expressed their willingness to cooperate and agreed to help us open up routes within the scope of management and allow ships belonging to Galaxy Island to enter and exit freely. Several other marine bases also had obvious intentions, and only the Rear Admiral of the Ga1 branch expressed resistance to this matter. Rear Admiral of the Ga1 branch. Zhang Yang frowned slightly, and a serious man with a square face flashed in his mind. Rear Admiral of Ga1 branch, Terrace. The only general in the surrounding marine base who has no background and backing. This guy's temper is notoriously stubborn and rigid in this department. From the fact that Marshal Sora and Sengoku don't like him very much, it can be seen how angry this guy is in naval headquarters. If it weren't for the special period when combat power was scarce, such a person would probably not be able to climb the rank of Rear Admiral even if his strength was comparable to Vice Admiral. Joshi Island is a pirate force, and the two superficial managers are big pirates with a bounty of over 100 million. Even if they are whitewashed, they cannot get rid of this mark. With Talus, temper, he naturally wouldn't open the door to a group of pirates. In this regard, he is very similar to Sakazuki, but compared to Sakazuki who can't get a grain of sand in his eyes, it's still a bit less interesting. Terrace. Zhang Yang narrowed his eyes, and a cold look flashed in his eyes. Since there is no cooperation, there is no value in existence. With the current tentacles of power on Gaxi Island, high-level officials from both the Marine and the world government have had some contact. It is very difficult to make a headquarters Rear Admiral disappear silently, but to make a headquarters Rear Admiral leave, it is enough to use some means gently. It might be troublesome to switch to someone else, but if it's Terrace, even Marshal Kong will turn a blind eye. Is it stern and selfless, or is it treacherous and loyal? Even a guy like Sakazuki has a weakness, which is ruthlessness in extremes. In order to hunt down pirates, they would rather implicate innocent civilians. If this kind of thing is reported, even naval headquarters will feel a headache. Will Terrace be tougher than Sakazuki? Zhang Yang didn't believe it. The more upright a person looks, the flaws on his body will only be more deadly than ordinary people. Luogia Pirates and Bigmom Pirates battle in New World. A newspaper the next day made Zhang Yang feel a little bit emotional. Luogia has the road to One Piece already started. Defeated Charlotte, Linlin, and deciphered the historical text of the signpost from her hands. Calculating the time, in about 4 or 5 years, Luogia will reach the top and start an era of great pirates that will affect the future world structure. The peaceful world will completely open a new curtain. An era that belongs to One Piece Luogia and belongs to all pirates is coming. The 4 emperors ruled the world and became the overlord of the new world. Marine's power was suppressed in the first half of the Grand Line, ushering in the lowest ebb in thousands of years. It was the best of times, but it was also the worst of times. Chaos, the more chaos the better. Zhang Yang looked down at the Marine soldiers who were undergoing daily training outside the window, his dark eyes were as deep as black Yoruichi. The world is in chaos, so he has a chance to make a living out of the fire. So, Luogia, let's be presumptuous. You will start a new era, but there is only one name for this era. That is, the Black Emperor. _Z_flowers, tickets chapter 29 Black Emperor Bank. Beep beep. Hey, this is the G2 branch, Vice Admiral Black Owl. My lord, the things you want have been collected. The respectful face of the N****** R emerged from the phone bug. So fast. Zhang Yang's eyes were slightly surprised. Okay, I'll go there. After hanging up the phone bug, Zhang Yang teleported to Joshi Island, which is thousands of miles away. My lord, these are what you want. The N******, who had been waiting for a long time, handed over a stack of photos. Zhang Yang took it away and took a look. The first picture is a middle-aged man with a serious face, sitting in a box, holding a girl who looks no more than 12 or 13 years old in his arms. In the second photo, the palm of the middle-aged man stretched into the arms of the girl. Lolicon. Zhang Yang smacked his lips. The figure in these photos is none other than the highest officer of the Ga-1 Fortress Base, Terrace Rear Admiral. The guy who looks serious, really has a dirty heart. Turning to the last page, Zhang Yang found that it was an information sheet, and the photo on this information sheet was the little girl who looked 12 or 13 years old. Daisy. 12 years old, father. Terrace. The corner of Zhang Yang's mouth twitched slightly, the plot seemed to be deflected too quickly. At first I thought it was just a lolicon, but it turned out to be a scum with a serious love interest. This was taken with the miniature camera I sent earlier. Zhang Yang looked at the black ghost and asked. Miniature camera, also can be said to be a candid camera, this is a new espionage technology product developed by Vegapunk. Inspired by the image shell of Sky Island, it is an improved portable pinhole camera that incorporates the principle of the camera after secondary processing. Yes, my lord, I secretly sent someone to hide the camera in Talus Rear Admiral's residence and frequented places, and accidentally took pictures of these things. My lord, do you want to send these things directly to the newspaper office? The N***** R asked cautiously, if these things were sent to the newspaper office, it could be said that Talus's reputation in the Marine would at least be refrigerated, if not a beast that everyone shouted and beaten. The best result is that the newspaper is afraid to publish this kind of thing and send it to naval headquarters. However, with Marshal Kongfeng's character, he wouldn't rub this kind of sand in his eyes at all. Corruption, abuse of authority and relationships, that is the style of naval headquarters up and down, almost equivalent to unspoken rules. But stretching out his murderous hand to his underage daughter is a question of character and morality. It's okay to do it in private, but he was stabbed to the marshal's office. What can Kong Ji-yu do? He can suppress it, but will the person who sent these photos to the newspaper give up? Even if the matter is kept silent for the sake of Marine, Talus's future is almost ruined. At least, it is certain to be transferred from the Ga-1 base, and maybe they will be directly found a reason to go to the end. No, why send it to the newspaper office? Zhang Yang rubbed his chin, and the smile on the corner of his mouth gradually became presumptuous. Send someone to send these photos to the Ga-1 branch, Terrace Rear Admiral, I want him to kneel down and beg me. There was a trace of coldness in his eyes. Pride and justice. His favorite thing is to make these bumbling guys into his guard dogs. The more righteous a person is, the more he will cherish his feathers. With these photos in hand, he was not afraid that Talus would not kneel down and be his dog, unless he wanted to ruin his reputation. How are those people at Sky Island doing? Zhang Yang asked casually. He moved the residents of the entire Sky Island, including the Golden Township, to the vicinity of Galaxy Island. Except for the Golden City, the others didn't intervene much, and they were all taken care of by the N********************************RS. To him, the residents of Sky Island are just a logistics base for cultivating combat power, and he doesn't need to pay too much attention to it. The life is stable. They seem to be satisfied with the stable life now, but they have some complaints about sending children under the age of 12 to the training camp. Leave them alone. Zhang Yang shook his head. It's normal to have complaints. But the bones of these people have been broken, and the most difficult ones have also been brainwashed by him. It is almost impossible to resist, and then it only needs generations of domestication, habit, and integration, and these people will become a knife in his hand. If you can live and work in peace and contentment, how many people would want to resist with death? Unyielding. Free. Can it be eaten as a meal? Terrace Rear Admiral, I have your mail. Let's put it there first. Talus, who was dealing with official business, waved his hand. Galaxy Island, do you want me to help protect their ship? Looking at a report application in his hand, Talus showed a sneer at the corner of his mouth. A bunch of pirates, they really think they can do anything with money. I'm not the trash of other marine bases. Disdainfully crushed the report into a ball and threw it into the trash. Wanting him to help a group of pirates is simply delusional. This is his dignity as a marine. I don't know if Daisy misses me at home. After finishing the official duties, Talus stretched his waist, thinking of his daughter. A warm smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Daisy is his daughter, because her mother died when she was young, so Terrace doted on her extremely since she was a child. I was afraid that she would be wronged, so I never thought of helping her find a stepmother. It's just like your mother, Daisy. Looking at the two photos on the desktop, one big and one small are almost two mother and daughter carved out of the same mold. Talus's eyes were a little absent-minded, and he didn't know when he had evil thoughts about his daughter. Although it was just for cuddling and stroking, this deepening evil thought frightened him very much. We can't go on like this, or we will hurt Daisy sooner or later. If there is anything in this world that he cares most about, it is undoubtedly his daughter. After making up his mind to keep a distance from his grown-up daughter in the future, Talus felt relieved for a while. It's time to wake up. It's not too late. Who sent this letter? Suddenly remembering the email sent by the adjutant just now, Talus took it curiously and tore open the envelope. Crash. The scattered photos were scattered on the ground, and Talus frowned and bent over to pick them up. His body stopped suddenly, his eyes filled with disbelief. Fear. Panic. Taking a deep breath, I picked up all the photos. Burned one by one. Sitting in the seat, Talus pondered for a long time, and picked up the phone bug with difficulty. Terrace Rear Admiral, it seems that you have already considered the things you talked about before. Talus took a deep breath, a bitter smile appeared on his face. Do I have a choice? Your request. I agree. Terrace Rear Admiral, don't you think our previous conditions should be changed? The R's deep laughter came from the other side of the phone bug. As long as you don't do anything that might hurt my daughter, I promise you everything. Talus' voice was dry. On the phone bug, a devilish smiling face appeared. Then, happy cooperation. By the way, I have a gift that I think Talus Rear Admiral will like, and the time should be coming soon. Gift. Talus, who hung up the phone, frowned slightly. Master Rear Admiral, someone is visiting. There was a weird voice from the guard outside the door. Let him in. Click. The door was pushed open, and two women with good figure and good looks walked in through the door. You are. Talus looked at the two charming women suspiciously. Lord N********, let's send something to Terrace Rear Admiral, Bailey, and. The two women skillfully unbuttoned their clothes and moved over. Us. Talus, who hadn't touched a woman for several years, slowly relaxed his stiff body and looked up at the ceiling. A thought flashed through my heart. Perhaps, it's not a bad thing to help the Black Emperor. The human heart is like this. Once it starts to degenerate, the inner desire will become a ditch that is difficult to fill. Breaking through the bottom line of my heart time and time again, until I fell into the bottomless abyss. And this only needs a simple reason, a reason that can convince one's heart. Everything is for Daisy. Black Emperor Bank, what is this? As long as you store Bailey, you can use your deposit card to withdraw the same amount of Bailey from the Black Emperor Bank in various regions, and there will be 3% interest every year. With 3% interest, doesn't that mean that if you deposit 100 million Baileys, you can get 3 million Baileys more every year? Is there such a good thing? Is this thing reliable? I heard that it has been promoted on dozens of islands near Galaxy Island. Bank access. A passing businessman's eyes light up when he hears the conversation around him. If it is true, then these businessmen, don't they carry a lot of jewelry Bailey when they go out to do business without going to sea? You don't have to worry about being robbed by pirates every day, which is more than a little or too convenient. However, is this thing reliable? Although a little excited, but more doubts. After all, in the current sea, pirates spend a lot of money, and this kind of place where a large amount of cash is placed is simply a living target for pirates. scrumptiously waiting for the pirates to go up and rob. If it is true that the money is stored in it, if all of it is robbed, wouldn't it be a waste of time to fetch water from the bamboo basket? Nothing. Wait and see for a while. If it's really reliable, it won't be too late to deposit Bailey in. Reluctantly glanced at the Black Emperor Bank, turned and left. Such an important matter still needs to wait and see for a while. Chapter 30 Doflamingo. What's the situation with the banks on the various islands now? For half a month, the banks on all the nearby islands have been robbed by pirates, but the defense personnel around our bank are sufficient. A large number of Kongbei armed personnel have been deployed around each bank, and with the cooperation of Marines everywhere, only the 8th branch was breached by the Mochi pirates with a bounty of 250 million. The N******** lowered his head and reported. All the members of the Mochi pirates have been captured by Kasho, and all the robbed Baileys have been recovered. Are you sure that notes issued by banks cannot be imitated? Don't worry, my lord, this is a special template and seal made of special demon fruit power, and no one can imitate it. You are wondering why I want to do such a thankless job as a bank. Looking at the black ghost who hesitated to speak, Zhang Yang knew what he was thinking without asking. My lord, isn't 3% interest rate a bit too high? Hi. Zhang Yang smiled and said nothing. He didn't have to do anything, he only needed to deposit the money in the bank to get 3% interest rate, which of course seemed very high. Not to mention 3%, even 1% is a loss. But, think about it from another angle, if someone puts 100 million Pele with him, how much money can he make with this 100 million Pele in that year? Money makes money. This is the locality of thinking. You can only see the loss, but you can't see what benefits you can get from it. If all the Baileys in the world are deposited in his bank, what is the meaning of Bailey to him? It's just a line of numbers. Frowning suddenly, Zhang Yang looked at the location of the Black Emperor Bank in Joxi Island. It's kind of interesting, you dare to make small moves here. Swish. Zhang Yang's figure slowly disappeared. In the next second, it appears in the underground of the bank, where the Sky Island gold is stored. Crisp footsteps sounded. A group of guards guarding the vault looked vigilantly in the direction of the sound. A group of guards wearing the same clothes walked over stiffly. Jack, why are you here? It's not time for shift change yet. Seeing that it was a familiar face, the captain of the guard guarding the vault heaved a sigh of relief, and his body relaxed. Why did not you talk? Seeing the friend slowly walking over without saying a word, the captain of the guard frowned slowly, sensitively aware that something was wrong. Stay still, Jack, if you come over again I'll shoot you. The captain of the guard touched the sound shell on his waist with his fingers to give an early warning, but was horrified to find that his body suddenly became uncontrollable. On his limbs, invisible silk threads bound him, manipulating his body like a marionette. What a bunch of fragile guys. A childish voice sounded from the corner, and a boy in pink slowly stepped out of the shadows. Blonde hair, sunglasses, a pink shirt, cropped pants, and black leather shoes. Several men followed closely behind. You are Doflamingo of the Don Quixote Pirates. The controlled guard spoke with difficulty. I was recognized, but it doesn't matter, everyone here is going to die anyway. Doflamingo raised his mouth and walked over with weird steps, pointing his fingers. Now, help me open this treasury. I am in desperate need of money to complete my goal. The controlled guard walked towards the vault uncontrollably, and stretched out his hand to open the gate of the vault. Doflamingo, the Black Emperor will not let you go. The Black Emperor. He. A coward who has never shown his face, do you think he can find me? Doflamingo gave a strange laugh with a mocking tone. The guy who hides his head and shows his tail, how could he be the young master's opponent? Dover, don't talk to him anymore. Hurry up and get the treasure and leave. It's not good if you delay too long and attract Cashew and the N**************. A person standing behind Doflamingo said worriedly. That's right, those two mad dogs are not easy to deal with. Doflamingo nodded, and controlled the captain of the guard to open the vault. Dazzling golden light erupted from the vault, and Doflamingo looked at the scene in the vault in a daze. A thought flashed through my mind. Is this evacuating the gold stored by the world government? A whole treasury was piled full of gold, so much gold, he had only seen it in the highest level treasury in the Holy Land Mariajoy. Greedy desire welled up in his heart, so much gold was enough for him to fulfill his dream. There is a lot of gold, do you want it? A calm voice rang in my ears. Inside the vault, the man half leaning on the vault door let out a puff of smoke. When Doflamingo's pupils shrank, this guy, he didn't notice it at all just now. It's like it just appeared out of thin air. 5 color strings. There was a piercing sound, and 5 slender lines were drawn from Doflamingo's fingertips, like a wind blade, sweeping towards Zhang Yang. Clang, clang. The palm of the hand is covered with a layer of black and red armament hockey, gently brushing away the lines that are sweeping towards you. Armament hockey. Doflamingo frowned, his fingers trembled, and the guards around him were terrified and rushed up uncontrollably. Doflamingo, it's just disappointing to have this level. Zhang Yang raised his head slowly, and circles of purple lines were reflected in his pupils. Shenluo Tianzheng. Bang bang bang. The terrifying force blasted everyone to the wall, and the surrounding metal walls seemed to come alive, turning into countless chains to trap Doflamingo and his group firmly. The 5 people trapped in the steel cage struggled vigorously, but under the endless steel chains, they only gradually exhausted their physical strength. That irresistible strength, even a glimmer of hope of victory could not be seen. Despair. In Zhang Yang's eyes, Doflamingo didn't even have the slightest thought of resistance in his heart, with a playful and careless expression. This man, he, never took it seriously. My heart was cold and gloomy. Are you going to die here today? Damn it, obviously haven't let those damned guys pay the price. Doflamingo gritted his teeth, his face full of unwillingness. Under the oppression of death, a surge of domineering power rushed out. Hawkeye from conquerors. On my turf, is it your turn to be unruly? Zhang Yang snorted coldly. The conqueror's Hawkeye, which is countless times more domineering and violent than it, is like a tyrant who dominates the world, shrouding and falling, and pressing down hard. Caw caw caw. The black and red aura spread outward, and the surrounding metal walls burst into huge cracks under the huge pressure. Doflamingo's fragile conqueror's Hawkeye was squeezed within half a meter in the blink of an eye. In comparison, he is completely a child. Whether it is strength or courage. Zhang Yang walked forward slowly with leisurely steps. Your last name, if I remember correctly, should be Don Quixote, a branch of celestial dragons. Lifting Doflamingo's chin slightly, he took off his sunglasses. A pair of unruly eyes stared at him coldly. Don't mention them in front of me. Zhang Yang shrugged and didn't care. A few years ago, in the holy land of Mariajoy, the celestial dragons of the Don Quixote family had a main branch that broke away from the title of world nobility in order to live a peaceful life of ordinary people. You should be the blood of that celestial dragons. Stupid, isn't it? A group of high-ranking celestial dragons suddenly became ordinary people. What will happen to those ordinary people who were once oppressed by celestial dragons? Live in peace. No, the inferiority of human beings will only make them vent their anger and hatred on these people. Enough. Doflamingo interrupted sharply. The painful past flashed through his mind, his breathing was heavy, and his eyes were bloodshot. Ignoring Doflamingo's gnashed hate expression, Zhang Yang continued. Doflamingo, I can feel that you are hating those ordinary people who are cruel to you, hating those celestial dragons who shut you out even more, you are hating this world, you want to destroy the celestial dragons dominate the world. Zhang Yang's finger was on Doflamingo's head, and the memory fruit was activated. In the next second, a strong obsession and overbearing will repelled his fruit ability back. It's like armament Hawkeye can target Logia fruit ability users. Conqueror's Hawkeye, this kind of pure courage originating from the mind and will, has a restraining effect on any spirit-type devil fruit ability. Memory editing failed. Zhang Yang didn't care either. Devil fruit is not omnipotent, he already knew this. This time it was just a simple experiment. Strength, only enough power can help you achieve your ambitions, but you don't have this ability now. Zhang Yang retracted his fingers calmly. What do you want to say in the end? The furious expression on Doflamingo's face became calm. No matter how stupid he was, he knew at this moment that this man was not trying to kill him after talking so much nonsense to him. Chapter 31. Bolu Kingdom. I give you the power to avenge the world government, the celestial dragons, and fulfill your wishes and ideals. However, there is no free lunch in the world. As a price, I need you to work for me. Zhang Yang squeezed Doflamingo's chin. Working for you. The corners of Doflamingo's mouth were grinning, and there was a mocking look in his unruly eyes. Do you think that's possible? In his bones is the temper of celestial dragons, defiant and rebellious. Being able to awaken Conqueror's Hawkeye is enough to prove that he cannot live under the fence. Let him surrender to others. Ha ha. Doflamingo, smart people should know the law of the jungle. Do you have a choice? When you meet a guy who doesn't obey you, you have to use your strength to convince him. You are the same, and I am the same. You can refuse, but can you bear the consequences? Doflamingo fell silent. He doesn't want to die. His hatred, his ambitions are not yet complete. He can't die. Are you not afraid that one day I will overtake you and kill you? Doflamingo looked at the man in front of him, wondering why he was so confident. Are you not afraid of raising tigers? If it was him, he would definitely be the killer now. Zhang Yang twitched the corner of his mouth. No one is not afraid of death. Especially for such ambitious people, there is hope in life. So they will seize the opportunity desperately, even if they succumb to being someone else's dog, they don't want to die meaninglessly. So, Doflamingo will succumb, and can only succumb, which is a solid answer. Looking down on Doflamingo condescendingly, Zhang Yang's calm tone carried indescribable confidence. Want to surpass me, Doflamingo, can you do it? If you have the confidence, then try your best. I will stand on the top of this world, waiting for you. Doflamingo snorted coldly, what a disgusting guy. Sooner or later you will regret today's decision. Then show me this strength. Zhang Yang threw a token and a black phone bug to Doflamingo. What is this? Black Emperor order. With this token, you can mobilize any forces belonging to the Black Emperor within the scope of your ability. From now on, you will be the 4th Black Knight commander of the Dark Knights under the Black Emperor. This call the worm is a special phone worm that I use to contact you on a special line. What do you want me to do? Doflamingo wondered. Take care of all illegal black transactions in the name of the Dark Emperor, plant spies among the various forces in the world government and marine, and integrate all the underground forces that unify the world for me. No matter what method you use, I only want 2 results. Zhang Yang stretched out 2 fingers slowly. Surrender, or die. The Black Knight commander of the first sequence is the person with the most authority besides him. When he is not around, these people are the core cadres who can decide the future development direction of Galaxy Island for him. It is equivalent to a member of the Supreme Council of a country. And he is the only ruler of this country. King of Kings. Black Emperor. Currently, there are only 4 Knights of the Round Table of the Dark Knights under his command. Kasho, who is in charge of cultivating Gaxi Island's armed forces, and the butler N********, who is in charge of managing the affairs of Gaxi Island and the island's business, has placed Raquel, the infiltrating nail, in naval headquarters. Now we have to add one more, Doflamingo, who is mainly responsible for the black illegal trade and some espionage organizations. This is the top-level rights composition of Gaxi Island so far. A tree with 4 main trunks and countless branches and leaves is immature but strong. In the future, the branches and leaves on this tree will become more lush. Everything is going in a good direction. Naval Headquarters, Office of the Marshal. Okay, I get it. Marshal, is there any trouble? Looking at Marshal Sora with a face full of headaches, Suru Vice Admiral, who was dealing with official duties, wondered. The East Blue Area, a country belonging to the allies of the world government family, is invaded by pirates. The king, prince and 1,500 guards are besieged by pirates. The world government hopes that the marine side will solve this matter. Kong Ji-yu clasped his palms together, resting on the center of his brows. The other party is a pirate with a bounty of 400 million. It is not safe for an ordinary vice admiral to go out. If those pirates are angered and the king and prince are accidentally injured, the world government will definitely issue accountability. Golden Lion has been a little restless recently. I'm afraid that the frequent contact with various pirate groups is to make a big noise. Sengoku and Garp are in New World, and they won't be able to leave for a while. I'm wondering who to solve this matter. More appropriate. Crane Vice Admiral frowned and thought about it. How about letting Heishao go? A black owl. Sora's frowning brows were loosened. Quasi-admiral level strength suppressed a pirate with a bounty of 400 million. If there were no accidents, it should be fine. Then let him go. Kong Ji-yu picked up the phone bug at hand. Hey, help me pick up the black owl Vice Admiral. At an altitude of 1,000 meters above the sea, warships are flying aimlessly. At this time, Vegapunk has not yet developed the technology to allow ships to sail safely from the calm belt. So the only way to go from the Grand Line to the Four Seas is through the upside-down mountain, which is complicated and dangerous, and a waste of time. In order to shorten the voyage, Zhang Yang directly used the lion fruit to control the warship to float, and floated over the calm belt from a height of more than 1,000 meters. Don't face the endless sea kings. Although for him, solving those hundreds of kilometers long big guys is just a matter of one knife. It took a day to pass calm belt, and it took about a week before and after, and finally arrived at the destination. Boru Kingdom. Black Owl Vice Admiral, the Bolu Kingdom is ahead. Under the stunned eyes of a group of melon eaters, the warship was controlled to land slowly on the pier on the shore. The minister of the kingdom, Fei Wang, who had been waiting on the pier for a long time, stepped forward to question after a brief absence. The king has been besieged by those pirates for almost half a month. Why did the world government's support come only now? The gorgeously dressed lady shouted hysterically like a rambunctious street shrew. If you want to say who in this kingdom least wants the king and prince to have an accident, she is the only one. As the princess of the Bolu kingdom, all her honor and status come from the king and prince. If the king and prince die, the king's younger brother will inherit the country. And what will happen to her, the former king's concubine? Are you talking to me? Zhang Yang glanced over casually, his indifferent eyes were like a dragon in the dark night. The cold oppressive feeling enveloped the entire pier in a depressing aura, and the air pressure dropped a few degrees. Lord Vice Admiral, calm down, the princess is just worried about the safety of the king, so she is a little unreasonable. The left minister standing beside him hurriedly stood up. Now that the king's army is besieged by those pirates, they are looking forward to these marines to save their lives. At this time, there is a conflict, isn't it adding to the blockage? The elite army of the kingdom of Boru was besieged by a group of pirates for half a month. Don't you think of going to save the king? Zhang Yang didn't bother to argue with a woman, so he glanced at Minister Zuo and asked. We tried, but those pirates are too powerful, we are afraid of provoking him and hurting the king. Minister Zuo faltered and hesitated, but it wasn't that they didn't want to save him. It was the royal army of the Bolu kingdom. Except for the less than 2,000 king's guards, all the troops were under the control of the king's younger brother, the first prince and general of the Bolu kingdom. Since the king was besieged by the pirates, Prince Polu has been delaying sending troops to rescue the king for various reasons. At the same time, he secretly bought various ministers and nobles. It is simply Sima Zhao's heart, and everyone knows it. Master Vice Admiral, when will Marines' follow-up reinforcements arrive? Looking at the scattered hundreds of Marines on the warship, Minister Zuo asked strangely. Just such a small number of people, no matter how you think about it, they are no match for those pirates. Those who besieged the king's army were the great pirates who had returned from the Grand Line. The crew is more than 3,000 people, and the captain is offering a reward of more than 400 million to Baron Lewick, the Sea Lord. Follow-up reinforcements. There is no such thing. This time, the headquarters only assigned me to suppress these pirates. No reinforcements. Minister Zuo panicked. The Kingdom of Bolu is a member country of the world government. Does the world government have to ignore the member countries? Zhang Yang glanced at Minister Zuo and didn't bother to explain. A pirate with a bounty of 400 million is using others as reinforcements. Does this little old man have some misunderstanding about his strength? Observation Hawkeye expands to cover half of the island. The prince conspiring against his confidants, the king's army struggling with food shortages, the pirates who were like a rainbow. Everything comes into view. A ray of lightning flashed at the fingertips, and Zhang Yang's figure instantly appeared among a group of pirates. Chapter 32 The King and Prince. Captain, as long as the king and prince are captured alive, then we will be released this time. Those idiots in the Grand Line, I really don't know what they are thinking. They are working hard in New World, and they want to dominate the world. Among the 4 Seas, who is our opponent? Levick glanced at a group of lively crew members, and the corners of his mouth moved undetectably. Eyes mocking, pity. His miserable subordinates really thought that the invasion of the Bolu kingdom was a good thing. He didn't know that he just wanted to make a last profit and lived his rich life incognito. What kind of good place do you really think this land of the 4 Seas is? This is the place where the Marines suppress the most strictly. On the Grand Line, Marines encountered by burning, killing and looting may turn a blind eye. After all, the Grand Line is too big, and it is impossible for the world government to take full care of it, so the management of pirates is only half management and half laissez-faire. But the land of the world is the back garden of the world government. Dare to act recklessly in the land of the world, and wait for the thunder baptism of naval headquarters. Do you really think those pirates voluntarily went to the Grand Line to make a fortune? They also have to dare to wander casually in the 4 Seas. If there is no accident, the world government will at least send a vice admiral level marine to suppress it. It may also be the group of dogs organized by the CP. Lewick looked at the pirates and the king's army who were still fighting to the death. It will take at least half a month to get from the Grand Line to the 4 Seas, no matter if you start from the Holy Land of Mariajoy or naval headquarters, and cross the upside-down mountain to reach the kingdom of Boru. Take it, exchange it for 1 billion, no, 500 million Pele. Then, he parted ways with this group of useless subordinates, and went to the Grand Line to live his leisure life in anonymity. Unfortunately, I didn't expect the king to have such a powerful guard by his side, otherwise he would have been taken down a long time ago. Looking at the man in the king's army who won against hundreds of enemies, Levick squinted his eyes. If he wants to take down that guy, he will have to pay a big price, so he will use up his physical strength first. Anyway, enough time. Just as he was thinking, observation Hawkeye suddenly sensed a strange aura around him. Lewick frowned. When? Power fruit. Tenfold increase. Without any hesitation, the rich fighting experience honed from countless fighting has already made Lewick's body react subconsciously. A violent punch blasted behind him, and the air was torn apart by this punch, creating a terrifying explosion. Paramesha, power fruit ability user, good ability, I want it. The calm voice didn't fluctuate at all, it was expected, or he didn't care whether he was a devil fruit ability user or not. With knowledge and perception, he dodged a punch to the chest. The big pirate with a bounty of more than 400 million, armament Hawkeye is almost a standard ability, and the power of nature has no effect on them. Between the fingers, a faint ray of thunder lights up. 100 million volts, discharge. Fierce thunder spread in his hands, engulfing Lewick's figure in an instant. Strength increase, 20 times. The howling wind of fists tore through the air, a scorched arm covered with pitch black Hawkeye tore apart the thunder. Straight towards Zhang Yang's chest. Shenluo Tianzheng. Freeze the space. A pair of purple patterned eyes enlarged infinitely in his mind, and Levick's fist stopped less than 10 centimeters away from his chest. And this 10 centimeters is the distance between the sky and the earth. Boom. There were ripples in the surrounding air, and the translucent repulsion fist expanded outward at a speed visible to the naked eye. Under the terrifying force, Levick's arm was broken in the confrontation of the double force, and his body was blown away. Zhang Yang stretched out a hand, palm raised slightly. Universal pull. Whoosh. Lewick's body was dragged back by the emerging attraction. Puff. The palm filled with lightning was like a sharp knife, piercing Lewick's chest. Black smoke emerged from his body, and his hands seemed to be stained with thick ink. A deep, strange force enveloped Lewick's body. Fruit ability stripping. A pale yellow devil fruit condensed in Zhang Yang's hand. Paramesha, the fruit of power. The captain was killed. Fake. Our captain is a great pirate with a bounty of 400 million Baileys. That person, I seem to be a little familiar, as if I've seen it somewhere. I remember it. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, Black Owl, the one who destroyed the Ward pirates. Run away. Witnessing that their own captain was killed in a short moment, all the pirates felt their scalps go numb. Powerful, Captain Levick, who once killed a Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, was killed in one face-to-face. This guy is a monster. Can I run? Zhang Yang muttered something inexplicably. Boom. There was a ripple in the air, and the black and red conquerors Hawkeye emerged like a tide. Hawkeye swept across, the sky was frozen, and there was no sound. Plop, plop, plop. One by one, the pirates who were fleeing desperately, their eyes were white, their legs were limp, they knelt on the ground and fell forward. Even the Kingdom Army, who had no idea about the situation and was excited to chase after seeing the pirates escaping, was stunned by the overbearing will that enveloped half of the Bolu kingdom. Conquerors Hawkeye. In the camp of the Kingdom Army, the chief guard supported the fainted king and prince, and looked at the scene in front of him in horror. On the battlefield, thousands of pirates and kingdom troops knelt down on the ground, and the black and red aura enveloped most of the Bolu kingdom, which lasted for a long time. Known as the 1 in a million king qualification, although Conquerors Hawkeye is rare, it is not unique in New World. A few years ago, When he was not the head of the kingdom's bodyguard, he traveled in the first half of the Grand Line, and by chance saw the same Hawkeye on a man named Luogia. Shock all things, dominate the world. It was a boldness that could subdue both the sky and the earth. However, the Hawkeye he felt at that time, whether it is power or the will contained in it, is not at the same level as this time. This kind of thing is really conqueror's Hawkeye. The head guard took a deep breath, this monster. The palace is brightly lit. A grand banquet is underway. This banquet was specially organized by the king of Bolu Kingdom to reward Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral's assistance. From the beginning to the end of the banquet, Zhang Yang watched the intrigue of these people at the banquet with cold eyes. Passionate kings, cautious nobles, malicious ministers, and princes showing their fangs. Seeing the embarrassed king being excluded by a group of princes and ministers, the corners of Zhang Yang's mouth twitched slightly. Interesting. After the banquet, Zhang Yang received 2 invitation letters at the same time. One is from the first prince of the Bolu Kingdom, and the other is from the invitation of the king of the Bolu Kingdom. This king's methods are really not very good. In just half a month, he has already been emptied by his younger brother. Looking at the invitation letter from the first prince in his hand, Zhang Yang narrowed his eyes slightly. In order to get the throne, the first prince really spent all his money. There was only one brief sentence on the invitation. Billion Baileys. As long as he can help the ambitious prince win the throne. No, it should be said that as long as he does not interfere in the next battle for the throne within the Bolu Kingdom, he will get 1 billion Baileys. After half a month of working up and down, this ambitious prince has already grasped the support of most of the nobles and ministers in the country. As for the world government, of course it will not intervene in this kind of brother killing. It is the responsibility of the pirates to send troops to suppress the invasion, but if it is a struggle for power among the royal families, as long as the first prince manages it well, most of them will turn a blind eye. It can be said that if he does not participate, the first prince's summit is almost a certainty. King Bolu has become a lonely family now, only a few hardcore ministers promoted by King Bolu, and those nobles who have offended the first prince will support King Bolu at this time. I'm just talking about how the dignified princess and Minister Zuo came to meet me in person at the pier. It turned out that they were forced to have nowhere to go. Zhang Yang shook his head, and took out the letter sent by King Bolu. The whole letter was filled with all kinds of long-winded compliments and whims, faintly implying that if he could help him tide over the difficulties, he would definitely not treat him badly in the future. He also asked to meet him in the back garden of the palace at 9 o'clock in the evening. Zhang Yang just glanced at it and sneered. Use these fancy things to fool him, do you really think he is a 3-year-old? I'm almost dead and still keep searching like this, no wonder no one helps you. Chapter 33 Logia. Mara fruit. Your Majesty, it is 9 o'clock. Why hasn't the Marine Vice Admiral come yet? King Bolu anxiously walked back and forth in the back garden. Your Majesty, do you think the first prince is also trying to win over that Marine? Don't mention that traitor in front of me, that shameful and hateful usurper. King Bolu roared angrily. There are also those bastards who play with the wind. What kind of benefits did my idiot brother promise them? How dare they, how dare? After venting the anger in his heart, King Bolu gradually calmed down, and sighed dejectedly, a little at a loss. Minister Zuo, what do you think we should do now? Except for a few ministers and nobles in the palace, almost all of them were won over by the first prince. He is now a loner. If he doesn't think of a way, he will definitely die at the hands of his hateful brother. The best end is nothing more than being imprisoned and living a life without freedom. Or, let's ask the world government for help and let them send someone to suppress the first prince. King Boru told away that even he didn't believe it. Your Majesty, the world government will not interfere with this kind of matter. Minister Zuo replied helplessly. In this case, the world government will not intervene in the internal disputes within a kingdom at all. World government is not a nanny. Cleaning up the pirates is their duty, but to them, it doesn't matter who is the leading country of the world government, all they need is an obedient younger brother. As long as they are obedient enough, let alone the first prince, they won't care even if the king is replaced by a dog. But, other than that, we have absolutely nothing to do. Do we have to wait to die like this? Your Majesty, don't forget that the Marine Vice Admiral is not the first prince. A gleam flashed in Zuo Minister's eyes. But, didn't he agree to help us? I asked him to meet in the back garden, but he didn't come. He must have taken refuge with my brother. King Boru hesitated, and there was some resentment in his words. Very dissatisfied with this reinforcement sent by the world government, he ran to join his younger brother. Your Majesty, since the first prince has won over that Marine, why can't we? If he likes money, we'll give him money. King Bolu looked at his left minister like a fool. When he was besieged by those pirates, Wang Gubao Curry's treasure had already been emptied by the first prince. Now he even doubts whether the wealth accumulated by the Bolu royal family for hundreds of years was used by the prodigal brother who wanted to sit on the throne to bribe those princes and ministers. Where does he get the money now? The left minister's mouth twitched. Your Majesty, although we don't have Bailey now, we can promise him 1 billion Baileys if we help us deal with the first prince. What if he doesn't believe it? King Bolu asked. Empty promises from White Fang and genuine Bailey, as long as you are not stupid, you will know which one to choose. As a deposit, we can give him the thing first. You mean, that devil fruit? A look of pain flashed across King Bolu's face. That devil fruit was the trump card left to him by the previous King Bolu. Your Majesty, it's cheaper to keep the devil fruit instead of the first prince, why don't you take it out and take a gamble? It can be eaten by the chief guard. King Bolu retorted subconsciously, since he wanted to eat it for others, why not give it to his most trusted person? If you eat that devil fruit, maybe the head guard. Your Majesty, don't be naive anymore. Even if you eat that fruit, will the chief guard be the Marine Vice Admiral, the opponent of the first prince? King Bolu shook his head helplessly. Although he didn't want to admit it, even if he ate the devil fruit, his chief guard probably wasn't the opponent of the Marine Vice Admiral. Now it seemed that if he didn't want to be pushed down from the throne by his younger brother, this was the only way. Just do as you say. King Boru, who had made up his mind, seemed to have aged 10 years in an instant. As a king, he was actually betrayed by his own subjects. He really failed as a king. A gift from King Bolu. Black Owl Vice Admiral, as long as you agree to help His Majesty the King deal with the first prince and stop his plot, there will be another 1 billion Baileys to send. With a smile on his face, Minister Zuo handed over a pure gold treasure chest. Zhang Yang frowned, and slowly opened the treasure chest. An orange-yellow devil fruit shaped like a flame appeared in front of his eyes. His eyes narrowed slightly. This is Logia devil fruit, Mara fruit. King Bolu is truly a master. Zhang Yang looked at this devil fruit, which was enough to drive countless people crazy, with a playful expression on his face. It seems that King Bolu's current situation is even worse than he imagined. What do you want me to do for him? Seeing Zhang Yang put away the devil fruit directly, Minister Zuo quietly heaved a sigh of relief. King Bolu hopes that Lord Vice Admiral can kill the first prince. When it's done, I want to see 2 billion Baileys. Zhang Yang narrowed his eyes, and the lion opened his mouth. The Baileys that a kingdom has accumulated over hundreds of years are at least tens of billions. Although the 2 billions are painful, it is not impossible to take them out. I can't agree, I need to go back and discuss it with His Majesty the King. Minister Zuo's face is not very good looking, but now people are offering knives and I am fish, and it is not their turn to bargain. Give me an answer before tomorrow morning. Zhang Yang waved his hand indifferently. If King Bolu was not a fool, he should know how to choose. As for whether it will be hated by others if you add insult to injury. Zhang Yang was not worried at all. Even if King Bolu wanted to take revenge afterwards, he had to have the courage and strength to do so. As for reneging on his promise, would he dare? Half an hour later, Minister Zuo with an ugly face agreed to Zhang Yang's request. I don't know, when will Mr. Vice Admiral leave? Minister Zuo asked. Now the king would be in more danger if he waited a second longer. Of course he hoped that the sooner the better. Between glasses of wine, sitting cross-legged on the ground, eating supper, Zhang Yang raised his wine glass. Swish. The figure flickered and disappeared into the room. In a luxurious palace a few kilometers away, the figure of Zhang Yang emerged. As soon as he appeared, Zhang Yang felt a dozen pairs of sharp eyes looking at him within tens of meters around him. Waiting for me a long time ago. It seems that you are very confident. He glanced around with great interest, so confident to ambush him. Does he really have some secret trump card? Come here rashly in the middle of the night. The Black Owl Vice Admiral is planning to do right with this king. The first prince sitting high above had a sigh on his serious face. He has never seen Zhang Yang make a move, only heard others talk about the Vice Admiral's deeds against 1,000 enemies. What a single thought made thousands of pirates and the royal army kneel on the ground. Naturally, it was impossible for him to believe such exaggerated flattery. The reason why he took out 1 billion Baileys was just to get this naval headquarters Vice Admiral to be used by him and become his dog. Now it seems that it failed. This king loves talents. Unfortunately, you chose a wrong answer, but you should be proud to die at the hands of these dead men carefully trained by this king. With sharp eyes, the first prince shouted sharply. Kill him. In the next second, more than a dozen figures emerged from the darkness, stabbing Zhang Yang with icy blades. Zhang Yang raised his head slightly, with three-pointed indifference in his eyes, and looked around sarcastically. This is your trump card. Puff. The blade passed through the body, and a few ice crystals fell from Zhang Yang's body, and he stood there without even the intention of dodging. This kind of attack, which even armament Hawkeye doesn't have, can't do him any harm at all. A frog at the bottom of a well dares to say that the sky is high and the earth is thick. Ultimate's deep cold spread from the feet, and in the astonished and terrified eyes of the first prince, translucent ice crystals instantly froze the entire hall. Glacier. Era. Boom boom boom. The frozen head rolled to the ground. Seeing Zhang Yang who disappeared for a few seconds and then suddenly appeared, Minister Zuo had a shocked expression on his face. Looking at the frozen head on the ground, he swallowed involuntarily. This is the first prince. Gudong. Shochu was pouring into his belly. Zhang Yang put down his glass and sighed contentedly. The temperature of the wine is just right. 2 billion Baileys, send them to the warship tomorrow, otherwise, I don't mind letting the Bolu kingdom change to another king. The casual tone made Minister Zuo shudder. Your Majesty, you will never break your promise. It's best like this. Of course, you can also try to let naval headquarters and the world government sanction me, but I don't guarantee what the consequences will be. Zhang Yang looked at Minister Zuo playfully. Don't dare. Minister Zuo lowered his head, pouring it from head to toe like a basin of cold water on a cold day. The eyes are terrified, and there is a feeling that all thoughts have been seen through. There was indeed a flash in his mind just now, and he had such an idea. He warned the unruly minister Zuo with neither soft nor hard, but Zhang Yang didn't take him seriously. If you really dare to play tricks, hack his things. Is it a matter for him to change the king? It's just a matter of hands. Now that he is full-fledged, what if he turns against world government Marine? He is no longer that submissive Zhang Yang who needs to live under the protection of Marine. He didn't defect because this identity is still useful to him. Chapter 34 Battle of Giants. On the ocean, warships full of treasures sailed slowly. Dorag, have you gone to sea yet? Well, after mastering observation Hawkeye and armament Hawkeye, I, Sakazuki, and Pelusolino are now commodores of the headquarters. On the phone bug, Drago's rough face appeared. I graduated a month earlier than Sakazuki and the others, and I'm currently on mission at North Blue. North Blue. What mission? Recently, an organization called Germa 66 in North Blue has frequently contacted underground forces in various kingdoms in private. The headquarters asked me to investigate the specific situation. Germa 66. Zhang Yang frowned. Isn't this Sanji's family? If I remember correctly, at its most glorious time, this family killed the kings of the 4 North Blue kingdoms in one fell swoop, dominated North Blue through a powerful armed force, and established the Germa kingdom. Even the world government can only be forced to accept this fact. However, the peak glory of the Germa kingdom ended with the continuous expansion of Doflamingo's invasion of North Blue. Even so, the royal family of the Germa kingdom, the Vince-Moke family, also known as the Sanji family, still has a seat in the world government. It is also the only country that can still participate in World Summit without a territory, and has close business contacts with the world government, which can influence Marine to change Sanji's reward amount, changing life and death to must capture. This shows how influential Vince-Moke is. Of course, these things are just things that will happen in the future. Now, Germa 66 should still be just emerging, and there is still a long way to go before North Blue. You know, Drago asked with some doubts, with a surprised tone. He has investigated and pursued this organization for more than half a month, and now he has only just grasped a little information about this organization. His old friend seemed to know more about the inside story. I heard from Vegapunk that before he joined Marine, he had studied the blood factor with a man named Vince Mokegaji and discovered the life design map. Vince Mokegaji is the leader of Germa 66. Zhang Yang didn't pay much attention to Vince Moke's people. The strength of the Germa kingdom does not lie in the strength of individuals. Even if it develops to its peak in the future and completely controls the North Blue Germa kingdom, its strongest will not have the combat power of the admiral level. The reason why the world government is taboo to acquiesce in their rule over North Blue is because of the special times and circumstances. The rise of the Germa kingdom coincided with the chaos at sea, before and after the execution of the One Piece King Luogia. The era of great pirates has begun, the New World 4 emperors have been divided, and pirates continue to appear all over the world. How can the world government have the time to manage a small North Blue? The world is important, but the Grand Line is their foundation. Secondly, it is the particularity of the kingdom of Germa. Vince Moke Judge, who worked with Vegapunk to illegally develop the Bloodline Factor life design map, later sensed the danger before Vegapunk was arrested and fled ahead of time. Afterwards, he came to North Blue and used the Bloodline Factors and life design diagrams to develop the technology of transforming people and replicating soldiers. Transformation of Bloodline Factors at the embryonic stage, at the cost of sacrificing emotions, cultivates transformed soldiers with super combat power. This kind of technology makes the world government very taboo and greedy, so it will be extra tolerant. This is also the reason why Vince Moke Judge wants to marry 4 emperors Bigmom in the future, a reinvented person with a lot of mid-level and bottom-level combat power who is not afraid of death, and a fighter with the world's top combat power. If combined, he can achieve his ambition to re-rule the North Blue. However, this ambition was not realized in the end. Even if it wasn't for Sanji, the entire Vince Moke would have been wiped out by Bigmom. This also put him and Bigmom in the opposite camp. After hanging up the phone bug, Zhang Yang thought for a while at the bow, and took out another black phone bug. Beep beep. Hey, respectable Lord Black Emperor, what orders do you have? A face in dark glasses emerged from the phone bug, and Doflamingo's sullen laugh came from the other side. Get in touch with Germa 66 at North Blue, they have something that interests me. If you don't surrender, you will be destroyed directly. Surrender or die, it really is your character, foo. Beep beep. Although it's still a little immature, it shouldn't be a problem to deal with that idiot Vince Moke Judge. Looking at the phone bug that hung up, Zhang Yang shook his head. Although the current Doflamingo is still a little underage in age and experience, he has already begun to show his talents. Vince Moke Judge, an arrogant and cold guy, probably won't be his opponent. As for why not deal with it yourself? If he has to solve everything by himself, why is he still raising these wastes? Grand Line. Black Owl Vice Admiral, Little Garden is ahead. Well, is it here so soon? The knowledge spread, and a huge ancient island came into mind. Zhang Yang stood up from the deck chair. This time he passed Little Garden, and he had a very important thing to do. You wait here for me. Leaving a word, Zhang Yang's body has disappeared on the boat. It's really a wild place. You can see hundreds of thousands of meters of towering giant trees everywhere, and ancient dinosaurs that have long been extinct. Walking in this virgin forest, you can feel your own insignificance. This forest, which seems to be completely isolated from the outside world, still retains the style of prehistoric civilization thousands of years ago. Barbaric, the jungle eats the jungle. After closing his eyes and perceiving the island, Zhang Yang's gaze suddenly looked forward. A huge volcano spewed lava, and thick black smoke rose slowly. Rumble. The dull footsteps sounded as low as thunder, ringing in my ears. Bang bang bang. The thick trees were kicked down one by one, and two 20 to 30 meter tall giants, wearing crude leather armor, collided with each other. Dory. Brigitte. For the glory of the warrior. The victor can return to his hometown. Boom. The blade collided with the giant axe, and the terrifying shock wave raised the forest within a radius of several kilometers to the ground. It's really a terrifying power. Zhang Yang smacked his lips, and his legs were fixed on the ground as if rooted. The oncoming gust of wind turned into stillness without a sound. These two captains of the former giant soldier pirates, monsters with a bounty of over 100 million 60 or 70 years ago, are simply terrifyingly powerful. No wonder it's called Little Garden. In front of this giant with a size of tens of meters, isn't this island just a slightly bigger garden? Although it is too big and clumsy, in terms of strength alone, it is estimated to have reached the admiral level. There are still two quasi-admiral level combat power. Two really good thugs. If they are cultivated, they will be two admiral level powerhouses. The more Zhang Yang looked at it, the more he felt satisfied. He purposely spared a long way this time, just to subdue these two terrifying guys and send them to Joshi Island as a gatekeeper. However, how to subdue these two guys is a problem. Separate them first. Zhang Yang slowly floated into the battlefield of the two giants. Dory and Brigitte, who were in the midst of a fierce battle, focused all their attention on the battle, and did not notice the sudden appearance of this little ant at all. It's really no one in the eyes. The howling wind blew the ends of his hair, circles of purple lines emerged under Zhang Yang's eyes, his arms were open, and his eyes narrowed slightly. The air freezes. Dory and Brigitte, who were fighting, stopped at the same time, as if they felt something, and looked at where Zhang Yang was. Dory, do you feel it? Brigitte, you feel it too. My body is shaking. Stop him. The two giants are not only opponents who have been dueling for decades and want to kill each other, but also friends who get along day and night and can give each other their backs. With a tacit understanding, he twisted his body. The huge axe blade moved to the left and right, and at the same time, it slashed at the tiny figure in the air, the source of all crises. The falling axe blades froze when they were about to collide, and a translucent force field resisted the axe blades slashing from both sides. What a powerful force. Dory and Brigitte's faces changed drastically. There was a sneer on the corner of Zhang Yang's mouth, only this level of strength. Slightly disappointing. His eyes widened suddenly. Super. Shenluo Tianzheng. Rumble. The ground rolled, splashing dust all over the sky, and the sea of clouds boiled, revealing a transparent sky. Terrifying power. Like a detonated nuclear bomb, the sky, the earth, the forest. Everything was turned into dust under the terrifying repulsion. Together with the weapons in their hands, the two giants were blasted away by this indescribably violent force. Zhang Yang stared blankly at the giant flying upside down with indifferent eyes. Shake both hands. Universal pull. Hold the eyes of the sky, and act the power of destroying the world. Chapter 35. Not bald, but stronger. Boom. Two giants collided with their bloated bodies. Rumble. He staggered and sat on the ground. I feel dizzy. How did I see two Dories? Dizzy Dory and Brigitte staggered to get up. Zhang Yang, who was floating above the heads of the two, opened his hands and pressed down. Supergravity field. Boom. A spider web-like crack appeared on the ground, centered at the foot, and a radius of several thousand meters was sunken downward. Now, can you calm down and listen to me? Zhang Yang put his hands on his chest and spoke slowly. What? The two giants, Dory and Brigitte, struggled hard, trying to get up from the ground. This humiliating posture made them feel like vomiting blood. Can't you understand me, big guys? I say, be quiet. Zhang Yang's eyes turned cold, and he raised a finger slightly. The terrifying pressure pervading the air instantly doubled, directly pressing the two giants to the ground. Looking at the giant who was still struggling restlessly while vomiting blood, Zhang Yang snorted coldly. I hate people who are weaker than me and still don't obey me. If you can't defeat me, you can only kneel and talk in front of me. 100 million volts. Discharge. Boom. The violent thunder fell from the sky, hitting the two giants. The scorched black body exuded the smell of meat, and the two giants finally calmed down. Dory and Brigitte, the former captains of the giant armor pirates, make a deal with me. Zhang Yang fell from midair and floated above the heads of the two giants. What do you want? Dory held his head high, all the rough tendons on his body bulging. How does it work for me? Zhang Yang came in front of Dory and looked straight into his eyes. Chirp za 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 za. Dory was taken aback, the corners of his mouth raised. Dream. How about you? Zhang Yang looked at Brigitte on the other side. Baba 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 bababa. Brigitte grinned wide and let out a strange grin. You are strong, but the warriors of Al-Baf will never be slaves. Death in battle is our glory. Really? That would be difficult. Zhang Yang nodded his forehead in distress, and put his hands on the heads of the two giants. Memory fruit. Launch. Boom. Countless memories flashed before his eyes, and in the next second, Zhang Yang was directly kicked out of the memory fragments. The lives of these two giants are too long, and the life of ordinary people is just from youth to adulthood for them. The accumulation of hundreds of years and countless battles have made their will and beliefs as strong as iron, almost unshakable. It's not impossible to modify their memories, but the effect of deleting and modifying memories may not be as good as ideal. With the personalities of these giants, if one day they find out the fact that their memories have been deleted, there will probably be some big disturbances. He didn't want to plant 2 bombs around him that could explode at any time. I remember, there is a saying in your giant family, the fighters of Al-Buff are the most powerful and skilled fighters in the world. Zhang Yang thought about it and decided to try another way. Certainly, Dory and Brigitte said decisively without even the slightest hesitation. There was indescribable absolute confidence in his tone. Then why can't you catch even one of my moves? Zhang Yang looked at Dory and Brigitte with mocking eyes. These 2 guys are not so competitive, and they can fight for hundreds of years for the speechless reason of whose prey is bigger. Not to mention that he directly challenged their dignity. Sure enough, as soon as Zhang Yang said the words, the faces of the 2 giants immediately turned red. That doesn't count. You attacked us in a sneak attack. This kind of battle doesn't count at all. Brigitte stammered, obviously a little guilty. The strength Zhang Yang showed just now, even if they went all out, they probably wouldn't be an opponent. But how could a conceited and competitive person like him admit Zhang Yang's words? Al-Buff's fighters are definitely the most powerful in the world. Yes, you are a despicable sneak attack. This kind of battle doesn't count at all. Oh, then you mean that if you do it again, you will never lose to me? Zhang Yang looked at the 2 giants with a half smile. Yes, the 2 of us will never lose to you alone. You say yes. Brigitte. Dory glanced at Brigitte with some guilt. Yes, Dory was right. Brigitte nodded vigorously. That's not as good as this. Let's make a bet. I will let you go, and you 2 will use all your strength to fight me. Zhang Yang said. However, it seems meaningless to just bet. Why don't we raise the bet? If I win, you 2 will serve me for 100 years. If I lose, then it's up to you. How dare you? Zhang Yang's half provocative words made the faces of the 2 giants turn pale. His eyes were cloudy and uncertain, hesitating and not knowing whether to agree or refuse. They are not fools. How could they accept such a high probability of losing bets? If you are afraid, I can ask you to find a few more companions, and it doesn't matter if you go together. The 2 of us are enough to beat you. Brigitte and Dory, who were already competitive and short-tempered, were agitated by Zhang Yang's contemptuous tone, and their blood ran hot. He agreed directly. I regretted it as soon as I said it, but it's hard to go back on it after saying it. Otherwise, wouldn't it prove that they are afraid of a guilty conscience? Then it's a deal. I believe Al-Buff's fighters won't break their word. The corners of Zhang Yang's mouth rose slightly. The fish is hooked. HMPH, fighters of Al-Buff, even if they die, they will not break their promises and oaths. Those who break their promises will be abandoned by the gods of Al-Buff. Brigitte's face was ugly, as if he had received some extremely serious insult. Then let's get started. Zhang Yang, let go of the gravity that is pressing on the 2 giant warriors. The giants of Al-Buff obey and admire the strong with power. Since he wants to regain these 2 giants, he must use absolute power to conquer these 2 giants upright. Brigitte and Dory got up from the ground, stretched their muscles, looked at each other, and whispered together. Dory, do you want to use that trick? Brigitte, this guy's strength is a little scary, so he can only use that trick. Zhang Yang looked at the 2 mentally retarded giants with a darkened face. Are you 2 out of your mind? What is the difference between such whispering and ordinary people shouting there with a loudspeaker? Zhang Yang suddenly doubted the correctness of finding these 2 guys. It's just G like 2 mentally retarded people who can't use their brains. Are you ready? Dory and Brigitte walked over with serious faces after discussing tactics in whispers. Looking at Zhang Yang with approval and solemnity in his eyes, Al-Buff advocates strength and the strong. And the strength that Zhang Yang just showed is undoubtedly a real powerhouse, and has already been recognized by them. For this kind of powerhouse, every giant will give the highest respect. Next, we will use all our strength to unleash the most powerful combat skills of the Al-Buff giants. Be prepared. This blow, you may die. The 2 giants had serious expressions on their faces, and they didn't mean to be joking at all. Then come on. Zhang Yang's casual expression became serious. Although he was very confident in his own strength, it would be ugly if the boat capsized in the gutter. Dory, Brigitte, the 2 giants called each other's name, and their bodies erupted with a bewildering violent arrogance. The surrounding air is boiling. The only ones who can pass here are bloody fighters. Have a taste of the strongest spear of the giant family in the legend of Al-Buff. Dory and Brigitte raised their broken weapons and roared to the sky. Clang. The axe blades sang, and the blue-red air wave rushed forward. On the ground, a trace nearly 100 meters wide emerged. The oncoming huge light wave even pierced the sky. Hakoku. The sky-shattering roar resounded through the sky. Facing the strongest blow of the 2 giants' overdrawn physical life, Zhang Yang's expression gradually became wanton in front of the terrifying wave that made people palpitate and tremble. The mind is empty like an ocean. In the mind, a Setsuna something is broken. The bound power in the flesh is released at this moment, which is the most essential power from the source of life. Under normal circumstances, the human body will instinctively resist doing anything that hurts itself. It's like biting yourself with your teeth on purpose and biting yourself accidentally. It's not the same feeling at all. When I see someone rushing towards me with a knife, I will subconsciously avoid it. It doesn't hurt to be pricked by a needle, but when I see something sharp, I feel fear from the bottom of my heart. It's all about the body's instincts. A person's body has 100 strength, but under normal circumstances it can only exert less than half of it. That's because the body's instinct is restricting itself, so as not to hurt itself with excessive force. Now, this limitation has been broken. The pupils without any emotion at all looked coldly at the incoming light waves. Why doesn't he hide? Does he want to die? Dory and Brigitte looked at each other. Does this man want to take this trick head on? It will kill people. The fists were raised slowly, and under the astonished eyes of the two giants, they punched lightly without a trace of fireworks. Ordinary. One punch. I'm not bald, but I've become stronger. Chapter 36 Locks Pirates. A gust of wind blew up within a radius of tens of thousands of meters, and the oxygen in the air seemed to be drained. Thriller. An indescribable feeling of horror welled up in my heart. That kind of scalp-tingling, creepy sense of crisis is like being stared at by a prehistoric beast. The body, which was dominated by fear, uncontrollably led them to flee to the sides. Boom. Next second, a terrifying sonic boom exploded in the ears, and the thunderous roar made Dory and Brigitte deaf in both ears. Blood flowed from the ears, and the eyes were black and blurred. The two giants were directly blown away by the terrifying air wave coming from behind. It took a few minutes for the two giants to regain their intuition and get up from the ground. Looking at the scene behind them, the two of them were completely stunned. Gudong. Fake. Am I hallucinating? The huge island of hundreds of kilometers is run through by a straight line, and the turbulent sea water pours in continuously. On both sides of a ravine hundreds of meters long and bottomless, the bodies of the two giants were stiff and sweating profusely. Monster. God Al-Baf. This is simply a miracle. It's really hard to transform this guy. Zhang Yang's face turned pale, and he felt like he was about to die. The light punch just now almost drained 90% of his energy. If it wasn't for the complete pretense now, he really wished he could fall asleep right now. It was the first time for him to feel the double limit of spirit and body. Do you want to continue? Zhang Yang crossed his arms and looked down at the two giants who hadn't recovered. We lose. A powerful human being, according to the previous agreement and oath. The two giants looked at each other, then knelt down slowly at the same time, with one hand on their chest. Al-Baf's mightiest fighters, Dory and Brigitte. I will be loyal to you for 100 years. Zhang Yang nodded in satisfaction. Although the process was a bit complicated and tortuous, the final result was satisfactory. He casually threw two things over. This is. Dory and Brigitte looked at the devil fruit in their hands suspiciously. Logia Mera Mera fruit and the so-called strongest Logia thunder fruit. Eat it, and you will be the strongest fighters in this world. With the body of a giant, take down the devil fruit, which is known as the secret treasure of the sea, and it is also the strongest Logia devil fruit. Two giants with quasi-admiral combat power, how terrifying will their strength be? At the very least, even if you are facing an admiral-level powerhouse, even if you can't win, you won't fall into a disadvantage. Dory and Brigitte exchanged glances, although they hadn't taken devil fruit. But before the giant soldiers pirates were disbanded, they were once the pirates of the Grand Line. Naturally, one would not be too unfamiliar with devil fruit, a big secret treasure in the sea, a treasure that countless people dream of. Not to mention the so-called strongest Logia devil fruit. Gudong. The little natural fruit is like a sakura peach to the two giants. Throw it directly into your mouth. Dory and Brigitte, each eat thunder and Mera Mera fruit. The power of thunder and flames spread across his body. The giant surrounded by flames and thunder recklessly released its new power. The little garden was split into two halves by his punch, half was shrouded in flames, and the other half was caught in a thunderstorm. Only by mastering Hawkeye, these two giants are truly admiral-level combat power. Zhang Yang looked at the two giants with satisfaction. Although these two giants are powerful now, they will be at a disadvantage if they encounter Logia's demon fruit power. After all, if you don't know how to use armament Hawkeye, it means you can only be beaten passively. Even if you have strong vitality, you probably won't last long. However, with their physique and willpower, it is not too difficult to master observation Hawkeye and armament Hawkeye. It can take as long as a year and a half, or as little as a few months, to master Hawkeye initially. At that time, Gaxi Island will have two more real admiral-level combat forces, and they will also be the terrifying giant admiral. Think about how terrifying it would be for a giant 20 or 30 meters tall to unleash the power of a Logia devil fruit at full strength. Almost unlimited physical strength, in terms of destructive power, it is definitely far beyond the ordinary admiral-level powerhouse. But these two guys are a little too big, aren't they? Looking at the black phone bug and the Black Emperor's order in his hand. Zhang Yang scratched his head a little. In the hands of these two giants, this thing is probably no different from a toy. Moreover, the weapons of the two of them were also destroyed in the blow of Hakoku just now. It is also a troublesome thing to rebuild the weapons of these two giants. After thinking about it, Zhang Yang decided to forget it. Anyway, such things as the Black Emperor's token are just a status symbol, and these two giants don't seem to need such things very much. The giant who holds the power of the Logia magic fruit, such an iconic thing, should not be mistaken. The two of you are waiting on this island for a while, and a boat will come to pick you up after a while. If someone shows you this token, then you go with him. Zhang Yang waved the Black Emperor order in front of Dory and Brigitte, and then spent half a day briefly teaching them how to use the 6 forms in Hawkeye. As for when you can master it, it depends on the understanding of these two guys. Informing the Black Ghost to settle the rest, Zhang Yang took the warship back to sail. Everyone on this warship has been brainwashed by him, and now they have become the most loyal soldiers of the Revolutionary Army. Therefore, he was not worried that these people would betray him. Although the ability to remember fruits is limited in many ways, it is very useful when facing these ordinary people. Fruit awakening. It feels fast. Standing on the warship, feeling the faintly emerging power in his body, Zhang Yang had a special intuition. His illusion fruit is about to awaken. I don't know, what will my fruit ability be like after awakening? The awakening of Paramesha Devil Fruit's ability will usually form a general power in the field, affecting the surrounding substances from the root. Just like Doflamingo's string fruit, after awakening, it can turn any object around it into a string that can be manipulated. Then what kind of ability will his illusion fruit awaken? It can't be to transform a world, or to endow other people around with the power of transforming fruits, right? Or, directly use the power of illusion to condense several phantoms of the same strength. Zhang Yang thought about it, he had many ideas, but obviously the awakening of Devil Fruit's ability would not come according to his wishes. Master Vice Admiral, a strange ship was spotted ahead. Zhang Yang, who was lying on the bow basking in the sun, opened one eye slightly. Strange ship, knowledge spread, and a huge dilapidated pirate ship dozens of times larger than ordinary warships appeared in his mind. Zhang Yang doubted, his eyes became very strange. This is the flag of the Lox pirates. On the broken pirate ship, a flag fluttered in the wind. Although Zhang Yang had never seen that familiar flag, he heard Admiral Zephyr mention it by chance. More than 10 years ago, Marine and the Lox pirates had a decisive battle on the Grand Line, and finally Marine's victory ended the unprecedented decisive battle between pirates and Marine. The overlord of the sea, the Lox pirate group, fell apart, the broken pirate ship and the Captain Lox were driven into the deep sea, and the remaining crew members fled separately. Kaido of the Beasts and Bigmom, who are now in charge of the Wind and Rain in New World, were once members of this pirate group. There seems to be something wrong with this ship. Zhang Yang squinted his eyes, this pirate ship gave him the feeling, as if he was alive. A ghost ship that disappeared for a decade and reappeared. Interesting. The corners of Zhang Yang's mouth raised slightly, but he was a little interested in this ship. With a flash, he stepped on the moonwalk and landed on the pirate ship. A strong fishy smell. The deck was covered with moss, and it was a little slippery to step on. Zhang Yang closed his eyes to feel it, and opened his eyes in surprise. There seems to be a special force on this ship shielding his observation Hawkeye. Interesting, I want to see what secret you are hiding. After wandering around the ship, Zhang Yang found several dormitories for the crew, but he didn't see anything of value except for some clothes soaked in seawater and scattered treasures. Go to the second floor and have a look. This huge ghost ship has 3 floors. Zhang Yang found the entrance and walked down. Call. In the dim corridor, clusters of green phosphorescent fires lit up. Zhang Yang lowered his eyebrows, and a chill flashed in his eyes. Pretending to be a ghost. Lifting his feet and going deep inside, Zhang Yang saw broken wooden doors one by one. This neat cutting mark should have been cut by a swordsman, and it doesn't look like it's been too long. Had anyone else been on this ship before him? A thought came to Zhang Yang's mind. Pass through several broken wooden doors and come to a wide hall. 2 figures came into view. A look of surprise flashed in his eyes. Oh, it turned out to be him. Chapter 37 The Battle of the Overlord. In the wide hall, 2 figures faced each other. Zhang Yang looked at the figure facing him with surprise in his eyes. Although he was still a little immature and looked very young, Zhang Yang recognized this guy at a glance with his sharp, falcon-like eyes and iconic hairstyle. Dracul, Mahawk, the future world's #1 swordsman, Hawkeye. The future #1 swordsman of the world and the Grand Line still looks very young. In his early 20s, his actual age may be younger. Opposite Hawkeye, stood a body that was stiff and only skin and bones remained. There was no expression in the dull eyes, and there was a dead silence. The clothes on his body were soaked in seawater and lost their color. In his hand, he held a black knife with a huge black body that looked like a cross. The 12 works of the supreme quick knife, the black knife. Yi. Hearing the footsteps coming from behind, Mahawk frowned, and subconsciously glanced over from the corner of his eye. Swish. At this moment, the body of the corpse standing opposite him disappeared instantly. There is only a trace of water left on the blank ground. Clang. The dark night knife and the bright blade collided with each other, and sparks flew everywhere. Mahawk's pupils contracted slightly, and the sharp blade in his hand was touched by the black knife Yoruichi, and a gap was broken. What a sharp knife. Although his Liang Kuei Dao is of good quality, it is still more than 1 level worse than the Peak Da Kuei Dao, which is the top of the famous swords. Clang. Frowning, he blocked Hidoye who was coming from behind with his backhand. Clang, clang. In the dimly lit hall, the light produced by the fighting of Jin Jie flickered on and off. The mummy holding the black sword knight surrounded Mahawk at an unimaginable speed, sending out a steady stream of slashing blows. Terrifying physical energy, seems to be endless. The movements are too stiff, as if being controlled by something. Looking at the fast-moving mummy, Zhang Yang shook his head. This guy was fighting with the sharpness, speed, and strength of Heidaoya. As far as how powerful the technique is, it is probably at the level of an ordinary swordsman. It seems powerful, but in fact it only needs to show a little flaw, and it will be killed by Mihawk in an instant. Mihawk in this age group already has the strength of a swordsman. Boom. Dodging the black sword knife that swept past his waist, Mihawk's eyes flashed with a sharp edge. Puff. A blue slash passed from bottom to top, cutting the mummy holding the black knife in half. Did you win? Mihawk looked at the famous knife that was already full of cracks in his hand. This old friend who has been with him for more than 10 years has completed his mission. He glanced vigilantly at Zhang Yang who was standing by and watching. He was dressed in a black suit, with short hair, and he carried an aura of a high-ranking person. The faint tingling between the eyebrows made Mihawk silently vigilant. This guy, and the mummy he just beheaded, are not enemies of the same level at all. Don't be too happy. Looking at Mihawk who was wary of him while bending down to pick up the black knife on the ground, Zhang Yang shook his head and reminded him kindly. What's the meaning? A flash of doubt flashed in Mihawk's eyes, and the next second his eyes widened, and his body quickly backed away. Swish. The cold black knife wiped his forehead and chopped off a strand of hair. Mihawk's eyes were terrified, and his back was soaked in cold sweat. The mummy holding the black knife, the two broken corpses were pulled together by a mysterious force, and slowly climbed up from the ground. What monster is this? Mihawk's brows trembled. He was chopped into two pieces, but his body could still move freely. Is this guy immune to death? It's just beheading a puppet. If you want to kill this guy completely, you must first kill the mastermind behind the scenes. The mastermind behind the scenes? Mihawk looked at Zhang Yang suspiciously. How long do you want to hide? Half-dead old guy. Zhang Yang snorted coldly and stomped on the ground forcefully. The cabin on the second floor shattered. The two fell directly into the space on the third floor. Hee, I didn't expect you to find this place. Are the current pirates already so good? A gloomy laugh echoed in the dimly lit space. Call. Clouds of green phosphorus fire emerged from all around. Corpse. As far as the eye can see, there are corpses in the entire cabin, tens of thousands of corpses completely piled up the entire third floor. The interior of this pirate ship, which is dozens of times larger than ordinary large warships, is full of corpses. All kinds of corpses, marines, pirates, ordinary people, rich people. Various occupations, all ages, all the corpses stared at the sky numbly. Hiss. This creepy scene immediately made Mihawk gasp. Am I supposed to call you Locks? Zhang Yang squinted his eyes and looked at the end of the group of corpses, a throne made of bones. A tall and thin man sat on the blood-colored bone throne with his legs crossed, his chin resting on his palm, looking at it with interest. The face exuding a domineering air was exactly the same as the reward order that Zhang Yang had seen Locks. Zhang Yang snorted coldly. Conqueror's haki condensed into a black-red tiger, straddled countless corpses, and rushed towards the man. Boom. A spear exuding a strong breath of death pierced the haki tiger. The terrifying impact caused the corpse sitting on the throne to fall backwards. A dead guy dares to play tricks. This is the first time I've seen such a powerful conqueror's haki. A dense black fog emerged from the fallen corpse, forming an identical but vague figure on the throne. The figure in the pirate captain's uniform looked at Zhang Yang with interest. It's strange how I look now. Why am I dead, but still alive? Not at all. Zhang Yang rolled his eyes, and two frozen thrones formed behind him. Sit down on your own. Quote. Locke stared at Zhang Yang for a while, not knowing how to answer this sentence. This guy must be poisonous. I really don't know how to respect my predecessors. I am a user of the fruit of death. Now my body is dead, but relying on the dead energy on these corpses, I live in this world in another way. Locke was talking to himself, obviously another chatty villain, who likes to popularize his own science before fighting people. Fruit of death. How can this feeling be as imaginable as Brook's underworld fruit? The upper fruit of Wonquan fruit. It should be a kind of Logia devil fruit. Looking at Locke who was completely solidified by a mass of death air, Zhang Yang intuitively told that this kind of thing should not be hit by ordinary attacks. What are you trying to do by telling me this? I can feel your strength is very strong, so let's make a deal. Locke looked at Zhang Yang, grinning. Help me kill people. The more you kill, the better. As a reward, I will give you the power to live forever. Eternal life. Are you drinking too much? Zhang Yang sneered. Immortality. There are many ways to immortality in One Piece world. Op fruits longevity surgery, soul fruits lifespan transplant, body mechanical transformation, people with the ability of Wonquan fruit, and pure gold that can prolong life. If he wants to live forever, there are too many ways. This kind of thing, he still needs others to give him. Locke's face remained the same, only that he didn't believe it. Don't you believe it? Yes, after all, it's too far-fetched to say such a thing. A mass of green energy emerges from the corpses on the ground in the air. Death and life are closely related. I have grasped the fruit of death, and I can also turn death into life. This group of life force can extend your lifespan by 20 years. The green life force floated in front of Zhang Yang. Then you can use this power of life to turn me into a dead person anytime and anywhere. Like that puppet just now. Zhang Yang stretched out his black and red palm, crushing the life force in front of him. This thing looks tempting, and it can actually increase lifespan, but it is completely a trap. Integrating other people's power into one's own body, the end result is that if the other party's one thought goes on, he will become a puppet manipulated by others. Locks never thought of cooperating with him from the beginning. His purpose from beginning to end was to turn him into a puppet that could be completely controlled. This guy has the same personality as him, the same desire to control, and the same dislike of letting things go out of his control. How could such a person seek a collaborator? Surrender or die? It seems that the negotiation seems to have broken down, then. The regretful expression on Locke's face gradually became presumptuous, and a strong sense of death emerged overwhelmingly. I can only kill you here. It should have been like this a long time ago. What's the use of talking so much nonsense? This sea has always been the strong respect. The corners of Zhang Yang's mouth grinned, and the black and red conquerors pressed forward like a substance. The power of the two colors collided with each other, and the turbulent aftermath spread like ripples, and dense spider web-like cracks appeared on the hull made of atom wood. 10 years later, they collided with the previous generation of maritime overlords. Zhang Yang's momentum is high and aggressive, like a prairie fire, full of aggression. Survival of the fittest. The winner goes ahead. The loser bows his head and surrenders. Locks, look, who is the real king of this sea? Overlord battle, start. Chapter 38-6 Destruction without self. Sword 23. Boom. These two monsters. Mihawk suffocated, unable to breathe under the collision of these two powerful auras. He is no stranger to the reputation of Locks. When he was young, the legend of Locks, the overlord of the sea, has been circulating in this sea. A man who can't even deal with the world government and marine. It is also because of him that another legend was created, the marine hero, Vice Admiral Garp. According to legend, Locks, who had been defeated by the marine hero Garp, unexpectedly reappeared in the sea again, still in this form. Mihawk's mood is very complicated. The feeling of facing the legend makes him seem to be living in a dream. This guy, who the hell, can match Locks? Looking at the man sitting on the frozen throne beside him, Mihawk narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling a little palpitating in his eyes. No, it would be a little unfair to say that they are equal. The current situation is that Locke's aura, under the oppression of this man's aura, has shown signs of decline, and the living space is constantly being compressed. According to this situation, it will be a matter of time before Locks loses. Give you. Boom. A black long knife was thrown over, and Mihawk held it subconsciously. The cold blade, shaped like a cross, this is the supreme sword, the black sword, the knight. The real battle has just begun. Don't die, kid. The old-fashioned words made Mihawk's eyes a little uncomfortable. This guy, who seemed to be not much older than him, actually spoke to him in the tone of an elder. Looking at the black knife knight in his hand, Mihawk decided to bear with him for a while. No swordsman can ignore the temptation of the supreme sword. Here, he is also included. This is something that can make countless swordsmen sacrifice their lives to get it. Mighty will, the strongest conquerors have ever seen. Locks' smile is insane, it's the smile of enthusiasm when he meets his opponent. This kind of boldness, this kind of subverting everything, and making everything in the world bow down, even in the marine who defeated him, he absolutely can't feel it. That is the vision and courage beyond the limitations of this world. In terms of courage, I, Locks, would like to call you the strongest. Next, I will use all my strength to bury you. For any strong man who can be recognized by him, Locks is not stingy with his respect. The strong power of death poured into the corpses below. Swish. Those corpses that have been dead for a long time, in the call of death, return again. Resuscitate, my crew, and fight for me again. One by one, the pirates with broken weapons and worn armor climbed up from the pile of corpses with numb expressions. Under the blessing of tens of thousands of death forces, the corpses of these pirates swelled as if they were inflated. The green eyes shone with numbness, and a whole row of hundreds of mummies turned into 3-meter-tall giants, standing in front of them like an army. This is all the power of death I have accumulated in the past 10 years. Each of these undead warriors has the strength comparable to Marine Vice Admiral. If I give me some more time, if I slaughter a country or a piece of sea, this world will become my paradise. I seem to understand why others call you the overlord of the sea. Zhang Yang looked at this group of undead warriors with a strong breath. They were just a group of undead warriors at the Vice Admiral level. If Locks was allowed to gain more power of death, would it be possible to create undead warriors at the Admiral level? Even if there are only a few quasi-Admiral level combat forces whose abilities reach the Admiral level, if hundreds or thousands of them gather, it may be enough to push the entire world government across the board. However, the only weakness of this ability is the ontology. As long as you kill the main body, everything will disappear. In the battle that destroyed Locks, it was Garp who beheaded Locks alone, so the once powerful Locks pirates fell apart in an instant. Even those under his control took this opportunity to break free from his shackles. Locks, who was lucky enough to escape, survived in another form by virtue of the ability of the fruit, secretly accumulating strength in private, and wanted to restart his path of supremacy. He didn't dare to expose, and he couldn't expose, otherwise, what awaited him was Marine's thunder cleaning. Neither the Marine nor the world government will allow another sea overlord or a second Locks to appear in this sea. Mihawk looked at these undead warriors with solemn eyes, and slowly drew out the black knife knight. 3. I can only deal with 3 at the same time. Although these undead warriors are just a group of puppets controlled by fighting instincts, their strength and explosiveness are at the genuine Vice Admiral level. Moreover, the undead puppet controlled by the power of death has no such thing as a vital point at all. As long as the power of death in Locke's body continues to flow, even if these undead warriors are beheaded 100 times, they can be reconstituted in a second and continue to fight. Unless, even the corpses are completely burned, or the power of death accumulated by Locks is completely consumed. But the problem is that there are too many corpses here. How can it be possible to burn them all in an instant? The guy next to him is a frozen fruit ability user, not a Mera fruit ability user. Hold 3. No need. Zhang Yang shook his head, and slowly got up from the frozen throne. Since killing one is useless, then kill them all. Kill them all. Mahawk looked at Zhang Yang in bewilderment, and killed hundreds of Vice Admiral level undead warriors in an instant. Mahawk, do you know what the highest state of swordsmanship is? Zhang Yang stepped on the pile of corpses and walked forward step by step. Easy to hold. Take heavy to be light. No sword is better than a sword. Neither. The real extreme state of swordsmanship is God. Its will. Zhang Yang's voice was like a loud bell, echoing in Mahawk's ears. God. Meaning. Mahawk's eyes seemed to be a little confused, thoughtful, but he didn't seem to grasp anything. Zhang Yang's footsteps stopped in front of a group of undead warriors, looking at the bewildered Mahawk. This future world's #1 swordsman. There was a light smile on his face. Look well, study hard. An illusory figure stepped out of Zhang Yang's body, and in Setsuna, invisible fluctuations filled the space between the heaven and the earth. A piercing sharpness, as if the soaring sword intent that could split the sky, permeated the sky and the earth. Hundreds of millions of subtle sword chi intertwined and wandered, condensing into Zhang Yang's face. 6 destroyers without self, sword. 23. Swing. The illusory body stepped lightly in the air, as if stepping on an invisible step. The cleansing ripples spread, and hundreds of millions of sword chi shuttled through the space, freezing the world, and even time stood still. It's not that time has been stopped, it's that the flow of time around has slowed down. No, my speed has become too fast. Zhang Yang can feel that his current thinking has been split into billions and merged with this world. His thinking expands infinitely, and his reaction power is countless times higher than before, so everything in front of him seems to slow down. Countless times slower. Heaven and man are one, extraordinary and holy. A word popped into my mind out of nowhere. This kind of feeling that the times are turning, and the heaven and the earth have the same force, makes him feel unspeakably at ease. It seemed that the whole world was on his side at the moment. Zhang Yang walked up to a group of undead warriors with one step at a time. Swing. Stepping on the head of the first undead warrior, the air rippled, and even a speck of dust couldn't be stirred up. But in that Setsuna, hundreds of millions of sword chi gathered under his feet and shuttled back and forth. Swing, swing, swing. Circles of ripples, like a stone thrown into a lake. Continuous ripples echoed in the void. The sword energy is like a frightened bird, within a square inch, within a short distance, there are as many enemies as possible. As if turning into a wisp of green smoke, Zhang Yang leaned his upper body and looked down at Locks, who was right in front of him. His face remained unchanged, but Zhang Yang couldn't help being a little surprised by those terrified eyes. Manpower is exhausted, and heaven and earth are endless. My sword 23 has exhausted the power of manpower, and I have touched the origin of heaven and earth. I can break free from the divine will of 1 sword 23 with my own strength. You, not bad. Zhang Yang couldn't help admiring. This type of sword 23 has exhausted its human power and touched the supreme way of heaven and earth. Although he just broke free from a trace of sword intent, being able to fight against the power of heaven and earth with a mortal body is already commendable. But that's all. But it couldn't save his life. Stretching out his hand slowly, and pointing like a sword, his fingers touched Locks where the black air was condensed, and his fingertips melted silently. Arms, body. The decomposed body turned into billions of sword chi, which passed through Locks' body and gathered on the throne of bones behind him. Logia. Elementalize. Under this kind of sword energy that is so subtle that it can tear even elements, everything is just a cloud of ants. With one strike, everything is destroyed. Boom. The figure formed by the gathering of hundreds of millions of sword chi shattered silently. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. In the spacious cabin, as if some mechanism was triggered, hundreds of millions of sword chi crisscrossed. Corpse. Breath of death. Atom treasure tree. Everything turned into powder under the sharp and dazzling sword energy. Only around the 2 thrones and the lonely figure standing in front of the crowd, there was no disturbance, and it was peaceful. 23 swords, destroying the sky and destroying the earth. Really, the young people are terrifying. Locks looked at the piercing sword chi void before his eyes, and his body dissipated little by little. He lost this battle. This absolute disparity in the realm of strength made him even a little bit unwilling. He should be defeated by such a force, this kind of man. Tell me your name. My name. The corners of Zhang Yang's mouth curled up, his smile presumptuous and unruly. Dark Emperor. Black Emperor. Ha 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 ha. I remember this name. Locks laughed wantonly, unrestrained, crazy, like a madman. The Black Emperor, the man who can defeat me will definitely defeat the world again. Use me as a stepping stone. Let's be presumptuous, let's conquer, let this world be turbulent because of you, let the world government be afraid because of you. I will witness in another world, how glorious this era that belongs to you can be. Quote. The frantic roar dissipated in the wind. The era that once belonged to Locks, the overlord of the sea, is completely over. A new era is coming, the new king alternates with the old king, whose name? Black Emperor. Chapter 39 Fruit Awakening. Become Poros. As this, the ultimate power of Kendo. On the broken deck, the entire Locks pirate ship has been annihilated by endless sword energy. The only thing left is the board under their feet. In Mahawk's mind, the storm of sword energy that can tear everything is constantly echoing. Hundreds of millions of sword chi swept across and wiped out everything with an astonishing power. Is this the real swordsmanship? Indistinctly, it seems to have caught something that cannot be seen or touched, but after thinking about it carefully, it seems that there is nothing. Zhang Yang strolled around the throne of bones, in front of Locke's body. Countless black air poured into his hands from all around, and a dark, dead devil fruit appeared. Logia, fruit of death. One is both Logia and Paramesh's devil fruit. The ability user who takes this fruit will gain 2 lives. The first life has the ability to control the fruit of death, but the body does not have the ability to get rid of the shackles of life and cannot achieve naturalization. After death, everything will start again, but it will gain Logia's ability to incarnate the power of death. As long as the power of death persists, the ability users of devil fruit will never die. The power of death can be transformed into the power of life to help people extend their lifespan, and it can also be integrated into the corpse to transform into an undead puppet warrior with powerful combat power. The strength of the transformed undead warriors varies according to the amount of death power. As long as the death power is continuous, they will never die. Even if it is cut into 10,000 parts, it will be reassembled in the next second. There are 2 sources of the power of death, that is, it is produced after the death of a living creature, or it is transformed through vitality. It can be said that this is a devil fruit born for war. A weak chicken in the early stage, invincible in the late stage, once developed, can flatten a super fruit of the world. It can be said that if he hadn't met him, Locke would never have lost even if he faced an admiral-level powerhouse. The power of death he has accumulated over the past 10 years is enough for him to consume an admiral-level powerhouse to death. My fruit ability seems to have awakened. Become a sword master, 23 swords, 1 sword to destroy the world. Feel the unity of heaven and man, the supreme realm of transcendence and holiness. Zhang Yang, who had already half-stepped on the edge of awakening, directly shattered the looming bottleneck. Fruit ability, fully awakened. The fruit ability after awakening is not like he imagined that it can directly transform into a world, or transform into countless powerful people. Not that exaggerated, but not weak either. The power of illusion separates and creates puppets. Originally, the power of illusion can only be used on oneself, but now it can be divided, attached to others to influence others, or create a puppet with any power of illusion. Of course, in order to divide the power of illusion, 2 conditions need to be met. 1. Have the fruit development speed to transform 2 kinds of characters at the same time. 2nd, have a sufficiently powerful carrier. He has fulfilled the first condition. When he invaded Sky Island, his fruit ability development speed has already touched the edge of the second illusion. Now he has already mastered the ability to perform 2 illusions at the same time. And the carrier for making the puppet can be a living person or a corpse, and he has already found this. Zhang Yang looked at the body that fell around the throne of bones, which belonged to Locke. Although he has been dead for more than 10 years, under the maintenance of the power of death, this body is 3 points stronger than when Locke was at his peak. It is perfect for making puppets. A dark light curtain enveloped half of the cabin, blocking Mahawk's view. Zhang Yang stretched out his right hand, and a cloud of hazy light gathered on the palm of his hand. Looking at the corpse on the ground, the devil fruit in the left hand, and the illusion power in the right hand. Zhang Yang fell into deep thought. After the power of illusion is separated, it can be withdrawn at any time. After all, it is his own power and has absolute control. But the separated illusion power only has one-time illusion ability. That is to say, he can't transform others as freely as he himself uses the magic fruit. The power of illusion that has been separated can only be transformed into a fixed form once, unless the power of illusion is withdrawn to create a new form. That's a little too much trouble. Moreover, the separated magic power is equivalent to permanently occupying 1 magic power. He can transform 2 kinds of abilities now, but after separating this part of the magic power, his number of magic transformations will be reduced by 1, unless he withdraws the power of magic, or further develops Devil Fruit's ability at a deeper level. His current fruit development speed is not far away from 3 illusions, but it will take time to fully master it. Therefore, what kind of illusion puppet to fabricate needs to be carefully thought out. The power of the puppet will change according to the strength of the carrier. So too powerful illusion form definitely won't work. After all, if he transforms into a very powerful clone puppet, with Locke's physical endurance, it is estimated that it is the kind of one-time prop that charges for a month and pretends to be 2 minutes. It takes 10 days and a half a month to rest after using it once. Powerful is great, but what he needs is a puppet who can help him sit on Galaxy Island and act as the Dark Emperor, not a tool man who can be used up after use. Therefore, the illusioned guy must be very strong, but not so strong that it exceeds that limit. Thoughts flashed through my mind. Saitama, no, it's too strong, it's estimated that 1 punch will drain your energy. Dior Brando, it's quite charismatic, and the time of the big move pauses very badly, but it seems to be a bit meaningless. Serpent, the ability to manipulate space. I feel like this looks good. After struggling for a while, a figure suddenly flashed in Zhang Yang's mind. A golden armor, a hedgehog head, a one-eyed monster. Poros, I feel quite qualified. Under normal circumstances, the ability is greatly suppressed by the armor. After removing the armor, the power is released, and the strength and speed are greatly improved. Moreover, the energy in the body can be consumed to open the meteor burst form, and half a city can be destroyed with 1 punch. Even if the transformed puppet only inherits part of the power, it is probably not a big problem to punch an admiral child. Then let him eat the fruit of death, which is equivalent to a puppet that combines the power of Locks and Poros. In a normal state, his physical fitness is strong, his resilience is terrifying, and his consumption is low, so he can maintain his combat power for a long time. When encountering difficult opponents, release the shackles of the armor and leap in strength. There is also the meteor burst state of the big move, which can consume the accumulated power of death as energy, and burst into extreme combat power. If the power of death is enough, one hit of the crashing star roaring cannon may directly turn a sea area into a dead area. No need to worry about what to do when encountering Logia demon fruit power. The phantom puppets created with Locke's corpse as the carrier will inherit the abilities that Locke had mastered during his lifetime, and even conquerors can master them. Moreover, to put it bluntly, elementalization is to turn oneself into the form of elemental particles. If even elements can be annihilated, elementalization will have no effect. The power of the transformed Poros is not even below this level. After all, it is also a cosmic being at the level of landmark destruction. Although the rule system is different, it is destined to only transform part of the power of Poros, but no matter how weak it is at least the top of the real admiral, the combat power of the Four Emperors level. With an idea, Zhang Yang forged the power of illusion in his hands into a template for Poros and integrated it into Locke's body. Then began to fabricate the personality of the puppet. The puppet created by the power of illusion is, to put it bluntly, a part of himself. He can transfer his consciousness into the puppet at any time and manipulate the puppet. But in normal times, you can also fabricate a memory character to let the puppet act independently. The basic information of this world, plus the knowledge and understanding of Poros, and the memory of Locks left in the corpse. Zhang Yang controls the puppet to eat devil fruit. The puppet now has all the characteristics of a human being, and has inherited the character of Poros and the residual memory of Locks. To this world, he is a real person. Although it is a creature created by the fruit ability, it has never taken any devil fruit itself, and of course there is nothing wrong with eating the death fruit. Having fabricated everything, Locke's body was altered under the influence of the illusion. On the blue skin, lines like energy channels emerged, with a pink hedgehog head, an armor made of gold, and a huge one-eyed eye. Boom, boom. The dull heartbeat echoed in his ears, and his golden eyes slowly opened. The golden one-eyed, with indescribable indifference, is the contempt for life, and the arrogance from the overlord of the universe. Looking at yourself is really a novel experience. Zhang Yang moved his body and controlled the puppet to stand up from the throne. One gold, two black, three eyes facing each other. The corners of the mouth grinned in a presumptuous arc. Zhang Yang lowered his brows and eyes, retracted his consciousness, and looked calmly at the golden giant in front of him. From today onwards, you are the representative of the Dark Emperor. Poros. Poros knelt down on one knee, put his hand on his chest, and offered his loyalty. As you wish, Supreme Creator. Your will is the will that I will carry out throughout my life. Chapter 40 The Possibility of Transcending Awakening. Poros in a normal state is at the normal admiral level. Unshackled Poros, the strength has almost reached the peak of the admiral level, comparable to the combat power of the Four Emperors level. After accumulating a large amount of death power, turn on the meteor burst state, and Naparo's power will increase without limit. Even beyond the Four Emperors. The ultimate out of this world. Watching Poros disappear into the sky, in these days of his absence, Poros is his agent for managing Gaxi Island. It is also the strongest fighting force on Gaxi Island. Crash. The throne of bones piled up together collapsed as the power of death dissipated, glanced casually. The flash of purple in that corner made Zhang Yang's eyes slightly focused. What? This is, the historical text. Purple history text. A large purple stone tablet is inlaid on the bottom of the ship, blocked by the throne. If it wasn't for the collapse of the throne, other people would not be able to see this historical text at all. Zhang Yang gently stroked the text on the stone tablet. Hear the voice of all things. Latecomers. We are the pioneers of the times, the ones remembered by history. If anyone can see this steel, please remember. Devil Fruit, the secret treasure from the sea, the cursed ability. When developed to ultimate, the real power will finally be awakened, and this is not the limit of Devil Fruit. Breakthrough ultimate, the way to eliminate the side effects of Devil Fruit. He was buried in, the way to get him. Remember, we. The remaining will slowly dissipate it in the ears. What's written on it? With a curious face, Mahawk looked at the stone tablet on the ground, and intuitively told him that something very important seemed to be recorded on these incomprehensible things. This guy seems to understand these words. Something useless. Zhang Yang cast a glance at Mahawk. It is naturally impossible to record useless things in this special historical text that can be preserved so preciously by Locks. Locks couldn't understand the historical text, but thought the stone was very important, so he hid it, and before he could decipher it, he was annihilated by the world government and Marine who got the news. What is recorded on this stone is actually a secret that is useless to ordinary people, but has a fatal attraction to demon fruit power. A method that enables capable users to break through the devil fruit's limitations, transcend awakening, and lift the curse. It is enough for him to know such an important thing alone. Boom. Zhang Yang smashed the ship plank under his feet. This secret, let him sink into the sea forever. Quote. It doesn't matter why you threw it into the sea. Mahawk looked at the stone tablet that sank into the sea, his eagle-like sharp eyes couldn't help but tugged. Although I always felt that this guy was lying to him, I couldn't find a reason to refute it for a while. After all, he couldn't understand what was written on it. This is the loss of being uneducated. I hate. Fortunately, although he is a little curious about this kind of thing, it is not to the point of breaking the casserole and insisting on finding out. Compared with this stone tablet of unknown origin, what interests him more is the sword skill that this man just unleashed. That sword you want to learn. Zhang Yang glanced at Mahak, whose face was full of curiosity. Facing the supreme sword skill of Sword 23, which can be called the ultimate realm of Kendo, no swordsman can avoid it. Although the two weapons, sword and knife, are not strictly a system, they are both the same concept in terms of practice. The ultimate of technology, one thought can reach the gods. Think. Mahak nodded. What is your ideal? Zhang Yang suddenly asked a seemingly irrelevant question. My ideal. Mahak frowned and thought about it. The number one swordsman in the world. In the calm tone, there is an unshakable determination. Then how do you think your sword practice is compared to mine? The difference between heaven and earth. Mahak said without a trace of hesitation, although he didn't want to admit it, but in terms of swordsmanship, he didn't even have a tenth of the man in front of him. Then if you want to become the world's number one swordsman, do you have to surpass me first? Zhang Yang's persuasive voice made Mahak frown. Although it felt that something was wrong, it seemed to be right. Right. Then, from today onwards, go to Joshi Island to practice. Why do you want to go to Gaxi Island? Mahak frowned. He is no stranger to this famous pirate paradise, the current lawless place. I haven't been there, but at least I've heard of it from others. Go to Joshi Island to teach students, review what you have learned, and summarize and simplify your kendo. This will make your kendo possible to go further. Zhang Yang talked nonsense, but who knows if it was true. Anyway, he just wanted to lure Hawkeye to Joshi Island to train talents for him. The world's number one swordsman in the future will be an instructor, and the strong ones cultivated will definitely not be weak. Gaxi Island, why is it there? That's my island. If you want to challenge me, you can find me there. There is no free lunch in the world, and I have no obligation to teach you anything. So, show your sincerity, Hawkeye. Hidoye, take it as a gift from me. Zhang Yang glanced at Hawkeye and left on moonwalk. Hawkeye, looking at the disappearing figure, Mahak frowned and touched his eyes. The name seems to be pretty good. Gaxi Island. Mahak glanced at the black knife knight in his hand, and carried it on his back. The eagle's sharp eyes narrowed slightly, showing a strong interest in this place. Let's go and have a look. The position of the world's number one swordsman will definitely belong to me. Boom. Turn around and jump into a coffin-like boat. Speaking of which, where exactly is Gaxi Island? Hawkeye's eyes gradually became serious, and then he saw a huge pirate ship approaching in the distance. Go ask the way first. A long timeline. Is this the Joxi Island? It's really a bustling place. On the huge ship port, a luxurious ship sailed into the port under the escort of several warships. Although it's not as good as the Holy Land Mariajoy, for these untouchables, it's a paradise on earth. Two celestial dragons with bubbles on their heads alight from the boat on the backs of two Murloc slaves. Looking at the crowded and bustling port, the male celestial dragons on the left frowned and snorted coldly. These stupid untouchables, haven't they seen the great Saint Roswald, and they didn't kneel down to greet him? It's really unreasonable. The corner of Pelusolino's eyes twitched. Both of you, this is not the Holy Land Mariajoy, nor is it the Sabayati archipelago. Be careful here. Looking at the two dissatisfied celestial dragons, Pelusolino also felt a little overwhelmed. He was recently dispatched by the headquarters to protect the two celestial dragons for fun. What a good thing I originally thought, it was simply a waste of merit. The route was already planned, but in the end, some strings in the minds of these two fat pigs were pulled, and they actually thought of coming to Joxi Island to see. This is a gathering place for a group of vicious pirates, what can't be done if you were really in a hurry? Now I can only hope that these two guys will give him a little peace of mind. Be careful, if it's not safe on the Grand Line, then what is the world government doing raising you bastards? Hearing Pelusolino's words, the two celestial dragons became even angrier. This world is theirs, when do you have to be careful when you go to a place? Pelusolino pouted, not paying attention to the two celestial dragons at all. Although the status of the nobles in the world is high, but for him to pre-select Marine Admiral, unless the celestial dragons are killed, otherwise, it is nothing to scold the celestial dragons or even beat them up. Throw in Impel down to cool off for a few months at best. As long as you are not stupid, Marine or even the world government will not abolish an Admiral-level powerhouse just because a few celestial dragons are beaten. There are hundreds of celestial dragons in the Holy Land of Mariajoy, but how many are the Admiral-level powerhouses in the world government? If you die one or two celestial dragons, you will lose face and have no other loss, but you can try if you die an Admiral. Marine is able to sustain the field now because there is still an Admiral Sengoku, and the Hero Garp supports it, but if there is one less world government, it will be a headache to death. Pelusolino didn't take the words of the two celestial dragons to heart, but the members of the CP organization next to him were dying. He is the future Marine Admiral, who ignores celestial dragons, and gets scolded afterward. But if the dogs raised by the world government specially for celestial dragons offend the owner, they will probably peel off their skins later. A group of CP members squeezed into the crowd and parted ways. Two celestial dragons swaggered forward on the Murloc slaves. The pirate code. Oh, there is such a thing. When passing the steel in front of the pier, a celestial dragon saw the steel next to it and smiled disdainfully. Immediately, there was a dog-legged CP member, probably wanting to show himself in front of the master, and kicked the steel to pieces with a tempest kick. The entire pier fell into a deathly silence. The code of pirates was kicked into pieces. Those two guys are dressed as celestial dragons. I don't know what the Black Emperor will do, will he accept it or swallow it? There was a murmur on the pier. Things seemed to be getting a little bigger. Poseidon looked at the broken stone tablet, his casual expression changed slightly, and he didn't pay much attention to it. It was just a stone tablet and nothing else. He had heard about the title of the Black Emperor, and he was quite afraid of the two administrators on this island, Bloodfist Kasho and the butler Niggy. Coupled with a Black Emperor who doesn't know the depth, even he must be cautious. But this group of Black Emperor's subordinates shouldn't embarrass celestial dragons just because of a broken stone tablet, right? Poseidon was thinking, when suddenly there was a gunshot in his ears. A man fell into a pool of blood with blank eyes. Celestial dragons riding behind the Murloc pointed a smoking musket at a completely stunned woman beside him, and shouted excitedly. Bring me this beautiful woman back as a slave. The crowd was stunned. Poseidon slapped his forehead. This time, it's really troublesome. Chapter 41 Marine, times have changed. Vegapunk, how's the research going? In the complex laboratory, Zhang Yang looked at Vegapunk who was busy in front of him. Finished. Vegapunk took off his mask with an excited tone, holding a long knife with dense spiral patterns in his hand. Crack the transmission condition of Devil Fruit, integrate the ability of Devil Fruit into the inorganic body without life characteristics. This supreme big knife now has the ability of Power Fruit. You did not disappoint me by completing this study so quickly, Dr. Vegapunk. Zhang Yang couldn't help admiring. The experiment of Devil Fruit incorporating inorganic matter, Vegapunk has been going on for a long time. But being able to make a breakthrough in such a short period of time was beyond his expectations. I was inspired by the ideas you mentioned before, otherwise I would need at least a few years or even 10 years to complete this research. Vegapunk looked serious. This is the case with scientific research. Sometimes a dead end can keep people stuck in one link for countless years. And an idea, or a flash of inspiration, can make scientific research leap for more than 10 years in an instant. Zhang Yang raised his eyebrows noncommittally, he knew exactly what role he had played. It definitely has an effect, but it's really hard to say how big it is. If you move your mouth, others will break your legs. This Ralink is very suitable for N*****************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************� island in his hand. The N************ has taken the Phantom Beast type Bull Devil Fruit, and strength, recovery and outbreak are the strongest advantages. Originally, his strength was not weak, and he had a reward of about 200 million Baileys for his sword skills alone. After such a long period of training, the Black Ghost's Devil Fruit ability has also been developed to a very deep level. Except that Haki's mastery is a little weaker, and his combat power has almost reached the quasi-admiral level. If Devil Fruit can be awakened, then his strength, speed, and resilience will rise to another level. Lei Ling, the supreme sharp knife fused with the fruit of power, is the most suitable for him. The addition of 2 and 2 is comparable to Admiral's level of strength. Has it been worked out by the method of Com Belt? Zhang Yang asked. The research shows that the sea stone already contains a large amount of concentrated deep sea breath. It only needs simple processing to produce a simulated ocean breath and block the perception of sea kings. Vegapunk handed a piece of sea stone to Zhang Yang. By embedding this specially processed sea stone under the ship, you can safely pass through the Com Belt, but it will take time to develop a powered ship that can sail freely on the Com Belt. Miniaturization of steam engines, fuel engines, and even higher-level nuclear power. From research and development to putting into practice, these all require a lot of time. Seastone technology, don't disclose it to the world government for the time being. Zhang Yang narrowed his eyes. Marine and world government can freely travel between the Grand Line and the Four Seas, which is not a good thing for him. A large part of the reason for the rise of the Kingdom of Germa is that the Marines at that time did not have the means to freely travel around the world. Traveling to and from the world was too expensive, so Vince Mokay's rise was finally allowed. If he can master this ability earlier than Marine, then he will be able to control the world more easily in the future. Someone is coming, I will leave first. Observation Hawkeye caught footsteps approaching, and Zhang Yang teleported away from Vegapunk's private laboratory. His secret meeting with Vegapunk would be troublesome if anyone found out. Anyway, the purpose of his coming this time was to pick up the knife. After a few teleports back to the inside of the marine base, Zhang Yang, who was just about to take a rest, suddenly felt his spiritual imprint left in Poros's body tremble. In the next second, a part of the consciousness differentiated and transferred to Poros' body. Observation Hawkeye is spreading, and you can have a panoramic view of everything that happened in the entire Galaxy Island. Looking at the Black Ghost and Kasho who were half kneeling in front of them reporting, Zhang Yang showed a cold look on his calm face, and his expression gradually became gloomy. N************R. Cassius. Lord Poros, what are your orders? Under the steps, the N*********R and Kashu lowered their heads with respectful expressions. The apostle and representative of the Black Emperor, a man named Poros, had already conquered them with strength and courage. In the hearts of the two of them, besides the supreme Black Emperor, this lord is the most awe-inspiring existence on Joshi Island. All those who break the rules of the island, what price should they pay? I don't need to remind you again. The celestial dragons. I said, everyone, do I need to repeat that? The extremely oppressive atmosphere made the N*************** and Kasho who were half kneeling under the steps in the side hall break out in cold sweat. My lord, we understand. Then go and perform your duties. Remember one thing, I just want to remind you once. Whether it's the celestial dragons or the 5 elders, all those who break the rules left by the Black Emperor on Gaxi Island will end up with only one end. Zhang Yang's tone was deep and cold to the bone, and his cold voice seemed to be able to freeze a person's soul. Die. Yes, Lord Poros. Kasho and the N******** are exit the hall. Why do I feel that this lord's aura is more depressed than before? It feels just like that grown-up. Majestic and domineering, like the tranquility before the storm, there is an indescribable oppression in the silence. This iconic aggression has only been felt by one person. Black Emperor. As expected, he is the agent chosen by that adult. If we say that at the very beginning, the N******* was somewhat unconvinced. But under the incomparable strength shown by Poros, all his resentment has long since turned into awe. It seems that only such a man is qualified to be the apostle of the Black Emperor. What should I do now? The Black Ghost looked at Kasho and asked. Those who break the law, kill. Kasho said lightly. Are you not afraid of Buster Call? The Black Ghost looked at Kasho curiously, he seemed to have never seen such a thing as fear in this guy. But every order given by the Black Emperor, this guy has completed all the details. It's almost like being the most loyal and caring servant in the world. It is the job of a knight to speak out bravely, but if the Lord insists on going his own way, the lackeys under the throne will inevitably bite the enemy. Click. Put on the closed knight helmet. Slowly draw out the knight's long sword from his waist. The hilt and armor of the knight's long sword melted like water, blended with the body, and turned red in the high-temperature steam. Kasho, who was shrouded in steel armor, heard a dull voice. Lord Poros is the representative of the Black Emperor, and the point of the sword is our mortal enemy. Hey, I really can't stand you. The Black Ghost gasped heavily, sneezing hot air waves from his nose, ferocious magic lines appeared on his body, and the two thick horns on the top of his head gleamed like the sharpness of knives. The body swelled like a balloon, a pair of eyes turned blood red, and steaming blood flames spread across the body surface. Then, let's make a big fuss, those shit like celestial dragons, labor and management have been unhappy for a long time. Buster Call. Afraid of a ball. If you want to slay demons, first look at what this place is. The place where the Black Emperor lies, how can anyone offend him? Not for Marine, not for world government, not even for celestial dragons. Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, Pelusalino, Logia Demon Fruit Power, I have heard of it for a long time. The Black Ghost who descended from the sky on the moonwalk looked at Pelusalino behind the celestial dragons with interest in his blood-red eyes, and the 3-meter-long special épée on his shoulder fell to the ground. It stirred up dust all over the sky. Today, let's see whether Logia is stronger or Phantom Beast. Bull Devil, N*******, you sure want to offend the world government for an ordinary person, aren't you afraid of Buster Call? Pelusalino nodded his head with a headache. This group of celestial dragons can really cause trouble. Buster Call. I really want to try it. According to the order of the Lord, those who break the code will be killed without mercy. Kasho, who was dressed in a knight armor, led a group of black imperial guards in black uniforms to surround the entire pier. Wait for the idlers, all leave. Otherwise, shoot and kill. So it's not negotiable. Looking at the group of people who put up such a big battle, Pelusalino sighed helplessly. What a bunch of unscrupulous lunatics. The discussion is that today, all those who violated the law will all die. The N******* grinned, his expression gradually ferocious. It's scary. Then, have you ever been kicked by the speed of light? A slow voice came from behind. The golden light flickered, and the ear-piercing sound of piercing the air came from behind, so fast that even the air was torn apart. Sparkling fruit. The corners of the N******'s mouth curled up in a crazy grin. Compared to that Lord's speed, Pelusalino, you really. It's too slow. This speed is also called the speed of light. I'm afraid you're not kidding me. Well, if so, you made it. Night. Waltz. The huge épée was burning with blood-red flames, and the pitch-black sword body was deeply charming under the sun. Dark. Silent. Yet Setsuna's youth explodes again. In silence, a dazzling waltz. Boom. The épée wrapped in pitch-black hockey fiercely fell on Pelusalino's chest, and the berserk force directly swept it away. Boom boom boom. It barely stopped after collapsing half a street of the commercial district. The two principal criminals were captured alive, and the others were all shot dead on the spot. Kasho moved his body, the red knight sword in his hand extended into a long spear, and walked towards an officer-level member of the CP organization. The two celestial dragons were left alive not because of fear, but because these two stupid pigs had other uses. Holding a semi-automatic shell-shock rifle in his hand, the Black Emperor guard looked at a group of Marines and Army men running down from the opposite warship with flintlock guns, with a disdainful smile on their faces. My lord, times have changed. Now is the era of semi-automatic rifles. Da 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 da. The flames flickered, and under the baptism of the base semi-automatic rifle created based on the principle of the shock shell, pieces of marine fell to the ground. As for the two celestial dragons, they were already stunned. How dare this group of unscrupulous people dare to do anything to noble world nobles like them? Aren't they afraid of Buster Call? Chapter 42 Spy Kizaru. Buster Call. It's scary, this guy's strength and speed are too exaggerated. Pelusolino patted the dust off his body and walked out of the collapsed building. You lunatics, how dare you? Pelusolino sighed as he watched the celestial dragons shivering on the ground with their pants soaked by a group of black imperial guards. Let's run first. Anyway, it's Kong Ji Yu who should have a headache. As for the fact that he was unfavorable for protection, there was nothing he could do about it. It wasn't that he clocked in at work and didn't try his best to fish in troubled waters. The guys on this island are really hard to deal with. 2 fists are no match for 4 hands, what can he do? The next time we see you, it will be Buster Call, so you should be ready. Pelusolino left a sentence slowly, and his body turned into light particles and flew into the sky. Although he couldn't beat this group of guys, if he wanted to run, no one could catch up to him. This is his pride as a flash fruit capable user. Before you leave, I'll give you a little greeting. Pelusolino, who was floating in the sky, had flashes of light and shadows on his chest. 8-foot Chongu, call, what do you want to do? A deep murmur came from behind, and Pelusolino's pupils shrank. So fast, when, he didn't even respond to his observation Hawkeye. Boom, violent power surged from behind, grabbed Pelusolino's head, and fell downward like a blue meteor. Boom, a series of dense cracks like spider webs emerged on the ground, and the entire ground was sunken in a circular shape with a radius of more than 100 meters. Zhang Yang, holding Pelusolino's head with one hand, had indifference in his eyes. Glitter fruit ability user, Pelusolino, you seem very confident. Pelusolino, who was bleeding all over his body, opened his eyes drowsily. With a distressed body and a face stained red with blood, he turned around with difficulty and looked at the one-eyed monster with dark blue skin behind him. Who are you? The representative of the Dark Emperor, Poros. It's scary, why is there a strong man like you on this island? Never heard of Admiral's top combat power. Pelusolino was sure that the man who suppressed him with one hand was definitely Admiral's peak strength. What is the peak of Admiral? It is the peak of Admiral that can suppress ordinary Admiral with one's own strength. In Naval Headquarters, there are only Vice Admiral Garp and Marshal Kongu, who was in peak form, at this level of combat power. Even the current Admiral Sengoku is not considered the peak of Admiral, only half of it. But on this island, one unexpectedly appeared. Pelusolino's brows twitched, his guts were about to turn green with regret. I regret why I didn't run just now, my head is showing off here to pretend. It's all right now, I'm forced to put myself in instead of pretending. The corners of Zhang Yang's mouth were grinning, and with his pitch-black wrist, he lifted Pelusolino with one hand. Make a deal. What deal? Pelusolino had already given up resistance. At this distance, facing Admiral's top-level combat power, with his strength, the chance of escaping alive was less than 1. Work for the Black Emperor, or borrow something from you. Pelusolino frowned, feeling a bad premonition in his heart. What? Sparkling fruit. I choose the first one. Pelusolino didn't even hesitate, and directly chose the first one. Borrow devil fruit. Look, is this speaking human language? This thing can also be lent to others. If you just say kill me, it's over. I love talking to smart people. Zhang Yang brought Pelusolino to the front of the 2 celestial dragons. Hi. Pelusolino didn't care, and greeted the 2 celestial dragons generously. Everyone has been arrested, and no one can say anything. Pelusolino, you trash, you got caught no matter what. Originally expected that Pelusolino could escape to find Marine, kill everyone inside and outside the damned island, and wash away the shame of the world's nobles. The 2 celestial dragons, after seeing Pelusolino utterly desperate. Since you choose to work for the Black Emperor, I will give you a mission. Now, kill them both. Zhang Yang threw Pelusolino to the ground casually, with a devilish smile on his lips. Quote. Can I refuse? Pelusolino's face is stiff, killing celestial dragons. Isn't that self-isolated from the world government? Okay, then I'll kill you. The smile on Zhang Yang's face became even brighter. I see. Pelusolino was silent for a moment, and walked in front of the 2 celestial dragons. Pelusolino, you, what do you want? You dare to kill celestial dragons, aren't you afraid of Buster Call from world government? A touch of golden light pervaded the fingertips. It's terrible, but I'm sorry, I don't want to die yet, so. I can only wrong you too. By the way, I've seen you 2 upset for a long time. Puff. Dazzling golden light pierced the foreheads of the 2 celestial dragons. Click. A light flashed by. What is that? Pelusolino looked at the 2 black imperial guards holding mirror shells with a strange expression. Pose yourself first. Pelusolino posed for some reason, with a smile uglier than crying. It's not a camera, is it? It's still in HD. Zhang Yang added, waving at the 2 guards who were taking pictures. 2 clear photos were sent over. Don't say it, you're quite photogenic, look, what a Hawkeye. Zhang Yang held 2 photos in his hand. In the photo, Pelusolino, with a smiley face, stands in front of 2 celestial dragons kneeling on the ground, and uses the sparkling fruit ability to kill the 2 celestial dragons. The expression looks quite happy. Here, keep it as a souvenir. Zhang Yang stuffed the photo into Pelusolino's arms. Seeing the messy expression in the wind on his face, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. You said if I gave these photos to the world government, to the Marine, what would they do? Pelusolino, You have no choice now. There is only one way to go to the dark. Killing celestial dragons is a crime that even the admiral-level world government will not tolerate, let alone the current Pelusolino is only a pre-selected admiral. What do you want to do? What do you want me to do? Pelusolino took a deep breath, with a bitter and depressed expression. The moment he saw the photo, he knew he had no choice. If these photos are obtained by the world government, his best end is to be imprisoned and impelled down and eat free nutritious meals for a lifetime. Zhang Yang threw out a piece of black Imperial token and a black phone bug. This is the phone bug we contacted unilaterally, and the token representing your identity. Now, I need you to be a nail in the marine, code name. Kizaru. I don't think I have a choice. Looking at the phone bug and the token in his hand, Pelusolino felt a little stressed. Take a deep breath and calm down. Starting today, he's going to sneak into the marine as a spy. Think about it. Cheating. What? Boom. Slapping the table with both hands vigorously, Kongu's expression was full of astonishment and anger. The celestial dragons were killed, R2. Don't blame me, the N******** ate the devil fruit of the phantom beast. If I didn't run fast, I would have to be there now. Damn it. Sitting weakly on the seat, the celestial dragons were killed. This matter is no longer something he can take for granted. Why is it this time? The current new world is in turmoil. The sudden rise of the Luogia pirates, frequent contact with other pirates, and the ambitious Golden Lion pirates. Admiral Sengoku was on standby in New World by Vice Admiral Garp, so busy that he couldn't get away, but something as big as the killing of celestial dragons happened again. I'm really afraid of something. Kongu sighed, and picked up the phone bug at hand. This kind of matter cannot be hidden, and it must be reported to the World Government Marshal and the higher level 5 elders to make a decision. Help me pick up the Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the World Government. Noise, dispute, compromise. Half an hour passed, Kong Ji-yu hung up the phone with a tired look, and glanced at the Crane Vice Admiral beside him. Transfer to the Communications Department for me. Send New World, Admiral Sengoku, return immediately. Fate, Vice Admiral Black Owl, march into New World immediately, gather with Vice Admiral Garp at the G8 Fortress Base, and prevent the Golden Lion, Luogia, and Whitebeard pirates. From today, Naval Headquarters, the highest alert. The surrounding waters are prohibited from entering or leaving any ships outside the marine. Amnesty, Rear Admiral Sakazuki, Pelusolino, Drago, and Raquel have been promoted to the rank of Vice Admiral. 15 days later, Admiral Sengoku will launch a buster call against Gaxi Island. 5 elders command at the highest level, any forces related to and involved in the Black Emperor, are all destroyed. Buster call. In the G2 Fortress Base, Zhang Yang, who hung up the phone bug, came to the window and looked at the Marines who were training in the base, with a mocking smile on the corner of his mouth. Attack on Joshi Island, and you won't be afraid of getting your front teeth knocked out. Quasi-Admiral level is comparable to Admiral level NG***S. Admiral level giants Dory and Bragi. Hawkeye who was doing instructor on the island, and Heavenly Yaksha Doflamingo. Kasho, and those pirates who used to have a bounty of over 100 million, are now the leader of the Black Emperor Guard. And the peak of Admiral, which symbolizes the combat power of the 4 emperors, sits in Poros. 1 buster call, Admiral Sengoku plus 5 Vice Admirals, except for Sakazuki and the unknown Marine Vice Admiral, the other 3 are his people. Win with face. World Government. 5 elders. Ha ha. Just because Buster Call wants to destroy Gaxi Island, he thinks too much of himself. However, I didn't expect Crawl to stand out from the Marine training camp so quickly and be recommended by Zephyr Admiral. It seems that he has made the right move. Zhang Yang narrowed his eyes. This chess piece might be able to play a miraculous effect at critical moments in the future. Chapter 43G. Lock Doll. The celestial dragons are dead. This sensational event cannot be concealed at all. Gaxi Island, which was still bustling a few days ago, was empty in the blink of an eye. The deterrent power that Buster Call has accumulated for hundreds of years is not fake. Just a name is enough to deter most lawless pirates. It's really lawless to kill celestial dragons. Outside the Black Emperor auction house, a man with a scar on the corner of his eye had a defiant smile on his mouth. K. Lokdar, a pirate with a bounty of 80 million, Logia demon fruit power. It seems that this island is about to be destroyed. The gold is better than giving it to Marine, it's better to give it to me. Swish. The body turned into quicksand and invaded the underground vault. Who? The guard guarding the vault gate looked at the guy who appeared suddenly vigilantly. Sha Lan. With a wave of his hand, a violent sandstorm swept forward, and K. Lokadar's eyes were indifferent. This little guy doesn't even have the interest to let him communicate. 5 color strings. Just when the sandstorm was about to flood the entire vault, slender lines tore apart Kelketer's attack. Sand crocodile. G. Lock doll. A deep and strange laughter came from one side, and Locke's body, which was shattered by the blow of the line, slowly reorganized. Heavenly Yaksha. Doflamingo, why are you here? Lock doll narrowed his eyes slightly as he watched Doflamingo approaching with figure 8 strides. A look of fear flashed in his eyes. I should be the one who said this. Right now, this is my territory. You suddenly appeared on my sight. What do you want to do? With an exaggerated smile on his face, Doflamingo slowly walked up to a group of guards. Are you, the Black Emperor's subordinate? K-Lock frowned. Doflamingo can't be the Black Emperor, then there is only one possibility. It's true to say that, at least for now, I don't have the idea of overthrowing him. Doflamingo glanced at Q********. Lock. Get out of here now, and I'll act like nothing happened. You want to stop me? Lock Dahl grinned, his eyes fierce. This island was almost destroyed by Marine's Buster Call, do you still want to be buried with the Black Emperor? When did Heavenly Yaksha become such a loyal lackey? Destroyed. She. How do you know it wasn't Marine's Buster Call that was sent back? Doflamingo gave a strange laugh, only those who really knew the Black Emperor would know how terrifying that man's power was. That kind of absolute power that can't be resisted, even thinking about him now, he can't feel the thought of resisting. That's a real fear. The power of Gaxi Island, no one knows better than him. With the power of Buster Call level, it is still too far away to destroy the power of the Black Emperor. In this war, the winning side will definitely not be Marine. If you don't believe me, it's better to take a gamble. Doflamingo sits in a chair made of threads, watching Lock Dahl. What bet? Frowning, K-Lock couldn't help asking curiously. Cha, just bet on the final result of this battle. If I lose, all the gold here will be taken with you, no one will stop you, but if I win, join us, you are qualified. Lock Dahl sneered. Do you treat others like a dog? I don't have this hobby. Cha, don't speak so harshly, it's just some small cooperation. Doflamingo didn't care at all. If he was not as strong as others, he bowed his head, waiting for the opportunity to stand up and become king. In this world, the strong are respected, and it is not a shame to submit to the strong. What's more, the relationship between him and the Black Emperor is more like using each other. He uses the strength and reputation of the Black Emperor to develop his own power, and the Black Emperor uses him to complete those trivial things. There is nothing to be ashamed of. Cooperate, I don't need any collaborators. Lock Dahl snorted coldly, no one would believe him as a lone wolf. The only thing he can believe in is his own strength. That would be a pity. Doflamingo shook his head, giving Q******* Lock a pitying look. I gave you a chance. An insignificant murmured, the seat woven with threads disappeared, Doflamingo waved his hand, and led a group of guards back step by step. Since you want the gold, the next thing is to see if you have the ability to take it away. What's the meaning? K-Lockadar looked at Doflamingo, who let the door of the vault open, and frowned. Did this guy just watch him draw the gold and take it away? Tread. Dull footsteps came from behind. Lock Dahl clearly saw the expressions of awe and fear on the faces of the group in front of him. Even Doflamingo's expression became a little uncomfortable, it was a fearful look. Who is the person that even Doflamingo fears? Lock Dahl couldn't help but glanced sideways. Lock Dar. In the cold and deep self-talk, in the darkness, a one-eyed strange man wearing a golden yellow armor came out unhurriedly. Logi, a demon fruit power. Poro slowly raised his head, his golden eyes flashed with rebelliousness, and the corners of his mouth slowly opened. Next, if you want to live, try to please me. A suffocating oppressive force emerged overwhelmingly. Swish. In the next second, a figure flashed, and Poro's icy breath appeared behind K-Lockadar. Lock's pupils contracted suddenly. This breath that makes people tremble and howl. He felt it on one person. Whitebeard. Clockdar. On the sailing warship, Zhang Yang slowly opened his eyes. He rubbed his chin with great interest. He never thought that this future big shot would take the initiative to come to his door. Hope Poros doesn't go too far. He wasn't worried that Poros would directly kill K-Lockadar. Poros, who had fused part of his memory, should know how to do it. How long is it until the New World G8 base fortress? Zhang Yang glanced lazily at the colonel officer beside him. This time he was summoned to the New World G8 fortress, and only one person went out, directly following the warships of the headquarters. As for his family properties, they are all on standby at the G2 base fortress. This was also his forced request, and Marshal Kong reluctantly agreed. This New World party is destined not to be peaceful. Luo Jia, Whitebeard, Golden Lion, and New World heroes will gather together, and war will inevitably break out. 0. Seeking flowers. He didn't want a group of Marines that he hadn't cultivated so easily to lose all of them at once. Black Owl Vice Admiral, it is expected to arrive in 3 days. 3 days. Zhang Yang nodded. When he arrives, the world government's Buster Call should also start. Don't feel slow. In fact, this speed is already very fast. The place where the celestial dragons were killed was Gaxi Island, which is the middle and rear of the Grand Line, the gateway to the New World. It will take a lot of time to get there from Naval headquarters, and it will also take time to gather the 5 Vice Admirals. This Buster Call is not as childish as the protagonist group Luffy and the others who played Celestial Dragons. I don't know if Raquel and Drago will release the water. Although these two people don't know his identity as Ling Yi, an enemy's enemy is a friend. The Dark Emperor killed the Celestial Dragons, and stood on the opposite side of the world government, which is equivalent to a potential ally. As long as these two guys are not stupid, it is unlikely to kill them. The N****** R should be happy with his new weapon. .00. In this boring waiting, the warship came to the G8 fortress in New World. Boy Augustus, I haven't seen you for a long time. As soon as the warship landed, Garp's familiar voice rang in my ears. Vice Admiral Garp is as good as ever. Zhang Yang narrowed his eyes and looked at Garp standing on the pier. Now Garp is at the peak of his life. Being able to defeat Locks and chase down the One Piece King Luo Jia, no matter how you look at it, is definitely Admiral's peak level combat power. Even Admiral Sengoku falls short of him. And Admiral Sengoku can be regarded as half of the Admiral peak, and it is expected that it will take a few years to truly become the peak Admiral level combat power. Ha 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 ha, you kid has become a lot stronger. Vice Admiral Garp looked at Zhang Yang in surprise. Although he had never fought against each other, he felt a strong sense of crisis from the breath perception between the strong. The sense of crisis can make him feel the crisis. I'm afraid this kid's strength is at least at the Admiral level. Although there is only one word difference between Quasi-Admiral and Admiral level, the difference in strength is not a level at all. A Quasi-Admiral level powerhouse can only break through the Admiral level in terms of strength, Haki, and abilities. And those who have reached the Admiral level in strength, Haki, or ability, and have no obvious defects, are the real Admiral level powerhouses. And such as Four Emperors, Garp, One Piece Luogia, this kind of strong man who has developed all his strength, Haki, and ability to ultimate can be regarded as the peak of Admiral. For example, the future three admirals, the first person under the Emperor, whose partial ability has reached ultimate, such as the current Admiral Sengoku, can only be regarded as top-notch admirals. Admiral-level combat power is already the highest combat power of naval headquarters. How is the situation now? Zhang Yang smiled and changed the topic. His current strength, even without using Devil Fruit's power, is still at the top Admiral level. Conqueror's Haki has been cultivated to the top in perfect state. The only flaw is in terms of physical fitness, which has not yet reached its peak due to age. However, Admiral is only one line away from the peak. It is only a matter of time before breaking through the peak of the Admiral class. The situation is not very good. When it came to business, his face became serious. Chapter 44 Buster Call begins. Ask for a first order. Golden Lion is going around contacting those big pirates. It seems that he wants to make a big deal, and now he is looking for Luogia's trace, if the two of them unite. Garp's expression became serious. Luogia of the top Admiral level, and at least the Golden Lion of the top Admiral level, plus those crew members under their command. If these two powerful forces join forces, it will have a strong impact on the stability of Marine's maritime forces. Once there is any sign of unity, Marine must extinguish it as quickly as possible. Put an end to anything that might destabilize the authority of the world government. The Lox pirates more than 10 years ago was a blood lesson. The world government will never allow another Lox to appear. So, where are we now? Zhang Yang frowned, but he wasn't worried that Luogia would unite with Golden Lion. Two guys who are equally ambitious are destined to be impossible to succumb to one side. Unless you have the absolute strength to conquer each other. But it is clear that neither Luogia nor Jin Shishi has this kind of power. Two battle strengths of the same top Admiral level, no one can make the other submit, and the final result can only be an unhappy breakup. Just wait and see. Garp is a little helpless. Now that Marine is weak, it is impossible to take the initiative to pick 9-0 to fight. Otherwise, if all the pirates are aroused to resist, Marine will not end well. Maybe at critical times, world government reinforcements are needed to stabilize the situation. Especially two celestial dragons died a few days ago, and his old comrade Sengoku was also transferred back to the Grand Line. Several pre-selected admirals, except He Xiao, were all transferred back. It can be said that now is the weakest time for Marine's power in New World in a century. If the Luogia pirates join forces with the Golden Lion at this time, it is not certain whether they will be able to suppress it. Maybe it will capsize the boat. The group of moths who are eating and waiting to die will die as soon as they die. Anyway, it is a disaster to keep them, and the five elders are really making a fuss. What a fuss. Garp was somewhat displeased with the great situation, and it turned out like this because of the death of two scumbags. Is the stability of the new world less important than two celestial dragons? The one next to you is. Zhang Yang looked at a young man next to Garp. The black afro head is wearing an eye mask, and there is a coldness on his body that makes people not want to get close. Kuzan, future Marine Admiral Aokiji. This is Kuzan, a kid who just came out of the Marine training camp, who unexpectedly likes my appetite. Like Sakazuki and the others are Logia Devil Fruit capable users, how about it? Looks good, doesn't it? Garp patted Kuzan on the shoulder and laughed. I feel that Vice Admiral Garp refused to promote Admiral several times, which is very cool, so I will learn from him. Kuzan said with an energetic tone. As a young man, Kuzan believed in passionate justice. It wasn't until he saw the dark side of the world government, and experienced many incidents that Ohara generally went against his will, that he became the lazy man who didn't seem to get enough sleep yesterday. Live leisurely, what you do will change according to your own wishes and understanding, and even ignore the orders of the Marine. It may also be a silent protest against the dark side of Marine and world government. Unlike Sakazuki, Leonzen's philosophy respects his own will and bottom line. Not the unrestrained madness of Sakazuki. This is also the reason why Akainu inherited the position of Marshal and left Marine after Marshal Sengoku retired. He can understand Akainu's will, but he is destined to be different from Akainu. This is a man who can develop into a revolutionary army, of course not now. Kuzan, who has not seen the dark side of the world government and Marine at this stage, still retains absolute loyalty to Marine. Getting him to betray Marine is no easier than Sakazuki. After all, not everyone is a fool like Pelusolino, who directly betrays the revolution when his life is in danger. The world government has dominated the world for nearly 1,000 years, and its majesty and identity have already penetrated into everyone's bones. For the vast majority of people, the existence of the world government is orthodoxy. It feels a bit like the late Han Dynasty. Although the people are in dire straits, many people have deep resentment towards the imperial court, but more people still regard themselves as Han Chinese. What did Liu Bei rely on to make a fortune? Isn't he the royal relatives and nobles, the descendants of the royal family? If a guy who sells straw sandals doesn't have the orthodox man on his body, the name of the emperor and uncle, why should others worship him? Do you really think you are timely reign? Zhang Yang looked around casually, and as expected, a giant figure came into his eyes. Saren, the upright giant vice admiral, is also Kuzan's young friend. In the Ohara incident, he was frozen by him because of different ideas to prevent Marine's buster call. Everyone has arrived, and the only thing left is that the Lord has not yet appeared. Zhang Yang felt his consciousness tremble, and his heart moved. Glancing at Garp beside him, he split a part of his consciousness, and through the connection of the fruit ability, connected to Poros, who was chosen on Gaxi Island countless kilometers away. After a long wait, the highest specification buster call from world government has landed on Gaxi Island. Sengoku Admiral, in front of Gokshi Island. On the surface of the sea, battleships from naval headquarters lined up neatly together. Looking at Gaxi Island, which is close at hand in the distance. Admiral Sengoku, who was standing at the bow, looked away. Although there is some dissatisfaction with the world government for calling him back to the Grand Line regardless of the situation in New World due to the death of 2 celestial dragons. But even Marshal Kong couldn't refuse the order from 5 elders at the top of the world government power. He can only obey. Luo Jia and Golden Lion hope that Garp and He Xiao can block it. Gathering away the distracting thoughts in his heart, Sengoku's face became serious. Regardless, the death of the celestial dragons was a serious challenge to the dignity of the world government and the marine. Gaxi Island must be destroyed. The strategic value of this war is higher than its actual value. A mere Gaxi Island, a headquarter admiral can raise the commander and send him here, so it may not be the intention of deterring those restless people in Inner Sea and Grand Line through the cliff order. The whole army is ready. 20 minutes later, the first stage of artillery baptism will begin. Sengoku had just issued an order through the phone bug, and a marine suddenly ran over behind him. Sengoku Admiral, the newspaper reporters assigned by the marshal have arrived. Are they allowed to broadcast the video live? Sengoku nodded. Using buster call to deter the pirate forces of the 4 seas and the Grand Line is an order from the supreme commander of the 5 elders and world government, and it is also the meaning of Marshal Kong. He is in favor of this matter. 0. Now Marine desperately needs a victory to boost morale. Proclaim to the world that Marine is not in decline. What is this? Looks like Gaxi Island. So many marine warships. I heard that there were celestial dragons who killed civilians on Gaxi Island, and were killed by the Black Emperor's men. Kill the celestial dragons. Are they dead? The money I put in the Black Emperor bank has not been withdrawn yet. It's too late to say this. Gaxi Island is the old lair of the Black Emperor, and it's almost destroyed now. You probably won't be able to get Bailey out. Sabayati Archipelago, Grand Line, Land of the World. In countless places, images of Gaxi Island being surrounded by warships have appeared. Buster call. It's interesting. In the bar, a man exuding a tough aura looked at the picture with interest. A group of half-dead and howling pirates stepped on their feet. Bullet, former member of the Luo Jia pirates. What a cool look. A young man with short wine red hair and a big grin on his face looked at the picture with flickering eyes. At the same time, 4 Seas and Grand Line are visiting. Luo Jia pirates, Golden Lion, Whitebeard, Lonely Red. Countless people have witnessed this scene. Gu la la la. Killing the celestial dragons, you are really some courageous boys, but, Sengoku, has he returned to the Grand Line? Whitebeard held a large bowl of wine and looked at the picture. Marco on the side rubbed his chin, looking at the newcomer who had just joined the pirates in front of him. Teach, what is your dream? Any existence that provokes Marine's majesty will never be forgiven. Sakazuki, who has been promoted to Marine Vice Admiral wearing a Marine Justice cloak, looked at Gaxi Island indifferently. Drago, Pelusolino, and Raquel's eyes flickered, looking at the island in the distance, each with their own ghosts. Time passed little by little. With the roar of artillery fire, thousands of shells flew into the sky. Falling and flying to Gaxi Island. Buster call. On. The moment the falling shell was about to fall on the 5.5 island and explode, a layer of fiery flames suddenly erupted from the island. Big fire. A giant in flames took to the sky on moonwalk. The fiery flames lit the sky and detonated all the shells. Boom boom boom. A Setsuna, the space is covered with a flower-like scene. Logia, Mara Mara fruit. Sengoku squinted his eyes slightly, a giant eating devil fruit, very rare. Not to mention the giants of Logia's demon fruit power. The size of giants is 10 times that of ordinary people, and their bodies are naturally superior to ordinary people. The same devil fruit can exert strength several times that of ordinary people in their hands. The sea of flames that filled the sky was like the raging flames that burned the city, and the air was twisted in the sea of flames. The strength of this giant is at least admiral level. This giant, why does it feel familiar? Seeing Brigi with a huge axe in his hand and wearing a horned helmet, Sengoku felt a little strange, but couldn't remember where he saw it for a while. It's the captain. On the Eni's lobby, an excited shout resounded through the sky. Chapter 45. The trend of total victory. The first round of shelling was over, and the shells all over the sky did not even cause any damage to the island. Gaxi Island. The Black Emperor, is this your confidence? Sengoku Admiral muttered to himself, in the face of Buster Call level conquest, a mere Admiral level powerhouse would not be able to stop it. The effect of the bombardment is invalid, prepare for the second stage of landing operations. A warship quickly approached the coast. When countless Marines landed on the shore. Arranged in neat rows, the Black Imperial Guards, dressed in black military uniforms, had already been waiting in full force. Kasho, who was standing at the front of the crowd, was holding a knight's spear on the ground, and his eyes shrouded in the helmet showed a firm will like steel. When he was once expelled from the Kingdom of Knights and became a pirate, his mind was like a wandering ghost, without a destination or loyalty. But since his allegiance to the Black Emperor, his life seems to have a new meaning. The dead soul regained the hope of life. The Knight's Covenant, vowing to die to protect the territory and the Lord, is the Knight's supreme honor and destiny. Kasho's body was burning with blazing heat, and the Knight's spear in his hand also became blazing hot in the high temperature. As hot as his heart is. High temperature. Low, hoarse laughter came from behind the crowd. A group of Marines parted a road, with a cloak engraved with justice fluttering in the wind, wearing a red suit with a flower pinned to his chest, Sakazuki walked forward with unhurried steps. Snapped. The black gloves fell to the ground. Clatter. The sputtered red magma corroded the ground into potholes. Sakazuki showed a trace of contempt on his expressionless face, and looked down on Kashu from a condescending 07 perspective. It was an expression like looking at an ant. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, Akainu, Sakazuki. Kashu looked calm. Kill these Marine lackeys. Show these bloody bastards the power of Marine. The Black Emperor Guard and the Marine elite scuffled together. Fiery lava surged from Sakazuki, leaving a red channel in the ground. The majesty of Marine cannot be desecrated by anyone. The Black Emperor killed the celestial dragons without authorization. This is a serious provocation to Marine and the world government. Therefore, Joshi Island must be destroyed. Kashu held a long spear, and his body covered with light metal turned red under the high temperature. Then try it. Your so-called steel is nothing but waste that can be easily melted in front of me. Sakazuki's body flashed, a shaved, instant King Kashu in front of him. The dog gnaws the red lotus. The fiery magma condensed into a fiery red dog's head, bombarding Kashu's body. Armament Hockey's knight's lance wrapped around it, stabs forward in the red heat. There was no flinch on Kashu's face. The way of knights, there is no retreat, there is death but no life. The way of chivalry ignited by faith bursts into the brightest brilliance. The strongest esoteric art from Gul'dan, the country of knights, implements the faith, a blow that has been tempered and tempered. Sacrifice. The stabbing spear ignited a fiery flame in the friction of the air, and fell like a meteor. The fiery fist collided with the red spear, and the terrifying impact caused the surrounding ground to crack inch by inch and set off. No matter how hard steel is, it can only become scrap iron under the magma. Looking at the melting night spears, Sakazuki had a confident smile on his face. My lava fruit is your nemesis. Yes, Kashu had an incomprehensible expression on his face. But molten steel is still steel, Sakazuki. What's the meaning? Sakazuki frowned, and suddenly there was a burst of air behind him, and an indescribable sense of crisis came to his heart. Boom! A giant steel hand snapped from the sky. Sakazuki, who caught this scene, disappeared instantly. The place hit by the steel hand exploded inch by inch. In the next second, the surrounding land was rendered with a layer of metallic luster. The earth, the buildings, everything is assimilated. The surging silver-white ocean is boiling like boiling hot water. Kashu, who was in the center of the sea of steel, slowly raised his head, staring at Sakazuki in the distance with cold eyes. Don't underestimate my determination and chivalry. Layers of steel tides covered Kashu's body, and finally condensed into a huge metal giant with a height of 10 meters, holding a red spear more than 10 meters long high. Next, I will use everything to defeat you, Sakazuki. The contempt in Sakazuki's eyes disappeared. Looking at this exaggerated giant, his expression gradually became dignified. Devil fruit, awaken. Boom boom boom. The spears blasted down again and again, and the magma flowed again and again. In the fierce battle, no one dared to approach except them within a kilometer radius. This kind of quasi-admiral level battle is simply not something they can intervene. The melted steel turned back into a sharp spear as it solidified. After smashing the steel spear countless times, Sakazuki had to admit it even if he didn't want to. The man in front of him that he had never looked down upon had already possessed the strength to be evenly matched with him. That will is stronger than steel, even if the camps are opposed, he can't help but feel a little bit of approval. But, since you are in the evil camp, you can only be cleared. Gaxi Island, West Blue Shore. The blood-burning black ghost and Doflamingo with an unruly smile on his lips stood in front of rows of black Imperial guards, looking at Raquel and the unknown Vice Admiral who had landed. Ha 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 ha. The black ghost carried the newly acquired weapon Lei Ling on his shoulders, and his smile gradually went crazy. Marines, this road is dead. Raquel looked at the supreme sharp knife Lei Ling on the black ghost's shoulder, his pupils shrank, and countless thoughts flashed through his mind, which finally turned into a question. Why is Lord Heishao's knife in this guy's hand? What does this man have to do with Lord Heishao? Could it be? Raquel's heart tightened. This kind of question is a bit scary to think about. Gaxi Island, South Blue Shore. Kizaru looked at the giant dory who was surrounded by the power of thunder, with a helpless smile on the corner of his mouth. Let's discuss it and be gentle. A Logia Thunder Fruit ability user, and also an ability user of the giant family. How many whole cards are hidden on this small broken island? Gaxi Island, North Blue Shore. A Mara fruit ability user. Looking at Brigitte, who was covered in flames and held a giant axe in his hand, Drago slowly pulled down his hood, revealing a terrifying face covered with tattoos. It seems that there is no need to keep your hands. Admiral level Logia demon fruit power. If he is careless, he might die here. Fights ignited everywhere. Sengoku's face gradually became ugly. This time, it is to completely destroy Joshi Island and shock the world. One admiral of headquarters, 3 pre-selected admirals, 1 qualified as a pre-selected admiral Admiral Raquel, and a veteran marine vice admiral. This game almost dispatched more than half of naval headquarters, top combat power. Buster Call. It is conceivable that the scene of crushing the Black Emperor's forces in such a devastating way did not appear. On the contrary, the marine side fell into a decline in an all-round way. On the front of the East Blue Shore, Sakazuki and Kashu, who has awakened the Steel Fruit ability, are at a stalemate. On the West Blue Shore front, Raquel was retreating steadily under the Black Ghost's crazy style of play. Momo Fruit's ability could not be fully utilized. The veteran Vice Admiral in Doflamingo's hands was killing the surrounding marines like a marionette. On the South Blue Shore front, Pelusolino struggled to support, facing the Thunder Fruit giant Dory. Sparkling Fruit's speed advantage could not be brought into play at all. And Thunder Fruit's characteristics of high temperature, penetration, and paralysis, the giant's extraordinary physical fitness and strength, and the pinnacle of combat skills honed in countless years of duels, almost made him unable to resist. On the North Blue front, Drago could only slow down the pace of the giant Brigitte with long-distance consumption, and dared not approach at all. The huge flaming battle axe wrapped in armament hockey is not a joke. If it is cut, at least it will be seriously injured. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that if the stalemate continues, Marine's defeat will happen sooner or later. Can't wait. Sengoku, who originally planned to sit back and wait for the victory at 127, couldn't sit still. The current situation is completely out of his and Marshal Kong's control. According to this rhythm, not to mention the destruction of the Black Emperor, all the Marines and the admirals in the preliminaries will probably die here. Not to mention Marine, even the world government absolutely cannot afford such a huge loss. Sengoku was suddenly a little lucky that this Buster Call had summoned so many Marine elites, otherwise it would be difficult for Marine to end now. Doflamingo, as the Celestial Dragons, do you want to betray the world government too? Amidst the roar, a huge golden Buddha descended from the sky. It's still too late to cast aside the darkness and turn to the light. Talking about abandoning darkness and turning to light, Sengoku's hands were merciless, and his huge palm was covered. In the palm, the terrifying shock wave exuded palpitating fluctuations. Sengoku, don't you think it's too late to say this? And your opponent is not me. Doflamingo looked at Sengoku falling from the sky, grinned slowly, raised his index finger, and was blocked by Vice Admiral controlled by the silk thread. Mean. Boom. A flash of anger flashed in Sengoku's eyes, and the shock wave turned and hit the sea, setting off a stormy sea. Today, I must bring you all to justice. Tread. Dull footsteps, as if trampling on the heart. It was full of danger and fatality like a dragon, making all the pores of Sengoku's body shrunk. This is. On the battlefield, from Admiral to ordinary Marine, everyone stopped involuntarily and looked in one direction. A figure in golden armor, as dazzling as the sun, slowly stepped out of the dark shadows. The golden eyes bloomed brightly in the dark night, and the shattered golden armor revealed dazzling blue light patterns. The unscrupulous momentum, like a demon king who came out of the abyss, let out a loud voice. The air is oppressive and suffocating. Poros narrowed his eyes slightly, looking at Sengoku with a condescending aloofness. I can't pretend that I didn't hear what I said just now. Chapter 46. The name of the era. Black Emperor. Hey. No matter how many times I watch it, it's so terrifying that people can't resist the thought of it. Doflamingo let out a deep and strange smile, looking at the figure coming out of the darkness. A trace of fear from the bottom of his eyes flashed in his eyes. There are not many people in this world who can make him feel afraid. The Black Emperor is the first one, and the one in front of him is the second one. These monsters, where did they come from? You are the Black Emperor. Sengoku's eyes were serious, and he said with a pause. That deadly breath almost made his scalp explode. The peak of Admiral. The undisputed peak Admiral. And it's an Admiral peak powerhouse that I've never heard of. Why does a powerhouse of this level appear here? Master Poros is just the envoy of that lord, the agent of Gaxi Island, and he doesn't need to deal with you Marines. With one single-handed triple slash, Raquel was repelled. The N********* R looked at Sengoku with a smile, and his expression seemed eager to try. Just a proxy. The corners of Sengoku's eyes twitched. Admiral's pinnacle agent. How terrifying would the strength of the Black Emperor be? Sengoku didn't want to believe it, but his gut told him that these people weren't lying. This frightening one-eyed man is really just an agent on the surface. As for the real master behind Gaxi Island, the Black Emperor. That mysterious and dangerous person had no intention of showing his face from the beginning to the end. In other words, he didn't need to show his face at all, just the part of the power he showed now was enough for Marine to use all his energy to fight. Okay, the time for chatting is over, and I have no reason to give you any answers. As if a real arrogance ignited from his body, a wanton smile appeared on Poro's face. Sengoku, next, come and have some fun with me. Boring daily life, always find some fun for yourself. In the bones of Poros, the blood of war is flowing. But now, the fun has already come, and it is automatically delivered to the door. How could it not be cherished? The battle is on the verge of breaking out. Boom boom boom. A terrifying shock enveloped the entire sea surface. The boiling ocean splashes up monstrous waves. The waves lapping on the shore engulf the four shores. In that breath so powerful that it makes people tremble, everyone can only shrink their heads and pray not to be affected. In the sky, the golden brilliance and the blue arrogance echo each other. Without any fancy temptations, all the cards in the hole are played in hand-to-hand combat. If he is clumsy in this situation, Sengoku even suspects that he will not be able to last a round in this man's hands. The golden Buddha's light turned into a shock wave and covered it forward. The corners of Poros's mouth raised. This level of strength only looks a little bit. The previous battle with K-Lock Doll was not even a warm-up for him. 1B. With only this level, I'm afraid you won't even be able to get out of this island. Enveloping Haki's punch, the punch shattered Sengoku's shockwave. The figure of Poros disappeared in an instant. Sengoku frowned, and a gust of wind emerged behind him, hitting his head. Fast, too fast, so fast that even his observation Haki could barely feel the attack behind him. Is this the powerhouse at the pinnacle level? Boom. Blast Sengoku into the sea with berserk force. Sengoku, unable to dodge in time, could only send the shock wave behind him the moment he was knocked down into the ocean, preventing Poros from continuing his subsequent attacks. There is no way to dodge such a close-range attack. Poros' body flew backwards involuntarily, but the body wrapped in Tatsu armament Haki was unscathed by Sengoku's blow. That's it, get me excited, Sengoku. Poros swooped down with a fanatical smile on his face. Just as he was about to fall into the sea, Sengoku slapped the sea with his backhand. Crash. The water curtain all over the sky slid down, covering Poros' sight, but it couldn't stop the knowledgeable perception. A punch fell, the fist rubbed against the air, and a flame was ignited. The scorching high temperature even evaporated a layer of mist on the sea surface. Boom. With the help of the power of the shock wave, cold sweat broke out on the face of Sengoku who escaped the punch. Ultimate power, ultimate speed, ultimate Haki. The body that has been tempered and tempered has been raised to the limit, and the power that erupts is so terrifying that even the whole world is trembling. This one-eyed man. There is hardly a single flaw in the body. Moreover, he never saw this man use Devil Fruit's power from beginning to end. This shows that it is very likely that this is not his full strength at all. What kind of monster is it? Gritting his teeth, Sengoku hated the two troublesome celestial dragons long ago. Buster Call has developed to the present, and the situation has long been out of his control. The current situation is no longer a question of whether Galaxy Island can be destroyed, but whether Marine can retreat unscathed. Quicker, faster. The excitement in Poros' eyes became more and more intense. This kind of evenly matched battle was what he had always longed for. Puff. A punch fell, and Sengoku seemed to be severely injured. The shape of the golden Buddha became dim, and a slender crack appeared on the chest, spreading from the left shoulder to the right abdomen, and slowly healed in the next second. A drop of blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, and something bad flashed in Sengoku's heart. The golden body condensed with his fruit ability was almost shattered just now. If this continues, he will really die here. Meteor. A muffled shout sounded. Quote. Poros frowned, and in his knowledgeable perception, a figure quickly approached. Admiral-level powerhouses have a full range of over 10,000 meters. But in the battle with the same level of powerhouses, the perception is usually concentrated to about 10 meters, and the perception in a short distance is improved. This guy who appeared suddenly made Poros feel a little threatened. Iron Body. Asura Martial Body. Based on Iron Body, combined with Ultimate's Conqueror's Haki and Armament Haki, the rich blood turns into a substantial coat on Poros. Exclamation mark. The fist that came from behind sent Poros flying. Zephyr. And at this time, Sengoku also found a friend who did not know when he appeared. How will you be here? Take a few students out to experience. I didn't expect to encounter this kind of thing. It's really embarrassing, Sengoku. Zephyr looked solemnly at Poros, who was almost unscathed after being hit with all his strength. Is this guy a monster? Is there another one? Poros licked the blood from the corner of his mouth, looking at the two Marine admirals standing together. These two guys are both top-notch admiral-level fighters. Under normal circumstances, he can easily suppress one, but if he wants to fight 2 against 1, he will fall into a slight disadvantage. But don't forget, his whole cards have not been used from the beginning to the end. Since the battle so far, a large number of Marines and Black Emperor guards have died on Galaxy Island. The power of death he has accumulated is enough to maintain the meteor burst state for more than 10 minutes. 10 minutes is enough to resolve a close battle. Then, with both arms in his arms, a presumptuous smile gradually bloomed on his unruly face. Come together. Meteor burst form. Boom. The strong power of death turned into a faint blue gaseous flame, and the plane under his feet was instantly sunken under the impact of the gaseous flame. Gululu. The sea water is boiling like boiling. The corners of Poros' mouth raised, and his body bent forward. I'm going to get serious. Don't die next time, Marine. Serious. With the level of power just now, could he have been releasing water just now? A thought came to Sengoku's mind. Swish. An afterimage dissipated in place. A violent and deadly aura emerged from behind. What? Sengoku's pupils contracted suddenly, and his heart stopped for half a beat. This guy, when? Not at all, not even observation Hawkeye. That sense of calm, the slightest imperceptible crisis, as if standing behind him was just an ordinary person. It wasn't that Poro's strength had dropped to the point where he could no longer threaten them, but that the gap in strength was too large, which gave him the illusion that he was safe. It's like licking the railing in winter will feel sweet. True Thousand Buddha's hands. Armed color. Meteor. Between life and death, the potential of Sengoku and Zephyr has been unleashed to ultimate. The golden Buddha's complexion was dignified, and dazzling golden light erupted from his body. A Setsuna transformed into 1,000 light arms, and the shadows all over the sky roared down. The palm slapped shock waves of terrifying power one after another, and with just a trace of residual power, a deep-sea Uzumaki thousands of meters in size was pierced out of the sea. Stepping on the moonwalk to Zephyr behind Poros, an invisible power is condensed around the black arms. This is a symbol that the armed color has been developed to ultimate. With a punch, the surrounding air was instantly evacuated, and the pitch-black fist became hot in the high temperature, wrapped in a layer of crimson steam, like a falling meteor. Fear. Is this the power of the world's peak combat power? With this level of strength, you should be able to win. Gaxi Island, 4 seas, Grand Line, countless people who witnessed this scene were horrified. Remaining prestige alone can cause this level of damage, this kind of top admiral level powerhouse, as long as they are given enough time. Wang Li's one person can easily destroy a country. But thinking of Poros, who had beaten Sengoku so easily that he had no power to fight back just now, Marine couldn't help but feel a little emboldened. Sengoku Admiral and Zephyr Admiral are playing at the same time, it should be impossible to lose, right? Gu la 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 la, interesting. It's rare to push Sengoku to this level. On a certain island in New World, Whitebeard, who watched the live broadcast of this scene, smiled boldly, picked up a wine bowl bigger than a person, and took a sip. It doesn't matter who wins or loses this war. Marine's calculations are destined to be shattered. Even if they can win, they will not be able to achieve their original purpose of shocking the world. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that with the strength and background of Gaxi Island, it is impossible to be surrounded by Marine. Leaving aside the Black Emperor who has not yet appeared, who can guarantee that there are no other hidden forces on this island? The ending is set. From now on, this world will open a new kingdom after Lox, the overlord of the sea. A power that can provoke the majesty of the world government and then retreat completely, making the world government afraid of it. After Lox, the name of the next era, the Black Emperor. Snapped. The huge wine bowl crashed into pieces. Gu la 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 la, this kind of strength, I, Whitebeard, admit you. Whitebeard's heroic laughter spread far away. As long as he doesn't hurt his family, who does this era belong to? For him. Unimportant. Sengoku, don't die here. Chapter 47 Invincible, the strongest fighting force in the world. The golden palm shadows all over the sky roared down. A fist filled with a powerful breath hits the back. Poros grinned, revealing 2 rows of white teeth. Fragile. Too fragile. Boom. What? Admiral Zephyr's pupils constricted, and he looked at Poros in disbelief who had blocked him and Sengoku's full-strength explosion with just 2 hands. Poros' left and right hands each resisted the continuous force from both sides. This level of power is deadly enough for him in a normal state, but in a meteor burst state. His strength, speed and even Hawkeye are more than double normal with the death force boost. And this increase will continue to increase with the amount of death power he consumes, there is no upper limit. Top Admiral, even in his normal state, he can barely block it, let alone now. The current him, even if he faced 2 Admiral peak level powerhouses at the same time, it was impossible for him to lose until the power of death was completely consumed. He has long been invincible. Swish. A large amount of death power emerged from the hand burning with blue flames, and with a wave of the hand, Zephyr was repelled by layer upon layer of shock waves. Using the energy in the body as the driving force, release the power beyond the limit. Double the energy. The flickering gas flame on the right hand boiled up. Boom. The fist wind howled, tore the sky apart, and briefly formed a near vacuum area around. The roaring sonic boom almost made Sengoku's brain go blank. The substance-like translucent fist wrapped Poros' fist and struck Sengoku's chest. Just a simple forward punch. Sengoku felt a sense of powerlessness that he couldn't avoid and couldn't resist. Click. At the critical moment between life and death, Sengoku forcibly broke free from the shackles and oppression from the mind with his will, and deflected half of his body. Polo's fist brushed his chest and hit his shoulder. The fruit ability was formed, and there was a broken sound from the golden body, which was harder than diamonds. Call. Sengoku's body drew a trajectory like a cannonball, and was directly blasted thousands of meters away, hitting a huge isolated island. Boom. Amidst the roar, the isolated island that was hit exploded into countless fragments with a bang, and disappeared directly on the sea. Weak. Under the real power, you are so weak that you are pitiful. The figure flashed, and a phantom was dragged out, and Poros, who appeared behind Zephyr in an instant, looked down at the holy law. The strong need to show mercy to the weak. This is the kindness that giants show to ants, but ants also need to be in awe of giants at all times, because this is the condition for survival. Bouncing around makes people irritated, and they will only be crushed to death by their fingers. It has nothing to do with mercy or not, because in this world, being weak is the original sin. The arms raised high, burning with raging flames, fell lightly and downward. To me, you are weak. Boom. The sea surface sank deeply like an hourglass, and Zephyr, who was vomiting blood, was directly blasted into the bottom of the sea. The flames burning on Poro's body slowly disappeared. Has it been used up yet? He smacked his lips. This power of death is really not durable enough. If the time can be extended a little longer, he might be able to kill these two guys. Finished. A group of Marines watched this scene with palpitations, and even forgot that there were enemies around them. Naval headquarters, strongest fighters, Admiral Sengoku and Zephyr, were defeated in just a few minutes. Is this monster really human? The injured Zephyr and Sengoku flew back, looking at Poros floating in the sky. Sengoku, he seems, has come out of that state. Zephyr panted heavily, clutching the bone in his hand that was broken by the blow, looking at Poros whose breath suddenly slipped, said in a low voice. This exaggerated state will not last long before it becomes normal. Sengoku narrowed his eyes, feeling even more afraid of the one-eyed man in front of him than Whitebeard for a moment. Even Whitebeard and Garp at their peak, it is absolutely impossible to beat them like this in a few minutes. It is true that a strong admiral at the peak level can defeat a top admiral, but it is very difficult to kill, let alone facing two top admirals at the same time. The strength of the peak admiral exceeds that of the top admiral, but the strength of two top admirals can beat any peak admiral. This man named Poros, the power that just erupted, although only for a moment, has definitely surpassed the admiral level. The sense of despair that he couldn't even resist, although only a short 10 minutes, made him feel powerless from the bottom of his heart. He even almost thought that he would die here today. No, it should be said that if it wasn't for Zephyr's accidental appearance, the chance of him getting out alive today is no more than that of Zhu Cheng. I was injured, and now I have only 70% of my strength left. You should be about the same. No one will benefit if you continue. Sengoku, retreat. Zephyr already has the intention to quit. The current situation is obvious that they do not have the upper hand, and continuing will only expand losses needlessly. But, how do 5 elders and the marshal explain it? Sengoku's expression was gloomy, Buster Call failed, and Marine lost. This is simply stealing the chicken and losing the rice. The Marine and the world government's idea of shocking the world fell through, and they were punched heavily in the face. The Marine faction, whose influence had fallen into decline due to the lack of high-end combat power, made the situation even worse. This is not our problem. In this case, it doesn't matter whoever comes here. Zephyr said seriously. Why, don't you two still want to continue? Are you afraid that the boys below will die here? Poros held his hands in his arms, watching with great interest the highest combat power of these two naval headquarters. The two headquarters admirals who were almost disabled by him, even if they went together, it was at best a tie with him. With their current level, it would be no problem to fight a close battle for 10 days and half a month. If it drags on, it will only be more beneficial to him. Every minute that passes, the power of death he accumulates will increase by a little bit, as long as he accumulates enough power of death. He can send these two guys to hell. The reason for not doing anything now is because the purpose of the Black Emperor to frighten the Marines has already been achieved, and there is no way AHDG to keep these two Marine admirals if they continue to pester them. He also knew that Pelusalino, Drago, and Raquel were all his own. So I don't want to drag the battlefield all the time. Otherwise, relying on the strength of Dori, Brigitte, and Doflamingo, as long as he can hold back Admiral Sengoku and Zephyr, it will not be difficult to keep all these core personnel including Sakazuki here. Since there was no point in continuing to fight, he didn't want to waste any more time. This farce is over. Marine's failure is already doomed. If you still want to continue, I will accompany you at any time, but, Sengoku. Poros folded his arms and looked down at the ugly Sengoku like a god. Can you afford the consequences of doing this? Letting you go is the kindness bestowed upon you by the Black Emperor, but if you want to continue this war, then I will do my best to bury you all here. 1. The cold voice was as cold as a Shaki's. Sengoku's eyelids twitched, and in his knowledgeable perception, except for Sakazuki, who was evenly matched with Kasho, the other 4 vice admirals were struggling to support, and one of them turned into a marionette wantonly killing his own people. According to this situation, all Marines on Gaxi Island will be wiped out within half a day at most. As for the admiral qualifiers with the most potential in Marine, it would be considered good if half of them escaped. All troops, evacuate. The corners of his mouth quivered, and Sengoku shouted word by word. They have lost this war. He was completely defeated, and even his life was preserved by the kindness of others. The Buster Call that made the whole world feared, after countless times of success, finally ushered in a sharp blade that can kill gods this time. This impact is absolutely unprecedented. What kind of storm will be caused by the already turbulent New World and the land of the 4 seas, and the New World, which is vying for the throne? These are not things that he should have a headache right now. But since the consequences of the defeat of the war are inevitable, then we must do everything possible to reduce the subsequent impact and loss on Marine due to this incident. Hateful. The horn of withdrawing troops came slowly, and Sakas, who was fighting with Kasho, flashed anger in his eyes. The majesty of Marine unexpectedly experienced unprecedented setbacks on such an island. This made Sakazuki angry and unwilling to see Marine's majesty above all else. From his point of view, even if all the Marines fight to the last one, or even die here, they must never retreat. In order to maintain the dignity of the Marine, what is a small sacrifice? Surrendering to this evil force that is not under the jurisdiction of the world government is a serious blow to Marine's face, and it is more unacceptable than thousands of people dying. But the continuation of the war is not something he can decide, and even his small vice admiral can't affect the situation of this war. Unwilling, Sakazuki followed a group of Marines and evacuated towards the coast. The Dark Emperor. My intuition tells me that this is a man who is countless times more dangerous than Locks. On the slowly retreating warship, Sengoku stared solemnly at the island that was gradually moving away behind him. Gaxi Island, in the next few decades, will inevitably become a confidant of the world government and Marine. However, judging from the current situation, they can only tolerate this nail being inserted into Marine's throat. Meteor volcano. Boom. While Sengoku was thinking carefully about how to report this defeat to the marshal and the five elders after returning home, Zephyr's roar suddenly echoed in his ears. Sakazuki, what are you doing? Above the sky, clusters of hot magma fell from the sky like a meteor shower. The target is directed at Joshi Island. Sakazuki, who was standing at the stern, pulled up his hat, his eyes were grim. This is what happens when you dare to provoke Marine. Looking at this natural disaster-like scene, Sengoku's mind went blank. The only thought in my mind is, ... Sakazuki, you killed us. The sky-shattering roar shook the void, and a faint blue figure shot up into the sky on Joshi Island, shattering the magma that filled the sky. In the next second, suffocating pressure enveloped all warships. The mightiest gun from the giant clan of Al-Buff. Lei Yan Hakoku. Broken star roaring cannon. The shock waves entwined by thunder and flames fell at the same time as the beams of light filled with dead silence descended from the sky. The Marine fleet was swallowed by a powerful force in the blinding light. Chapter 48. King of the Five Seas. Black Emperor. Boom. The terrifying fluctuations spread for tens of miles. The sea evaporated in the heat, and a pale mist filled the air. Debris from ships, broken bodies, bloody seas. As far as the eye can see, everything is disgusting like hell. Sengoku, who stood alone in front of a warship, was furious and screamed. Poros. Dozens of warships were instantly shattered under this doomsday-like bombardment. Except for the fleet protected by him, Zephyr, Sakazuki and others, more than 80% of the warships sank to the bottom of the sea in these two deadly attacks. Thousands of Marine elites perished at the bottom of the sea. A pleasant smell of death. Poros, who had accumulated a lot of death in an instant, raised the corners of his mouth slightly, looking down at the gradually receding ship from a high position. A cold sarcasm flashed in his eyes. The weak fear the strong. If mere ants dare to show their teeth and claws at giants, then they must have the courage to bear the consequences, and be glad that you have saved your life, Sengoku. Next time, you won't be so lucky. The expression on Poro's face froze slightly, and the next second, the mocking eyes became indifferent. Have you accumulated so much power of death? Zhang Yang, who took over Poro's body, moved his body. Poros was able to handle combat matters by himself, but this time, he had other matters to explain. Call all the core cadres who are busy. In addition to the two big guys Dori and Raji who are not easy to dispatch, several Black Knight leaders including Doflamingo. Kasho, count the losses on the island, and the next step is to clean up those guys who fell into trouble before. Zhang Yang's eyes were slightly cold. These days, because of the Buster Call incident, many people have escaped so much. He robs banks and suppresses the forces belonging to the Black Emperor. The Marines and unscrupulous pirates on the surrounding islands all thought that the Hay Emperor must be finished this time, and opened their mouths to bite off a piece of fat on the Hay Emperor regardless of his appearance. Now that he has freed his hands, one counts as one, and he will spit out all of them twice. Yes, Lord Poros. Seeing the sudden change of breath on his body, which made people feel even more depressed, several people lowered their heads deeply. Look in awe. There's nothing wrong with this depressing atmosphere. Lord Black Emperor. Marine Buster Call suffers a major defeat from Waterloo Iron. Tens of thousands of Marines, led by Admiral Sengoku and several pre-selected admirals, attacked Gaxi Island. The result was heavy losses, and less than 2,000 people survived to return to naval headquarters. Black Emperor. This name, which was once only circulated in some areas of the Grand Line, instantly became the focus of the whole world. Kongu, Marine needs to give us an explanation for this incident. In the Majestic Hall, 5 majestic middle-aged people are either sitting or standing. On the phone bug, the face of Marshal Kong Ji-yu appeared. The root cause of this loss is not Marine. This war should never have happened. Marshal Kongu looked stern, even in the face of the 5 elders, the highest power in the world government. With his current status, he would not be humble. New World, Whitebeard and the Red Earl are rampant. Golden Lion is trying to unite the major pirate forces to dominate one side. The Luo Jia pirates are pursuing history, and Vince Moke from North Blue is ambitious to rule North Blue. BIGMOM, Kaido of the Beasts. With Marine's current strength, it is impossible to suppress these unscrupulous maritime forces. Launching Buster Call at this time will only give those pirates an opportunity to take advantage of it. As the life of the 2 celestial dragons more important than the safety of the New World and the world government? The 5 elders fell silent for a moment. Kongu, we understand your thoughts, but Marine is the face of the world government, and it is Marine's responsibility to maintain the status of celestial dragons. But the problem now is that the power of the Black Emperor is no longer something that a mere Marine can destroy. Kongu's expression was somewhat helpless. Buster Call's loss, no one will be more headache than him. The power under the command of the Black Emperor is only a part of what is shown now, and it is enough to compete with the top combat power in naval headquarters. And that's not all. How strong is the Black Emperor who has never shown up? What kind of power is hidden under the Black Emperor? All of this is an unknown. The unknown is the scariest thing. Today's Dark Emperor gave him the feeling that he was even more dangerous and deadly than Locks at his peak. It is impossible for Marine to deploy the same combat force to launch such a huge war, otherwise the situation in Four Seas and New World will further deteriorate. How about sending high-end combat forces from the CP organization and the army? Five elders asked with a frown, holding a long knife in his arms. No, such a large-scale mobilization of troops will plunge the Grand Line into turmoil, excessive force, and may even provoke a rebound from the pirate forces. The other five elders shook their heads and retorted. A powerful force is still within their tolerance, as long as it does not threaten the peace of the world and the Grand Line, they are even willing to make a certain degree of concession. The death of celestial dragons, to put it bluntly, was just a matter of face. If the forces under the entire world government are thrown into turmoil because of this kind of thing, it will be unacceptable to them and the world government. It was putting the cart before the horse. This is worse than dozens of celestial dragons dying. So, the best way at the moment is to ignore the Dark Emperor for the time being, wait for Marine's strength to pass this weak period, and then slowly deal with him. World government has stood in this world for a long time, and it is not uncommon for a power like the Black Emperor to compete for hegemony. The most recent one is the former Sea Overlord, the Lox Pirates. The five elders didn't pay much attention to the rise of this kind of power. The rise of this kind of power is as short-lived as a flash in the pan. When the strong among them grow old with the passage of time, they die one by one. The lack of high-end combat power will make their strength weak. This so-called force powerful enough to challenge the world government will eventually become a dregs of history. However, the world government and Marine are able to select qualified talents from hundreds of millions of people among the countless island kingdoms they have joined for training. This is the fundamental difference between the two parties. Time is the enemy of all the powerful, but for the world government, it is the key to allowing them to rule the world. Therefore, for the world government, the stability of the Four Seas and the Grand Line is above all else. Moreover, the whole cards in their hands are enough to make them invincible forever. It is impossible to panic. Marine has the confidence and strength to suppress the world. Although it would make them feel uncomfortable to tolerate these lawless people swaggering at sea, why bother to pinch the nails? 0. Seeking flowers. Why not wait until he's rusty before breaking it off? Kongu, let's focus on the new world next. The Golden Lion seems to be a little restless, and the Luogia pirates who are looking for the truth of history is also a problem. Let Garp keep an eye on him. Quote. As for the Black Emperor, although we can't do anything to them now, the world government still needs to show their attitude, and all members offer rewards. The impact of killing the celestial dragons is not small. The Celestial Dragons clan in the Holy Land Mariajoy has also protested. Therefore, the amount of the reward is determined according to the highest level of criminals who threaten world peace. After hanging up the phone, Kong Ji-yu looked out of the window with a flash of thought in his eyes. Is it judged according to the highest level of criminals? Although part of the amount of Marine's reward comes from personal strength, the influence on the world and the severity of the crime are important conditions for evaluating the final reward. Kill celestial dragons, repel Buster Call, divide one side, affect the stability of the world. Adding these crimes together, the power of the Black Emperor can be regarded as the worst group of people in the world for 100 years. 0. Therefore, the reward has to be increased a lot on the original basis. Take out a pen and write a line of names on the paper. Poros. After pondering for a moment, I slowly wrote down a number. Reward amount. The latest newspaper. Why did it come so late today? On the pirate ship floating in the sea, Luogia carelessly put the money in the pocket around the news bird's neck. Captain, is there a new reward? Crocus asked with a smile. Well, let me see. The captain of the Luogia pirates, Galdi. Luogia has offered a reward of 2.5 billion, an increase of 200 million. It seems that the world government really regards this as a serious problem. Quote. Luogia looked at the reward order for one step in his hand, and scrolled down. Most of them were old faces. Suddenly, a somewhat familiar reward order appeared in front of him. Bear explosion. Reward amount. 280 million inches. Heavenly Yaksha, Don Quixote, Doflamingo. Reward amount. 830 million. Black Knight, Gul'dan Kasho, the reward amount, 1.18 billion. Bull Devil, N**********R, reward amount, 1.23 billion. Blue Ogre, Dory, the reward amount, 1.58 billion. Red Ogre, Brigitte, the reward amount, 1.58 billion. The Evil Apostle, Poros, the reward amount, 5.56660000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000 Luo Jia looked at the number on the reward order stupidly, and counted carefully twice before confirming, 10 digits, 6.6 billion. He had never seen such a high bounty in his life. Marine, is this crazy? Marine's latest bounty order has caused a phenomenon-level sensation all over the world. With Joshi Island as the center, it radiates the surrounding sea area of tens of thousands of kilometers, which is called the fifth sea area besides the four seas by countless people. This is at the junction of the Grand Line and New World. It claims to be the safest and most chaotic lawless place in the world that even celestial dragons cannot violate. An absolute sanctuary that surpasses the marine and cannot be interfered with by the world government. Fifth Sea, Black Emperor Sea territory, and his master is the only king who rules this sea area. King of the Five Seas, Black Emperor Fan. Chapter 49 Edvar Naval Battle. After Buster Call, Gaxi Island fell into a period of rapid development. Absorbing pirates and expanding its power, Joshi Island is the center and radiates the sea area with a radius of tens of thousands of miles. When the flag standing tall with the Black Dragon flag arrives, no matter how proud Marines and unruly pirates are, they must bow their proud heads. In just half a month, black flags were planted all over the islands. My lord, the current expansion of forces has reached the limit of our control, should we continue to expand? Under the steps, the half-kneeling black ghost respectfully narrated the development of this period of time. A little bit more specific. Zhang Yang, who consciously controlled Poros on the throne, crossed his legs, put his hands together on his chin, and said in a calm tone. An invisible majesty enveloped the entire hall, and the oppressive atmosphere caused 2 lines of cold sweat to flow from the black ghost's forehead. 3 supergiant islands, 7 large islands, and 24 small and medium-sized islands have planted their flags and are willing to pay tribute every month to seek asylum. In addition, there are 16 Marine base chief executives who have also acquiesced in our respect for the control over this sea area has now withdrawn from this sea area. It's normal, as long as the 5 elders have no problem with their brains, they won't confront us head on at this time. Zhang Yang changed his posture, not surprised by the softness of the world government. Now Marine is showing weakness, unless Marine wants to tear up his face, regardless of the risk of being wiped out by other pirates, and he will hurt both. If the 460 doesn't want to, they can only give in. How are the negotiations with the Fishman Island going? Suddenly thought of something, Zhang Yang asked. Zhang Yang is still very interested in Murlocs. Of course, his interest is not in greedy for their bodies, but in the combat power of the Murlocs. The Murloc's physical fitness is different from that of ordinary people, because of the factors of living on the bottom of the sea. In order to adapt to the pressure of seawater, the body density will be several times stronger than that of ordinary people. Therefore, the physique of an ordinary Murloc warrior is several times that of a human. The only disadvantage is that it is difficult for an overly powerful race to have a strong individual. Although I don't know the reason, the Murloc race is undoubtedly a race with a very high lower limit but a very low upper limit. Their strong physique allows them to withstand stronger pressure than ordinary people, which means that it is more difficult to break through their limits. If you can't break your own limit, how can you become a real strong man? Therefore, it is true that the average strength of the Murlocs is very strong, but it is also true that high-end combat power is extremely scarce. Of course, this may also be related to the relatively small number of Murlocs. Compared with the billions of human beings, there are only a few million Murlocs, which are indeed too few. The negotiation situation is not very good. Most of these Murlocs living in the sea are very wary of humans, and their king also declined our request. The Black Ghost's complexion is not very good. In fact, the forces of the Fishman Island have a bad attitude towards the Black Emperor. If it wasn't for the powerful strength of the Black Emperor's command that overwhelmed the Fishman Island, I'm afraid it would not be as simple as a polite refusal. However, Princess Otahime seems to have the idea of a daughter-in-law wanting to form an alliance with us. Let's put this matter aside for now, don't worry about him for the time being, and let go of the expansion. The most important thing now is to stabilize the territory. First, we must fully digest the area we are occupying now. Zhang Yang thought about it, and decided to put this matter aside for a while. It is unlikely that the Fishman Island will join the Black Emperor's command in a short time. I'm afraid it won't work with Otahime, and it won't be possible in time. The Fishman Island is a member country of the world government, and it can be regarded as a power of the world government for the time being. And those Murlocs didn't have a good impression of the humans who captured them and made them slaves. The current Princess Otahime has not started her ideal of peaceful coexistence with humans, and the attitude of the Murlocs toward humans is still more repulsive. It is too difficult to form an alliance with the Murlocs. Moreover, his goal from beginning to end was not to form an alliance with the Murlocs, but to control the Murlocs. If Princess Otahime had known his thoughts, she might not have planned to form an alliance. It's okay to fail in the frontal negotiation, anyway, he has plenty of ways to make this group of Murlocs a sharp sword in his hand. His desire for the Murlocs is not strong now. As for continuing to expand the territory under the command of the Black Emperor, it is obviously not a wise choice. Gaxi Island's current manpower is simply not enough to occupy so many areas. Forced expansion will only make oneself feel constrained, and Marine will not just watch their unscrupulous expansion. Although the world government has decided to make some concessions on this matter, the concessions are not indulgences without a bottom line. Take it when you see it, everyone has a good face. It's not good for anyone to break the skin. Having nothing to do, Zhang Yang took a look at the recent developments of Gaxi Island. As a result, things are going great. The main business of Joshi Island is the illegal black and gray profiteering business, and some normal businesses. The most important thing in this kind of business is safety and reliability. Fight off Marine's Buster Call, and kill 2 more celestial dragons who violate the rules of the pirate code. The rules of Gaxi Island have been recognized by the vast majority of illegal businessmen, almost becoming an authoritative representative. If there is one place in this world that is absolutely safe, it is undoubtedly within the territory of the Black Emperor. Even the celestial dragons dare to kill, who dares to make trouble on Gaxi Island. The means of iron and blood brought a large number of merchants to settle in, and the business of the bank increased exponentially. Moreover, the daily flow of tourists on Joshi Island is also increasing exponentially. An absolutely safe and bustling city that never sleeps is simply the most attractive place for wealthy businessmen who have money but nowhere to spend it. Vice Admiral Garp, report from the headquarters, found traces of gold in Luogia. At the same time, in the G8 fortress, Marine, who had been waiting for a long time, also started to move. Golden Lion approached Luogia on his own initiative. Did he really want to join forces with Luogia? Looking at the report in his hand, Garp's voice was low. Not long after the buster call ended, the injured Sengoku was recuperating in the headquarters, and now only he and Heishao are sitting in New World. Meeting at this time, if the Golden Lion has no other ideas, no one will believe it. Stop directly, Zhang Yang said lazily. Wait and see what happens. Notify Drago, Sakazuki, Pelusolino, and gather at the target location. Garp shook his head. If Luogia and Golden Lion join forces, they will all be annihilated in one fell swoop. The rise of a Dark Emperor is already causing headaches for naval headquarters. The combination of the two top pirate groups, even if they are not as good as the Black Emperor, will still cause Marshal Kong Jiyu a headache. So it must be stopped. Golden Lion, what do you want from me? On the empty sea, Luogia watched with great interest the Golden Lion who surrounded him in the sea. Luogia, you already know about the Black Emperor, right? The Golden Lion standing on the bow grinned and looked at Luogia with a smile. The Dark Emperor. That's an interesting guy. He was able to defeat Marine's Buster Call. There was a hint of praise in Luogia's tone. It can make Marine's Buster Call come back, which has never happened in 100 years. 2 admirals of headquarters are in charge, 3 pre-selected admirals of Logia and Magic Fruit ability users, Paramesha Momo Fruit ability users, plus a veteran vice admiral of the Marine headquarters. This unconventional Buster Call, if it were him, he could only run away desperately. 0. Even for a person as proud as he has to say that the Black Emperor is stronger than him, and just showing the power of the tip of the iceberg is enough to shock the world. Luogia, are you so willing to let a guy who hides his face and dare not see others ride on our heads? Luogia's tone made Golden Lion feel a little uncomfortable. He didn't show any affection for the Black Emperor who hadn't even shown his face from the beginning to the end. It may be out of jealousy, or it may be the mutual instinctive rejection between careerists. All in all, he didn't have any good feelings for the Black Emperor. Golden Lion, what exactly are you trying to say? Luogia frowned, looking at Golden Lion strangely, wondering what he meant by saying this to him. What if you are unhappy? The strength displayed by the Black Emperor is simply not comparable to them. The one-eyed weirdo with blue light shining all over his body. Even through the projection, he could feel the irresistible force. That is a power beyond understanding and beyond the limits of humanity. And he never thought of becoming an enemy of the Black Emperor. His purpose of going to sea is only to find the truth of the history covered up by the world government, as well as his yearning and longing for the ideal of freedom. Was it never an ambition or a pursuit of treasure? So what does the strength of the Black Emperor have to do with Luogia? Let's unite, Luogia. With a rebellious smile on his face, Golden Lion extended an olive branch to Luogia. This is also his purpose of finding Luogia this time. He alone can't fight against the world government, not even Marine, let alone the Dark Emperor who can make Marine Buster Call's Shadow City collapse. But if it is subdued, it will be different for Luogia. The combination of the 2 top admirals, Luogia's forces, plus his forces. In New World, who else will be his opponent? At that time, relying on his and Luogia's strength, he only needs to subdue Whitebeard, Red Earl, Kaido, Bigmom and the remnants left by the Locks pirates. Who else in the entire New World will be his opponent? He will become the new One Piece and also the overlord of New World. At that time, how far is it from him conquering the world and dominating the world? Did you come here to win me over this time? Golden Lion. A 0.2 smile slowly appeared on Luogia's face. What if I say no? The smile on Golden Lion's face froze, and he looked at Luogia coldly, as if he never thought that he would refuse. In terms of strength, he is comparable to Luogia, but his flying pirates are stronger than Luogia's pirates. If there is a war here, he will definitely win. Then the only way is to let you disappear in this ocean. Confirming that Luogia wasn't joking with him, there was a murderous look in the Golden Lion's eyes. There is only one overlord of the New World, and that is him. Golden Lion. If you don't unite with him, that's his enemy, and he won't give his enemy a chance to surpass him. Ha 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 ha. Luogia looked up to the sky with a heroic smile, drew out the long knife at his waist, and pointed at Jinzi. There was a presumptuous smile on his face. Then let's go to war. Golden Lion. So, your answer means to kill you all here. The corner of Golden Lion's mouth with a cigar in his mouth slowly opened. It means knocking you all down. Luogia had a presumptuous smile on his face. The negotiations between Golden Lion and Luogia broke down in New World, and the 2 sides fought. Dr. Edver C. Battle. Chapter 50 Let everything return to nothing. It's fighting. On the edge of the fierce battlefield, several warships hovered. It's scary, I don't know who will win. Pelusolino said slowly, his signature lazy tone made people angry for a while. Boom. The fist wrapped around armament Hawkeye hit the head fiercely with a hammer. Pelusolino was stunned, his mind went blank, and he was almost thrown into the sea by this punch. Young lads just need to be a little bit more energetic. What kind of laziness do they look like? Cheer up. The thick-backed Vice Admiral Garp stared, and Pelusolino, who was about to get angry, withered in an instant. In the entire marine, no one dared to talk back to this person when he confronted anyone. If this honest old man goes crazy, he can really beat anyone he wants. He is worse than Zephyr Admiral. Get ready, the outcome is about to come out. Once one side loses, the whole army will attack immediately to encircle and suppress the two pirate groups. In the middle of the battlefield, the Luogia pirates have been cornered by the Golden Lion pirates. If nothing else, the defeat of the Luogia pirates is only a matter of time. Once the Luogia pirates are defeated by Golden Lion, it's time for their marine to come out. At the same time, destroy the Golden Lion and Luogia, two famous pirate groups on the Grand Line. This is undoubtedly a powerful stimulant for Marine, who is in a low period. Enough to play a role in motivating Marine to boost morale. The wind has changed. Zhang Yang, who was beside Garp, suddenly whispered something. 07, who activates and listens to the voice of all things, can feel the surrounding sea breeze and the surging current of the seabed, which are changing imperceptibly at an extremely fast speed. The surrounding air became humid and dull. There were also bursts of dull thunder in the sky. Just when the Golden Lion was about to wipe out the entire Luogia pirates, Marine was gearing up and ready to go. Suddenly there was a wave of great waves under the sea, and a tsunami that covered the sky, and the sun suddenly overturned, coming over. The clear sky was instantly enveloped in darkness. Rumble. The huge waves scattered Golden Lion's fleet in an instant. Luogia. In the huge waves, the Golden Lion who was rolled up by the sea on the shattered pirate ship widened his eyes and roared to the sky. Angry and desperate. In the end, he was submerged in the waves. Ha 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 ha, it seems that luck seems to be on our side. Luogia, who never stopped smiling, didn't seem to be surprised at all, and reached out to press the hat on his head. In the knowledgeable perception, warships from Marine are rapidly approaching. Captain, it's Marine. It's Marine hero Garp the Fist, and Vice Admiral Black Owl, Akainu, Ape, and Dragon. Terrified shouts from the crew rang out. A top player, 4 preliminaries Admiral, a giant Vice Admiral, and an unknown Afro. This kind of lineup is almost comparable to the stunning battle between Gaxi Island and Marine Buster Call. But the problem is that they can't fight 2 against 1. The opponent who hits is weak, and the super general who fights back. There are also no 2 giant ability users who have taken Logia Devil Fruit. But with the 2 captains Luogia and Rayleigh, this kind of scene feels like a certain death no matter how you think about it. Rayleigh. Luogia pressed his hat and looked at the undulating sea with a heroic smile on his face. Do you believe me? Rayleigh looked at the familiar smile on Luogia's face, bold and convincing. It was because of this smile full of firm belief that he decided to go to sea with Luogia. What nonsense are you talking about? The corners of Rayleigh's mouth turned up slightly. You are our captain. Then drive the boat over and crash into these Marines. No, Captain, calm down, I don't want to die yet. A dwarf with a red nose rushed over from behind, bursting with snot and tears, Luogia's thigh. Buggy, why are you still so timid? Luogia laughed and shook his leg, but couldn't shake the buggy who was clinging to his thigh. Can only let him hold tightly. This guy is really brave. Seeing the Luogia pirates rushing towards them at an unabated speed, Zhang Yang narrowed his eyes slightly. Luogia, let's get caught. Garp roared angrily, and the shells were still firing at the oncoming pirate ship. Rumble. A slash cut the flying cannonball in half. The shells passed by the sides of the pirate ship and fell into the sea, splashing a splash of water amidst the explosion. Garp, try your best if you can catch me. Amid the wanton laughter, the oncoming pirate ship flew upwards in a sudden wave. The leaping pirate ship passed through the sky above the warship. Waves of waves are superimposed together, like a pusher with infinite power. Under the stunned eyes of a group of Marines, the ships of the Luogia pirates quickly disappeared from sight in the blink of an eye. This is. Zhang Yang's eyes narrowed slightly, he just felt a strange force zone. Vast and great. It seems that there is an unimaginable strange force in the dark, protecting the Luogia pirates. That feeling, it seems that the will of the whole world is on the side of Luogia pirates. The will of the world, the one loved by fate. Zhang Yang can also feel that this hidden power is not strong, at least for him, it can be easily broken. Even if he just wanted to stop it, the Luogia pirates have a 9-story chance of dying here. But Luogia still has an effect on him. Now is not the time to end his fateful journey. The future One Piece. I'm glad you left alive. Hey Xiao, Kuzan, Drago, you stay here to deal with the Golden Lion. The old man goes to hunt down the Luogia pirates. As the main target of this marine siege, Luogia's threat to the world government is more serious than the Golden Lion. Naturally, Garp would not just let Luogia and his party go. Go straight to the past with Sakazuki and Pelusolino. Leave the Golden Lion to me and deal with it. Vice Admiral Garp really believes in my strength. Zhang Yang's gaze is hidden forward. Huge wrecks of pirate ships floated up under the control of an invisible force. Although Luogia has already run away, there is another top big pirate staying here. Golden Lion had a heyday, even surpassing Luogia's big pirate. If it wasn't for this sudden tsunami, I'm afraid he will have the last laugh in this decisive battle between the big pirates. The Luogia pirates, who were several kilometers away, escaped from Marine's inevitable pursuit. There were bursts of exclamations on the pirate ship. Luogia, what are you thinking? Rayleigh looked at Luogia who was standing in the bow with a puzzled expression on his face. On that warship just now, I saw a very interesting guy. A pair of indifferent eyes flashed in Luogia's mind. A Setsuna flying over the warship by a pirate ship, although it was just a simple exchange of eyes, he smelled a deadly threat from those calm eyes. It was like a tiger seeing a sparrow flying overhead. Disdain, or simply ignore the ants. He has never encountered this strange feeling after going to sea for so many years. At that moment, he even had the feeling of actively sending his neck to the tiger's mouth to die. There is another marine chasing after the captain. Garp. Seeing a bright golden light approaching quickly from behind, Luogia shook off the distracting thoughts in his mind. Little ones, get ready to face the enemy. This time our opponent is the famous marine hero, Garp the Fist. An exaggerated smile grinned at the corner of his mouth, Luogia Avenue. Since he couldn't hide, he wouldn't be afraid to fight. Marine hero, Garp the Fist, he really wants to see how powerful he is this time. 8-foot Chong Guyu, Pelusolino, who was the first to catch up with the Luogia pirates by virtue of his fruit ability, did not talk nonsense. It was a big move that was close to his face. The sky is full of light. But in the midair 037 was intercepted and defeated by a series of fierce slashes. A few sporadic light beams that escaped the blockade hit the pirate ship, but did not cause too much damage. Sparkling fruit ability user, Naval Headquarters pre-selected Admiral, Pelusolino. Rayleigh at the side slowly drew out his long knife, and said calmly in a calm tone. Leave this fellow to me, Captain. Swish. The figure flashed and appeared in the air instantly. Kizaru in the air, looking at Rayleigh opposite, grinned, his tone as casual as ever. Rayleigh, deputy captain of the Luogia pirates, is really scary, Amazono cloud sword. The golden lightsaber collided with Rayleigh's knife, and ripples appeared in the turbulent air. The clouds of Tianlong have all been washed away. Pelusolino narrowed his eyes and decided to take a fish. He is now the Black Emperor's eyeliner in Marine, so he doesn't need to work hard for Marine. So, just hang on to this guy. As for the rest, leave it to Garp CMB. Marine's running dog, actually followed here. The golden lion, floating in the air, held the wreckage of the ships in its hands. On the top of the bleeding head, there is a rudder like a coxcomb stuck upside down. There were furious flames in his eyes. It's all of you who ruined the decisive battle between me and Luogia. Otherwise, I will definitely win. The impotent and furious voice of Golden Lion made Zhang Yang sneer. Is it our fault? That tsunami ruined everything about Golden Lion. Even if he continued to fight, Luogia might be the one to win. The current Golden Lion is just deceiving himself. This is the nature of the egotistical human being. In the second before the failure, I will not believe my failure. Golden Lion, let your glory end here. Zhang Yang's body floated up slowly as if weightless, his pitch black hair turned into snow white under the sun, and a jet black tattoo emerged on his chest. Let everything come back.